Welcome everybody to the Apex Legends GLL Arena Summer. It is us back again, and this time it's for North America. We've already seen EMEA in action today, Dan. I've got a big smile on my face. It's getting late into the night, but I'm not bothered about it because we've got some awesome games to come with some huge teams involved as well.
Sounds like you're nice and cool as well, that air conditioning.
Oh, I've got it on again, haven't I? Sorry, everyone. Jeez.
Good way to start. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, North America, we've already witnessed how incredible some of the North American teams are in Arena. But earlier we got a glimpse of EMEA, and that tournament is absolutely stacked. We saw some upsets. We saw some surprises. We also saw some dominance from teams that we expected to as well.
We did indeed, but now it is the time of North America to show us what they are made of, and I love watching North American teams do what they do best. So let's bring you up to speed with the schedule, how everything's going to be working. And I knew I had the air conditioning on as well because I got a little tickle in the back of my throat when you get a little bit dry. But let's talk about this. This is going to be fun today. We can see there's already been a qualification process to get up to this point. There's been some invited teams as well, but 2 days of action. If you're joining us for the first time, it's today and tomorrow. We're going to be running through things, and today then you can see we've got some upper bracket action, we've got some lower bracket action. We're going to be following teams all over the place.
Yeah, and for the majority, we'll be on best of threes today, except for the lower bracket round 3 later on. We will have a best of 5, and that's going to be at 4 a.m. CEST. So for you Europeans who are staying up strong with me and Mark tonight, get your cups of coffee, get your cups of tea, because we're in for a big one. This is going to be a fantastic evening, night, morning, wherever you may be. And I'm really excited. I've seen the teams, I've seen the lineups, I've seen some of the early round matchups, and it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, there's one in particular that we're very excited. It's going to be one of our first games, but we'll keep you in the dark about what that's going to be until we get to that moment. Let's look at what these people are playing for, though. There's prize money on the line. It's a great opportunity to earn a little bit more, and that's it. 20K on the line for these teams. First place for North America will be taking home a nice bit of chunk of change there with 4K on the line. XA going all the way down to 5th place, who pick up $500 for their work as well. But as we mentioned, it wasn't just North America. We had EMEA action a little bit earlier on, Dan. We've had some brackets going, and I think we should probably recap that EMEA bracket a little bit and bring you up to speed, everyone, with what happened earlier before we start moving on to talk about North America.
Yeah, because we've also got, of course, the rest of EMEA tomorrow. We have to finish this bracket, we have got all the way to the winners bracket final, VSA versus NCD. And you might be looking at those team names and saying, well, what on earth's going on? Who are VSA? Who are NCD? Well, those are just going to be the 3 initials of the players who are playing in those teams, because they don't actually have organizations. They're just crazy arena teams who have been able to dominate. Very excited to see what happens tomorrow. NCD featuring Dolphin, G-Dolphin, that is, who has been around the block a little bit. And in the lower bracket, we've seen a couple of surprises. Scars Europe were eliminated in round 2. New Esports taken down by Kungana. Aqualix still alive. They'll face off against Gambit. And Navi versus Kungana in losers bracket round 4. That's going to be a rematch from the winners bracket. So very excited to see that one tomorrow.
That lower bracket looks terrifying. I think some of the best teams in the world down in that lower bracket, and congratulations to VSA. Very impressive from the Controller boys to get into that upper bracket round 4, although we'll take on NCD as you noticed. But I mean, some of the recaps, some of the standout performances from you today, I would say, in my opinion, the Kungana performance against New Esports. It was a great series, but some really big clutch moments there as well.
It was one they had to really slog through. It was very back and forth. New Esports kind of pinned them against the wall, but Kungana were able to escape their grips and move on into the next round. But it has to be VSA that we talk about. The manner of which they took down Gambit Esports was disgusting, if I'm completely honest. They absolutely obliterated Gambit. Even in the post-game chat, Hardeki said, GG's, these guys have won the tournament already from the semi-finals. That was the prediction. That's how one-sided it was. So it'll be a case of, can they carry on that fine form into tomorrow and take down NCD, who have also been running a steam train through the bracket?
They certainly have. Well, that is the recap of EMEA. That's what happened earlier, but let's bring it to now, Dan. Let's talk about the present. Let's leave the past in the past. We've got that to look forward to tomorrow, the rest of that bracket. Let's talk about North America. These are the teams that are going to be playing today. You've got Alpine Esports. You've got Benchwarmers. That new lineup led by Madness, of course. You've got Complexity in the bracket as well. You've got Star, Premier GG, Space Station, Mojo Jojo. We found out earlier that Dan is more of a Powerpuff Girls fan than maybe arguably he should be. But here we are. My Little Phony in there as well. Aim Religion, Dudes Night Out, Mona's, Sentinels. That is going to be a banger of a game, by the way. Ghost Gaming, G2 in there as well, who have obviously won arena tournaments before. Noble Esports and Arena Demons 2, the imposters to Mona's.
They are the imposters, but any team that has Arena Demons in their name has to be good. We found that out in the last time we casted Arena Tournament, so already the pressure is on Arena Demons. And remember, they've got here by qualifying. It's not just a case of invites coming through. There was a whole qualification process. There was like 200 blah blah teams that were able to try and fight their way through to get to this point. So every team deserves to be there. I'm very excited to see if Arena Demons 2 can live up to the Arena Demons name, and maybe they will face up against the OG Arena Demons in now Monas if they both get to round 3.
Now, talking of Monas, that's the game we're going to be focusing on first, Dan. Monas versus Sentinels. And this is a little bit of a rematch from what we saw at a very recent grand finals of an arena tournament. So these two, there was a hell of a series between them. Sentinels did come out on top right at the end, and it was a lot of fun to watch, that series. I'm going to say a lot of fun to watch. Sentinels approached it with a lot of aggression. It was the first time that we saw Lou on the lineup as well. And if you haven't caught up with things, you will now know that Retzi is taken aside. He's going to move on to play some Valorant. He's going to unfortunately be retiring from competitive Apex for now, although I have already started, don't worry, the Bring Retzi Back petition. That's already filed. It's underway. He'll be back soon. But Lou's going to be joining them. It was the first time we saw Lou on the team, and it was great to see that chemistry almost initially straight off the bat from Sentinels, bringing them through to that arena's win. Yeah,
and Monas, previously Arena Demons, they surprised everyone, I think. Even to the point, I'm going to be completely honest, I was like, are these boys legit? There is some, like, this is disgusting the way they're hitting shots. They are not missing, but they were completely legit. They were incredible. They were taking down some of the best teams in that tournament, but they just couldn't quite get over that finish line. I think a lot of that came down to experience. Sentinels had been in that position before. They knew what it was like to be in a final. I think the pressure maybe got to the original Arena Demons, but now going into their kind of second tournament, I'm expecting a little bit more from the Monas, and maybe they can get revenge here where the pressure's slightly off in round number 1 in the winners bracket. They have the lower bracket to work with if they do lose, and perhaps we'll see them progress and maybe get to another grand final.
And what way to start it would be for them, not only to get revenge, but to knock Sentinels down to the lower bracket. It'd be the perfect way to start things off, to just remind Sentinels that maybe they got lucky last time. Maybe we didn't have the experience under our belts, but this time we're coming for you, and this time we're knocking you down to that lower bracket. Well, we'll have to see what happens in that game. We'll get into it as soon as we can, but let's talk about the bracket a little bit more. Any other teams that you're looking forward to watching there?
Benchwarmers that you spoke of, I think there's a few teams that have kind of made some changes here or there. We haven't seen Complexity compete in an arenas tournament as far as any I've been casting anyway, so it'll be amazing to see whether they can kind of transition from that BR standard over to arenas. Ghost Gaming have performed well in previous arena tournaments.
Ghost versus G2 in the first round here as well.
Exactly. That's another previous final, may we add. It's not going to be from the previous arenas tournament that we casted, but if we go way back about 3 arenas tournaments ago, then it was Ghost Gaming versus G2 featuring in that. So it really has worked out quite nicely, or not nicely, depending on which way you look at it. Who else? Jojo. We can't go against them. They are probably my favorite team in the tournament. And My Little Phony, I mean, they are not a team that you can really go up against and have any sort of confidence, because they pull out some disgusting things when you least expect it. I mean, this is a stacked bracket. At first glance, I just didn't recognize some of the team names, or I overlooked some of the team names, but the further you look into it and you realize who's playing who, this is just equally as scary as the EMEA bracket was, if not more so.
I agree. I think one thing I'm really happy to see is Complexity playing in these tournaments as well. You saw Monsoon's tweet yesterday. I spoke about it earlier on the EMEA show, but for some people who are watching for the first time now and joining us, welcome along. But he was saying this is a change in mentality now for Complexity. Ahead of ALGS Season 2, they want to play in every tournament. They want to get any experience under their belt, build that chemistry back up to be the powerhouse team that they know they can be. I really feel like missing out on that ALGS Championship final really affected them and kind of made them reassess how they want to approach things. So really looking forward to seeing how Complexity play. And another team I'm looking forward to seeing play as well is going to be Space Station Gaming. You know how much they want to do well in this tournament, Dan? You know how much they want to really make sure that they were in this bracket? They actually got invited, but they also qualified as well because they didn't realize they were invited. That's how dedicated they are to this tournament today.
Oh, they're stuck in the junk mail. Hate it when that... You know what? Actually, I was invited to the tournament as well, but I didn't see it in time. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I can't play. I know that GLL recognize I'm a fantastic Apex player, but I didn't even have time to qualify, because then I realized I should probably be commentating on the tournament. And, you know, one thing led to another, and here I am up next to you.
Yeah, none of that happened, but you know, it's a good thing. It could have happened. It could have happened. Yeah, it did happen. Do you know what? The problem is, Dan, have you heard I think it's a fable, The Boy Who Cried Wolf? You've heard this, right? Okay, so I wasn't
a Powerpuff Girls episode, or
it could have been. It could well have been, but I mean, I don't want to bring it up, but I'm just saying that your credibility recently isn't at the heights that it once was. You know, there is a way that you can bring that credibility back. Everybody who's watching knows what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that this thing right here, you know, you just walk in, show them a picture of me, things could change for you. But until then, credibility is still down here, okay? You have to build it back up through the next day of action. I'm sorry. At any opportunity I can, I'll bring it up. And do you know why? This is your fault.
Look, it was a piece of commentary that will go down in the history books, right? Because it was something that was outrageous, that was said, that was just so unlikely to happen. There was probably a 0.0001 chance of it happening. It involved there being a clutch situation from the one player remaining. There involved a massive throw from the other teams that were there.
We know. We watched it.
Exactly. So
we all watched it.
You watch it back, plus that commentary, you're like, well, of course it's not going to happen. He's just said he's going to shave his head. But then it did happen.
Yeah, it did happen.
Yeah,
and that leaves us where we are now, with me scraping your credibility off the bottom of my foot. That's where it is. Right. But I believe in you, Dan, is what I'm trying to say. You can get it back up to where, you know, it once was. As a trustworthy, you know, honest, good man, you can get it back up there. I don't know how we always get sidetracked onto that, but I'm not gonna lie, I love it. So let's talk about this game a little bit more. Let's talk about some of the maps and the rules as well, because you know, we've got some legends banned down. We're not going to see Valkyrie today. We're not going to see Seer. We're not going to see Bloodhound, and we're also not going to see Loba, which is the pick that's, I think, in my opinion, is most influential.
The most controversial as well. I know there's some players that are probably a little bit unhappy about that ban. A lot of teams that were playing a lot of Loba, very much their playstyle featured around Loba, stealing those resources away from other teams, getting that advantage, and then pushing up to the map. There were kind of counterplays against Loba, and some people had kind of found ways to do so, but it was decided that it would be a better tournament without Loba. So now people are going to have to adjust. They're going to have to find different legends to go with. And we already saw it in the EMEA tournament that there were teams who did adjust. They did find other ways. It just means you have to play either a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more defensive, depending on how you want to approach getting those resources. The Gibraltar bubble, a very important way to just be able to get yourself the kind of care package that drops down. We saw how often certain teams were able to get it because of that bubble, so perhaps that's something that people will look towards going into today. When it comes to legend composition, I mean, with our first game being Monas versus Sentinels, we have to talk about how Monas really redefined the meta of arenas in the previous tournament. Every map, they had a different composition. They knew exactly what legend they wanted to play. They knew exactly why they wanted to play that legend, and there was always a method to the madness. It wasn't just for no reason. It wasn't for a gimmick. Every single time they knew why and how they were going to beat their opponents, and it was fantastic.
And now we also have some new maps that we haven't seen in competitive arenas so far. We saw Hillside Outpost being played a little bit earlier on in some of our series, which seemed to be certainly a favorite for some teams. Some teams really did struggle on it with that lack of practice that they would have had. But that also throws a little bit of a spanner in the works, Dan.
It does, and I think that those teams who are more arena focused and those teams who haven't necessarily been in the spotlight of BRs and maybe won't get the chance to win prize money throughout the BR tournaments and throughout ALGS Season 2, e.g. maybe Monas, I don't know, maybe they will compete, maybe they will find a way through, but at the moment, arenas is going to be their focus, and they know full well they could potentially be taking away $4,000 here. And even though you can't really split $4,000 between 3 people perfectly, that's still a lot of money to be taken home, 1,333.3 recurring.
Is that true? Let me work it out. If you've worked that out off the top of your head, by the way, then that's going to blow my mind. Hold on. He's a genius. He's a genius, everybody. What you don't see is right next to Dan is he has a massive abacus, and that's how he works out all of his statistics. Doesn't do electronics. He's all about that hardcore manual, you know, mathematics. He's a man of the math, is all I'm going to say. Dan Gaskin, man of the math. Full of lies, but man of the math. Sorry. I'm sorry. Do you know what? I apologize. I went too far. Do you forgive me?
No, but the point I was making is that basically, so let's take Monas for example. They've said, all right, well, there's new maps being introduced to the pool. Most people aren't going to be picking those new maps. Maybe we could practice those new maps. They are very much matchmaking gods. They just dive into the playlist. They got pred very quickly, and they'll be saying, look, let's just make sure we have the advantage on every single map possible. And maybe, who knows, they'll bring out a legend that we're not expecting. Maybe they found a map that Caustic really kind of just changes the game, and we'll see a Caustic come into the equation or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see for sure. I think G2 are going to want a word with some of the teams in this bracket as well, because they kind of made their name as the original, pro arena team who really kind of took to arenas, to be honest with you, and put a lot of time in and showed that they are a very, very difficult team to beat. And they don't like losing tournaments. I know that might sound like a really strange thing to say, but, no team who's a professional team likes losing tournaments. But G2, I feel like if things don't go their way, then it annoys them. It fires them up. They want to get back into the next tournament and prove everything right that they think about themselves and everyone else wrong who might have doubted them for a few seconds.
Yeah, and I think that kind of encouragement can spur you into practicing more, and especially when there is going to be rule changes, and whether that be legend changes, whether it be map changes, that is a chance for you to get a step up on the rest of the competition. Because let's be honest, there are teams here who play predominantly Battle Royale who won't be as focused on arenas, who will just see this as, well, you know what, we'll be good enough at arenas because we're a good Battle Royale team. And those teams have been punished, but they're here just kind of to try and enjoy themselves a little bit. It's a chance to relax, let your hair down, play some of the legends maybe you wouldn't be able to play in Battle Royale. Whereas we'll get the hardcore arena players who say, no, we're here to win, we're here to prove a point. And I think G2 will definitely be looking at that last tournament saying, well, we got shown up a little bit, we got taken off of our home turf, so let's make sure we bring things back here and assert our dominance once again.
And we'll also be having players jumping on for some interviews as well, which is something that I've loved about these shows recently. We've got to speak to players. I made a point of it, we haven't had LANs. I say it all the time. I think I can't even, how many years ago was Poland now? I mean, you didn't even have a beard. I'm pretty sure I might have even, no, I didn't have hair still then. That was a long time ago, but it just feels like, we haven't had the opportunity to speak to these players, to meet these players, to some of the people at home, to actually put, a voice and a face to the names that they watch all the time. So it's great to speak to them. We'll have some of the players on. I enjoyed the interview earlier with Graceful as well. I thought he was gonna wind me up again and say that I've been mean to him, but he didn't. He's too nice for that. He's too nice. Shout out to you, Graceful, for being a wonderful person. But we got a really good behind the scenes look at the likes of Na'Vi. We got some good questions in there asking them how they couldn't quite get over the line in a few tournaments. And, Strafey was saying that, it's a case of getting closer and closer and just maybe just taking that deep breath in those final moments where they need to clutch up. So little things like that, hopefully we can bring to you all at home. Hopefully you're going to stay with us for the entirety of it. But I think we're getting pretty close to our first game now, Dan. Monas versus Sentinels, as I say, a repeat of a final that we saw from a tournament recently. And I want to see how these guys approach it, because Sentinels, after winning the last tournament as well, they went straight into some scrims, I'm pretty sure, and they were mopping the floor with people. It was quite crazy to watch. Senox put up a clip of him. Literally, it was like what's a good example of it here? It was like Duck Hunt. When you used to play Duck Hunt on the Super Nintendo, like with the birds flying around. He was just literally just melting everyone, beaming everyone out of the skies. So the arena tournament certainly put him in good stead.
You are showing your age a little bit. I do fortunately know what Duck Hunt is, but people in the chat are probably like, what is this ancient old man talking about? What is a Super Nintendo, a SNES? Jesus, he must be at least 64. Not quite. Mark is only 54.
Nintendo,
so don't worry.
64.
Don't worry. He's very old. But yeah, the difference here is we've got a best of 3 rather than a best of 5. When we last saw these two compete in the grand final, it was a best of 5. It was 3-2 to Sentinels, but in a best of 3, I wonder whether maybe this is going to favor Monas, who were just a little bit quicker to find their 100% in the last tournament. They obliterated everyone from the get-go. Sentinels, however, had a much slower start. They were actually on the brink of being eliminated from their group, or at least dropping down into the lower bracket in their group at one point. And then they came from the depths and they showed us what they were made of, and then suddenly they were the winners of the tournament. So perhaps a best of 3 might suit the Monas a little bit more here, who are just far quicker out of the blocks, whereas Sentinels might be a little bit slower to adjust. But at the same time, it will depend on maps. I think map selection is going to be very important here. I'm excited to see which maps we're going to find ourselves on, especially with the map pool that has been presented to us by GLL. So this will be interesting. And just to quickly go back to kind of LANs and seeing people in real life and stuff, do you know how sick I am of staring at this camera?
I thought you were going to say staring at me.
Like, I don't even get to stare at you.
I thought you were going to say, I'm so sick of being able to sit and like having to listen to you. I can't wait to get back to LAN and just like, do you know what I mean? I'm going to scrap it out.
I would gladly get sick of staring at you, but I can't even look at you right now because I have to look at the camera here to try and talk to you, even though realistically it would be much better if I looked at it this way. I've slowly on broadcast got bored of it, so I just start watching you. So it's more fun that way.
It is true. It doesn't look good for you guys at home though, while watching. If I'm just staring it down the whole time, I mean, this would be really weird if we're both just looking at each other like this. Like that's the weirdest looking broadcast ever. But we're not going to do that to you. Don't worry, we're professional here, as you can tell. But yeah, I mean, we're moments away from getting into our first game. Just waiting for a little update from the back to see how long that's going to take us to get into it. Hopefully, we can get into action as soon as possible. But the new maps were certainly an interesting point. I wonder if we're going to see any more today. I'm pretty sure the Dome was in the rotation, which it's going to be interesting to see if we go over to there. Another World's Edge bit. Dan just a little raise of the eyebrow now. He doesn't want to go there almost as much as he doesn't want to go to Gardens. But I thought a Hillside Outpost was interesting. It certainly gave us some different pace to the game that we haven't seen.
Yeah, it was another map that it looks bigger than it is. There's just a lot of buildings that you can reside in, you can hide away, but for the majority, it's all fought on the top of the buildings. You feel a little bit like Spider-Man. If you're Pathfinder, definitely feel like Spider-Man, swinging from building to building, trying to take advantage of any high ground that you can find. And then there's the ultimate high ground when that circle does go that way. That's the one thing I enjoy about the arenas, is how the different circles make a map play entirely differently depending on where you're going to be going. Like for Gardens, for example, even though as much as I dislike it at times, it's a huge map, but you only ever see two positions played, right? Yeah. You've got one high ground, you've got one low ground bit, and apart from the circle sometimes transitioning to the building down at the bottom where people hide down by the door, for the most part, you're just going to see people fighting in those buildings. You never really see people on the east or west side of the map, and that's just because of where the circles pull. And some maps are quicker than others because of that, because you know where those circles are going to be, you know those power positions to play, whereas some are going to be a little bit slower, some you can go for flanks a little bit more often, and there's a lot of variety now as more maps are being introduced, and that means that we get a lot of creative ways for some of these arena teams to look at legend compositions, to look at tactics, look at strategy, look at weapons that have changed. The meta has been ever evolving throughout all these arena tournaments, and I'm just waiting for the next innovative thing to come through.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting into the games. I want to find out from the chat as well, everyone who's watching right now, who are you supporting today? I want to see if we got some love from people. We're on a little bit of a delay, so it's going to take us a few seconds to look over and see exactly what's going to pop up in the chat. But I want to see we got some G2 love, we got some Monas love. I know there was a lot of fans of Monas last time. They brought over their boys and their girls into the chat, and they were like, "Yeah, Monas are taking this," and they almost proved themselves right. They put in a lot of great performances. I want to see if there's some Sentinels fans. I want to see if there's some fans of Benchwarmers, which by the way is a top-notch name, and I'm sure that they will maybe be looking to tag that onto the end of any org that they get signed by. So it might be I don't know, Dan Gaskins, because you don't have an org. I didn't want to throw any predictions out there. Do you know what I mean? When you get Onset said that they're signing to these, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Dan Gaskins Benchwarmers. You know what I mean? I feel like that has a little bit of a ring to it. I think it's a good thing to go with. But
would I be allowed to purchase my own Apex team? Would that be
a conflict of interest?
Yeah, conflict of interest. Do you think that maybe I wouldn't be allowed to commentate on the tournaments if I was definitely biased?
If you were a man of your word and trustworthy, then quite possibly there might be a conversation to be had. But I think unfortunately you've made your bed there, and you're gonna have to learn it.
I presume you as a human being, everything you've ever said, you've always
never
sworn
told
by. You've never told a lie. No,
never.
Okay. All right, no, that's fine. I'm glad that you can be honest about that, and you are more of a human being than I am. You are a perfect man, and I wish I could be as good as you.
I am as pure as they come, Dan. Is all I can say. And I'm going to leave it at that, because I'm sure that someone is probably filing through my Twitter right now looking for something that doesn't say that. But let's talk about, I don't know, let's talk about some of our other teams in the bracket. If we could bring the bracket back up once more, just so we can file through and just highlight some of the teams we haven't talked about as much. For example, G2 we've mentioned, Ghost Gaming, again, a little bit of an underdog, you would say, maybe, which is crazy to say. When I say underdog, by the way, I don't mean underdog out of everyone. I mean potential tournament winners. Definitely Ghost Gaming have shown they can get the job done in arenas.
Can I give you Powerpuff Girls facts about the fact we've got Mojo Jojo in there? Because I'm a big Powerpuff Girls fan. Did you know, Mark, that it had the highest debut in Cartoon Network history? It was the most watched show ever on Cartoon Network at the time. On its debut, Mark. No one even knew what the Powerpuff Girls were, but just seeing Mojo Jojo, everyone knew that this was going to be the next primetime television kids show that was going to change everyone's life, so much so that when we get to an Apex Legends tournament, someone renames their team after the famous villain in Powerpuff Girls.
Do you want to know a Powerpuff Girls fact, Dan? You think you're the really real clever one? Do you know what it was originally going to be called?
Wasn't it Whoopee or something like that?
Whoop-ass girls. That's what it was going to be called. You call yourself a fan. Ugh, this guy claims he's a fan. Well, look, good news, everybody. We can stop speaking about... No, we can't. We can't stop speaking about the Powerpuff Girls because we got teased, Dan. We got teased with some gameplay, unfortunately. We can give you some more facts if you want. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm just looking them up to the left. Mojo Jojo was inspired by a character from a Japanese live-action sci-fi series.
Was it Spectre Man?
It was, and we're produced in 1971. I mean,
it's almost like I've read that same page or something. or maybe
the first link on Google that we got to. Yeah, maybe. I'm hoping, to be honest with you, that maybe it is a Google search, and we both went for the first one. But I'm looking at I'm seeing the chat right now. I'm seeing some fans of Space Station. I'm seeing some bench warmers fans. Love to see that from you, legends. Ambury. If I've got that one wrong, I apologise. You can see the Space Station logo popping up. Who else we got in here? Let's be honest. We've got some fans coming through there. That's what we want to see. That's what we love. Let's take a look at some map picks, though, Dan. Let's leave the Powerpuff Girls for the side. Let's leave all Powerpuff Girl-related stuff until we see Mojo Jojo play. And let's talk about Sentinels versus Monas. Our first map pick is going to be for Sentinels. And this is going to be a best of 3. So it's only going to go up to the first 3 here. And what do we got? We get a little reveal here, and it always gets. Oh, there it is. There it is. A little change from 5 to 3. And what do we got first? What? Guess, Dan. Come on.
Gardens. Have you seen?
An honest man would have said, unfortunately, I can't guess because it's appeared in front of me.
Have you seen on the social media app that sounds like Hickok, where you guess what color the paint balloons are going to be, but then the trend is that you guess afterwards and really annoy your partner? That's what I'm going to do. I guess that map number 2 is going to be Party Crashers.
Okay, all right. Well, you're not getting asked anymore. It's as simple as that. We'll just talk through it. So map number 1, Gardens, which is going to be Sentinels flying at people. It's going to be Monas flying at people as well. Monas did a really good job with those Skynades. Party Crashers going to be a little bit slower, but Sentinels do like to up the pace. And I think that could be a really good map too, actually, for Sentinels. Artillery is one that Monas have looked very, very strong on those. So I feel like map 1 is going to be vital. Whoever takes that home, Gardens seems to be a little bit of a coin flip at the moment for some teams. Party Crashers, I feel, probably favours Sentinels a little bit, but Artillery going for Monas. Do you agree?
Yeah, I was trying to look back to see if I could find the best of 5 and what maps were played and who won what, but I can't find the notes. I can only see the result was 3-2 to Sentinels. If I remember correctly, I think Sentinels did beat Monas on Gardens, so I can understand that pick. Artillery was a good map for both of these teams. We saw both of them try out Horizon, and that legend really can shift things in your favor, just being able to regain that high ground. Both teams were very good when the circle was focusing on the higher side of the map. They really knew how to transition from one side to the other. We also saw snipers come into play a lot for both teams. For Gardens, though, I feel like this was the one map that really Monas got surprised by Sentinels on, if I remember correctly, and I hope I do. I know I'm getting old and my brain's becoming a bit mushy, but I think it was Sentinels who really were kind of like bringing in the grenade tactics to try and take them off high ground, and both these teams were just nading each other out, and it was an absolute slugfest on the map where it wasn't playing how we were used to seeing it playing. Instead, it was just both teams saying, actually, let's go for low ground, let's nade the other team off, and then we just ran them off the map. And if it's anything like that series that we saw just a few weeks ago in the previous arena tournament, we're in for a treat, even though it's just a best of 3.
We certainly are. And as you can see, we're orbiting our way around Gardens now, which means we're getting closer and closer, tiptoeing our way through the fresh waters and the puddles that lead up to our game 1. To be honest with you, I feel like I need some gameplay now, Dan. And I think everyone who's watching right now feels like they need some gameplay, because we've got to that point now where we've kind of gone through everything. And now we've talked Powerpuff Girls. We've talked about how, you know, maybe honesty isn't at the top of your list of things to go by. And, you know, at some point, I'm going to talk about how I still want to put my hand in that lovely fountain, because it just looks like it would be an enjoyable thing to do.
But where would you place your hand on top of the fountain, or would you just trickle the fingers?
I don't know, to restrict myself. I think I'd try a lot of different things and see what's best, and then kind of feed back after that.
No, those are the important questions. I also would like to just run barefoot through the grass, I think, of Gardens.
It looks like Bermuda grass, doesn't it? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It would be soft. Yeah. It would almost be like cotton on your feet. I don't think there's going to be any prickles in there. No stinging nettles to go against you. The gardener of Gardens ensures that everything is pristine. Right, let's get into the game.
Oh, here we go. Or do we? Or do we? Don't do this to us. Come on. I'm gonna, can I cast a spell? Yes, there it is. We're already in the game, and Aiden the Destroyer is going down to the low ground. Thank you for sticking with us, everyone, and it's been a pleasure to bring you up to speed with everything that's been going on today, and of course, what will be going on in front of us in the next couple of hours. Sentinels, though, down on the low ground. Looks like Monas have managed to get that high ground, and we're down at the lower side to start with here on Gardens. No real damage being exchanged between the two as yet, as Dimmy has a little look over that shoulder, and you can see Rani is going to be on Octane, and we have a Horizon in the lobby. Sentinels with that classic lineup that we know they love to play in arenas.
Yeah, whereas Mona's going to be really trying to show what they did in the previous tournament. The aim that they had was absolutely phenomenal, and it was only Sentinels that were able to overcome them. So Sentinels will try and find that same form, just looking to try and engage in this fight after they've done a little bit of damage. As it's round one, we're not going to see too many resources available for these teams. So once a battle two is gone and those shield cells have been depleted, then suddenly you're going to have to take that fight when you're able to get a chunk of damage, push in and take advantage of any sort of really situation that finds yourself in any kind of scenario where your other team is struggling against you when they've used up all their bats.
We got trouble, really close.
Well, no real shots being exchanged between the two teams at the moment. Monas have a complete advantage with height, and I don't think that there's any utility really for Sentinels to try and fight their way out of things. The circle will pull slightly away from these buildings down to that low ground as Crust has a little poke, but will take some damage on his way as the gun shield gets destroyed almost immediately. But you can see that Sentinel's kind of in a position now where they don't really have any meds to play with. Crust doesn't look like he has any shield cells. Lou doesn't really have anything to work with. So Sentinel's in a little bit of a tough spot here, and you feel like if they get any kind of damage done, that maybe they're going to try and pounce.
They do have a bubble to work with, though. That could be the saving grace for them here, as both teams just a little bit of a standoff. There's a little bit of a peek here from Monas. Dimmy trying to get some sight lines, get some information, make sure that no Sentinels members have managed to creep out and are on the flank. Information is absolutely everything, especially in a meta in arenas where you can't use Seer, you can't use Bloodhound. There's no legends to really give you that free information. Sentinels down to the last slither of shields, and it's going to be Crust who has it, plus his actual shield, and here comes the bubble, but that is going to result in him taking some damage.
Yeah, it looks like it might be the full send coming in from Sentinels because they don't have any shield cells. They need to just try and do something crazy, get some damage or get some angles to do so. It doesn't look like Monas are going to bite on it, though, and Sentinels will be playing underneath, but you can see it's almost like we're going back a few seasons now off drop. No Evo shields to play with. They've got no shields whatsoever.
And I think this could be a very different game if either of these teams was playing anyone else in round one, because they're both so confident, but they know what each other are capable of. And eventually, Monas will get the dub there. It was very easy after they had depleted all the resources of Sentinels, and they go 1-0 up here on Gardens. But as I was saying, I mean, there's a lot of respect, I think, for these two teams from one another. Maybe a lot of disrespect as well. Probably some teabagging. I think we did see some teabagging in the previous series with them. But at the same time, they know that they're going to be going up against someone who knows how to aim, who knows how to hit shots, who knows how to play the game. So it's not a case of just running at one another. There has to be strategies to the madness.
Well, now we're going to the opposite side of Gardens. We'll go up to the extreme high ground here, and Sentinels will have the advantage with the zip line being bought by Lou here on Pathfinder, so they'll be able to get up to the high ground first. But the question is, will there be grenades there to meet them, as Monas will also hit the zip line, but down to that lower ground. There is Dimmy with that frag grenade in hand, and as he swings round, we're looking to get some shots. 45, and another is going to break the shields of Senok, so early HP damage being done by Monas here, and Sentinels have to get in a position to, once again, just buckle up and look to reset a little bit.
The Monas, they just don't miss. I mean, it's terrifying how good their aim is, really. I would have loved to have been on their team for any sort of game, whether it be VR or arenas, and they could just carry me through with the sheer amount of gun power they do have. But Sentinels still have this high ground, but here come the nades now across. His shield's absolutely ripped away from him. Now he's been bounced down to the low ground, and this is when Monas take it back.
They'll take the height, but only for a few moments here, as looks like Sentinels will finally give that one up and retreat down to this low ground. Meds starting to become an issue once again. You can see Crust only has one shield cell. Does have a battery to play with, though. And it looks like thinking about bubbling out once more, but difficult situation now for Sentinels to try and work their way out from.
It almost feels like Monas are basing this kill here, and they are indeed. The big shots come out, 3 shots connected. Senox down to just nothing, really. The bubble's going to have to come out. The 104, though, from Thrust, who tries to push in, and there is some amazing damage. Senox gets the trade. Sentinels, though, down to just a slither, and Mona should have this one in the bag, do have this one in the bag, and they go 2-0 up in this map. And Gardens just looks like home for Monas at the moment.
It really does. Sentinels struggling to get any kind of damage down in those initial fights, which is putting them on the back foot. And now, Monas on that point, looking to go 1-0 up in this series. And it has been pretty simple for them so far, to be honest with you. Really haven't been struggling to get that initial damage. But one thing that's always impressed me about Monas, Dan, is the patience. They never, ever rush things. They always wait for that precise moment. They work together as a unit. And even with that 104 coming out, it was always going to be traded. So Sentinels had to do something magic. They weren't able to, and that just made the job so much more simple for Monas.
It's how they were just planning and waiting and baiting that pill, knowing that the resources were going to be so desperately sought after by Sentinels. And instead of bubbling and going for the safe play, Sentinels, they took a risk. They sent the Octane, and Senox was cracked because of it, and that gave Monas the freedom to push in and engage. And they're going to have high ground again here. The Horizon being pushed on and just utilized to ensure they get enough of a high ground advantage that they can just be patient about the game. And once again,
you can see they tried to bubble up here, Sentinels. They tried to launch a few nades up as their first knock will come in from Lou. Rani on his own now. This is the answer that Sentinels needed. They needed to at least show a little bit of fight here as they get their first round on the board. And if we know anything about Sentinels, it's when their back's against the wall down that they find themselves the most dangerous Sentinels you can ask for. 2-1 now in the series, in the map, I should say, not in the series. And Sentinels finally showing a little bit of life.
Yeah, Mona's almost giving them a path to the high ground there. The Horizon Q coming down, the grav lift was there for Sentinels to use, and they said, all right, well, you know what, we'll take it. We'll throw a few nades, and we're going to join you up there. And I think we can get the jump on you. There's enough angles we can come from. And Mona's maybe a small mistake coming out from them, and they're going to have to reassess how they want to play this next round, because as soon as this goes to 2-2, then this map becomes a lot longer, and there's going to have to be a lot more strategy as you go into round 5 and round 6. All on purple armors now, of course, so these fights become a little bit more difficult than they were before.
Oh, Cross is in trouble. The bubble will be forced. Now you have to wonder, are Mona's going to drop? Are they going to give Sentinels a chance to recover and stabilize? It looks like they will for now, but they will have complete high ground control once more. Sentinels this time playing down in that small room underneath. 45 damage is going to slow that player down. I think it was Lou just peeking with the flatline. That's Cross now. And watch some of his point of view on Gibraltar. Maybe thinking about peeking with that gun shield. And as we spoke about recently, Cross Sentinels trust. But there comes the ultimate from Horizon. A couple of nades here as well. Lou desperately trying to avoid the damage, but Ronnie's going to get one. Senox is in all sorts of problems, and this is looking like it might be that point. Indeed, going to Monas.
And that is Horizon coming into the equation. The ultimate pop, the grenades. It felt like there was about 84 grenades there. It was unavoidable. Sentinels just had to witness the madness and just accept the damage that was about to unfold in front of them. Monas take map number 1. And again, it's down to that difference in legend composition for me. The Horizon just offered a little bit more than the Gibraltar did, but this is certainly a little bit better than what we saw from EMEA. There was a little bit more stubbornness coming out from the EMEA players where they wanted to stick with just the legends they were good with. But I feel like here with Sentinels and Monas, both of them are going for a little bit more strategy in their composition picks.
Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing from Sentinels. Really didn't... I think if you were to look at the damage statistics across both teams, there's only really one team who would be standing out. Yes, of course, it's pretty obvious when you think about it, you know, with the result the way it was, the 3-1 win, but it was the initial poke battle constantly getting lost by Sentinels, it felt, and very difficult for you to fight back, especially in those early rounds. And that's one thing about arenas, right? I feel like if you lose round 1 and 2, then it's so difficult to fight your way back in round 3 and 4 because, you know, economy's not going your way. You've got the little, you know, psychological edge going to your opponents, being able to pick up that initial damage. And I feel like before you know it, that round's gone. The map has gone as we now move on to Party Crasher.
It also gives you the freedom to play around a little bit against the grain. Going for that Horizon ultimate maybe isn't something they would have gone for if it was 2-2, for example, but it played right into the hands that Sentinels dropped. They went down low. They were going to play for the late game circle. It's that circle that kind of finishes right on the door, but they weren't given the chance to because the black hole came through and really annihilated them alongside the grenade. So a perfectly strategized moment there for the Monas, and they'll move to map number 2 with the advantage. And actually, Party Crasher was their pick. So if Monas are able to turn this one in their favor now, they'll be progressing and getting the revenge on Sentinels very early in this tournament. But it is just a best of 3. It was a best of 5 previously between these two teams.
Very, very true. Now we're going to see the 30-30s come out if we know anything about Monas and the way that they played. Love to hold the angles, love to hold the head glitches. And I just wonder how Sentinels are going to approach this, because if I know anything about Sentinels, when they lose, they like to increase the amount of aggression that they're playing with. They don't like to sit back. They like to really try and take it to their opponents. So it wouldn't surprise me here in round 1 to see them really try and close the gap as quickly as possible and maybe just put the pressure back onto their opponents, or at least try to in this first game.
The only flaw in that plan is you're going up against 3 controller players, and the more aggressive you are, the more likely you're going to be going into a close engagement, and I think that's going to play into the hands of Monas, previously Arena Demons, also known as controller mad, crazy hooligans who know how to hit every single shot in the world. And you can't just get too aggressive. You can't play into their hands that way. There has to be strategy behind it. You have to be planning when you get aggressive. And Sentinels did do that the last time they played each other. They didn't get involved in too much of a poke-off, but as soon as they did initiate enough damage, that's when they just jumped. They tried to be a little bit more surprising onto the Monas, but these 30-30 repeaters, as you say, they're such a nuisance, a thorn in the side, very difficult to play against, because it seems like as soon as you try and transition any sort of way across the map, you're just being drilled from all angles, and it is just hitting you so hard that you're having to sell, you're having to bat, and then sooner or later, you're out of resources, and you're just going to have to push with no shields.
And it's very difficult to play against, and there's something that we saw from Monas, previously Arena Demons, like you mentioned in the last tournament. We saw them really did surprise us with some of their strategies, and really, really sound strategies as well, with the way that they did pan out and the way that they did manage to play. And they actually used Valkyrie when they were on this map last time. Now, Valkyrie is banned in this arena, so we'll have to see how they do approach things with their composition. Wouldn't surprise me to see them going with something like a Pathfinder, Gibby, Octane, something a little bit more traditional, as you would imagine maybe would be effective here on Party Crasher. But for me, I don't know. We're going to have to see how things go. But oh my word. Well, get the heirlooms out. Get the sides out, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to be a little bit of Revenant coming to the party.
I don't think we've seen much Revenant in Arena, which I guess is quite surprising considering the Revenant plus Octane combo has been so prominent throughout the Battle Royale meta for quite some time. So I'm interested to see how Monas play this one.
Well, they're getting aggressive here. Oh, my God, Dimmy. I don't think he's missed a bullet yet with that wingman. And that 76 headshot is really going to be damaging the economy. And once again, Sentinels, I think, are just heavily losing this poke battle. As Aiden the Destroyer maybe feeling a little bit overconfident with the side out as he tries to maybe think about putting the pain onto his opponents. Mona's now thinking about a drop, but once again, great patience from them, Dan, just holding this high ground as Lou is going to be taking some more damage, and Lou will be the first one to fall. As Cross can't quite hit those shots, he'll go down. Ronnie has been popping off. Last player alive will be taken down here as well, and it will be, once again, Monas up by 1 and just savage in the way they went about it.
If there's one thing we learned watching both of these teams compete last time, is that they know how to get a job done quickly. Monas, they ran through their opponents so comfortably, round after round, map after map. They were 3-0ing teams left, right, and center. And, you know, they could very easily destroy Sentinels quickly here with a very aggressive composition. They now have the economic advantage. That means you're going to be closer to be able to utilize the ultimate of Revenant here, which is going to be scary if you are Sentinels, because you're just going to get bounced on by a Revenant ult. And we know what a free push it is in Battle Royale. Well, it could be exactly the same here in Arena.
Silence as well, going to be vital for Aiden the Destroyer. You can silence the Gibby, you get rid of that bubble. However, can't silence 102 damage, and that's coming in from the G7 Scout now of Cross. So Dimmy going to be forced to use a few meds earlier than he would have initially envisaged. And the Destroyer now making a little bit of a sneaky play. Let's see if he can find some angles himself. Ronnie trying to move up as well. 52 from him with the flat line. A little bit wild with that aim, though. Doesn't do the damage you would have wanted to. And Cross at the moment is doing a lot of damage, but you've just seen a bat going down as Lou will fall. And even though damage was being done early on, hit by Sentinels, now it's just Monas moving in to cut them down.
And moving in for the kill. And the kill is found. 2-0. And it's already series point for the Monas. And now this is where it does get scary. There should be enough materials now to buy the ultimate if he wanted to go for it, but they may not even need to. But as you see right at the bottom of your screen, that ultimate is there, is ready. The death totem is going to be popped in this round, and it looks like Monas are going to get aggro onto Sentinels. So Sentinels, they need to be prepared.
They didn't have the jump pad though. That's one thing. Oh, they do have the jump pad as well. Well, ladies and gents, we're about to see what we all love, right? Revtain combo in arenas when you don't have a chance to do anything, to be honest with you. Rani's going to be moving up. The question is, where do they place the ultimate? Can they do it in a position where they can get back to it safely from death protection? First of all, they might not even use it because those shots with the Volt, excuse me, it's the G7 Scout. I'm going to be doing a lot of damage. There's 42 flesh as well as Rani wide peaks. I just wonder if they're going to wait to get that ultimate down the death totem before. However, big damage coming up once more now.
Yeah, that was huge damage. I think actually that killed off the ult. I think Aiden the Destroyer might have dropped it, but the grenade came through, destroyed the ultimate, so we're not going to see any sort of Revtain combo coming through just yet. Monas are going to have to play this one safely, normally, but probably still aggressively, because they have done so in the previous 2 rounds. They just need one more to close out this series and this map. Sentinels haven't had an answer so far, but maybe this round could be just the beginning of them getting back into things. They need to just be very careful about the flanks, because Monas have been just edging their way around the map, finding these off angles and then doing the damage.
A little peek shot there from Xenox just to respond to the damage that was done to him. It's going to slow things for just a second. Crush is trying to peek as well, but every time we're on board with Sentinels at the moment, it looks like they're having to give up lines of sight because of the fact that they're taking that damage and being forced to sell, as Aiden the Destroyer is going to his best impression of a couple of Sentinels players by having to pop some cells himself. Dimmy's going to have to be careful here as he takes a little bit of flesh damage, and Rani as well. So Sentinels giving as good as they got here, Dan, and they need to, because this is not just map point here. This is a series point for these two teams.
Look where this circle's going, though. Both teams going to have to move ever so slightly, and you'd argue that Mona's in a slightly better position. Sentinels have to back out. Blue's been cracked, needs to shield up, but the ring is closing right about now. Funk show, brother. Check it out now as Sentinels will move in. Xenox is very much low, does get the resources, will get a bat. So at least they've done the job. They have moved in. They have got the position.
Well, Aiden the Destroyer looks like he doesn't have many meds to play with. However, 38's going to get the crack here for Dimmy. It looks like Monas might be pretty low on resources, and now they're going to try and send it on one player. You can see that I think it was Xenox who was closest here, but Dimmy's going to be last player alive, and this might be a little bit of a spark lit under Sentinels as finally they managed to answer back. And I think the standout moment from that round down is the totem actually being destroyed, not allowing that free rev push.
I wonder whether they even knew where that totem was, or whether it was just a complete potluck grenade thrown towards a player and suddenly connected with the totem, destroyed it. Doesn't allow the pushback. Perfect though. Sentinels will be delighted, and maybe Monas will look at that and say, okay, well, do we need to try this again? Did we waste too much materials on those ultimates where we didn't have enough resources to actually take on the fight? We won the first 2 rounds without the ultimate, so let's just go into this round a little bit more safe. Let's buy up better weapons. Let's get plenty of bats, plenty of heals, so that we can just win this and take the series, move on to winners bracket round 2.
Let's see what kind of investment comes out from Sentinels. No ult.
Oh my, Lou.
On the Gibby. Lou, as you say, is going to exit as quickly as he entered. Lined up for the nightclub, forgot his ID and got sent immediately back to the pub once more. Blue now with the 2x4 on the flat line. Might be able to do a little bit more damage with that 4 times. It's very difficult to control the recoil, as we know, with that scope, but in the Destroyer now. Make a little sneaky play towards those meds, which he's going to gobble up.
Yeah, gobble up, and he can distribute them to the rest of the team if he wants, but he may have an angle onto Sentinels here, especially if this grenade hits. It does tag. It's not a considerable amount of damage, but it is damage nonetheless. Damage that will force out some resources to be used. Some of those meds are going to be having to be popped, as Monas very much have the angle advantage at the moment. But Aiden does have to be careful, and I like this. I like that he's retreated, because if Sentinels did notice him, they might have been able to jump on him and really isolate.
A little bit of a longer round, this one, between these two teams. Seen some of them finish very quickly. As you're going to see, Cross gets silenced. Rani down to 1 HP, though. Just a tickle away as Aiden the Destroyer is going to have to fall off the high ground as Lou tries to get aggressive and make a play. 2 Skynades might make this a little bit more uncomfortable for him, though, as Cross will almost go down. Lou has fallen due to those Skynades. And once again, Aiden the Destroyer, well, he's raining down hell from above, and he's raining down hell onto Lou as well. Senox will go down as the final player, and Monas will take home our first series of the day, 2-0.
Well, they get their revenge from the previous Arenas tournament. It was probably a little bit quicker than expected. It is a best of 3, so maybe Sentinels will be thinking, well, perhaps we can get our revenge later on, but it's going to be a long old road through that lower bracket, and the last laugh very firmly is going to be in the court of Monas, previously Arena Demons, previous runners-up of the last Arena tournament that both Mark and I commentated over. So Sentinels, it's going to be, well, a difficult task for them, but they just couldn't quite keep up with the aggression of Monas. And again, Monas just being very innovative, coming out with something different. The Revenant maybe wasn't a huge impact, but those silences would have hurt quite a lot.
I mean, you look across the statistics here and you can see, I think map 1 was the standout for me. Initial damage, right? We talked about that, and you can see that Sentinels doing a good amount of damage themselves, but nowhere near what was actually done by their opponents. It was a clear victory for them. A little bit closer in that second, but dear me, look at that damage dealt on our second map on Party Crasher, and I think a lot of that came from the Wingman, so big numbers from him.
Yes, Sentinels just... They couldn't compete with the damage, and they didn't have the ability to kind of snag any resources away from Monas either. There was just a kind of trade-off for who was getting the bats. At times, Monas even baited those pills, baited those resources from Sentinel, says, look, you can go for that pill that's in the open, but what happens if we shoot you? They did shoot them, and then they would push on them, and Sentinels had to take the fight because they were being swarmed by 3 players. A shame, kind of, that we didn't get to see the Revtane really kind of performed at its brilliance, but at the same time, we all hate Revtane quite a lot, so that grenade was kind of a grenade for everyone, really, wasn't it? We all enjoyed just seeing that ultimate blown to smithereens. Yeah,
we'd all put our signature on that grenade. I think, unless you're a Monas fan, that is very true, and I'm sure they would have loved to see it, and it certainly would have been some fun, but at the same time, I think you summed it up more than I could need to say to put on the matter, but very impressive again. And I love seeing that again, the innovation coming in from Monas. You know, they used Valkyrie last time that they were on Party Crasher to use that Skyward Dive to get into position and reposition with a jetpack, to use the Q, you know, all these different things that come into different legends being effective, and they found another one there. You know, the silence is being important, being able to get rid of gun shield with the silence. There's so much that could be talked about. That was just impressive about that performance. But the final thing we need to say about it is it was 2-0. It was very comfortable. And now it's time for us to take a look at the bracket, see what was going on elsewhere, Dan. So not just Sentinels who'll be falling down to the lower bracket. There will be some other teams joining them as well. Take us through it, my friend.
Noble Esports lost to Arena Demons 2, so we've seen Arena Demons 2 live up to the name of the previous Arena Demons, now the Monas. Monas will face off against AIM Religion, so ignore the fact that Sentinels are there in the upper bracket round 2. They did not progress, they actually dropped down to the lower bracket, excuse us. Premier GG took down Space Station Gaming, and then a few of the upper bracket round games are still to be played, so looking forward to seeing who will move through.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise to Space Station fall down so early. Premier, very good performance from them. But as we talked about earlier, you know, Monas, I think they're favourites, man. I'm going to say it right now. It's early to say it. I've only seen them in one previous tournament, but taking down Sentinels in that kind of style, I'm making them favourites, Dan. Argue against me. I dare you.
Don't think I can. I don't think anyone can argue against Monas. It's going to get to the point where we're going to have to ban any legends that Monas play, and that means every legend, because they are the most innovative, as you say. They like to experiment, they find what works. Clearly they've looked into Revenant on Party Crasher and they say, hey, actually those silencers can work. There is usually predictable angles on Party Crasher. You know where people are going to be standing, usually on top of Mirage Voyage. That also is poke damage. There is usually, it hits for 10 each time. You get 2 of them, maybe 3 of them, and then you can really just damage your opponent slowly but surely, as well as annoying them, stopping them from having those abilities.
Well, it's time for us to go to a break. In the meantime, of course, while we're having our little break, head over, as I remember how to speak English, to gloot.com. That's GLOOT.com. And sign up for a free account so you can start competing and tracking your stats in Apex Legends. There's some awesome stuff to get involved with. So head over once again. That site for you to check out in this break is gloot.com. But as I say, time for us to jump into a quick break. When we get back, let's going to be our second game of the day. Welcome back, everybody, to GLL Arena Summer, and it's time for us to get towards our match 2. Very impressive performance from Miners in our first match of the day, getting a little bit of revenge on Sentinels, although it isn't the ultimate revenge, Dan, because they might match up a little bit later with the losers bracket run that might go down from Sentinels. All these stories might unfold over the next day or so of action, but it was an incredibly impressive performance from them, and to be honest with you, there's not really much fault you could put on it. No,
Miners played pretty flawless. Can't really argue against how they played. They had strategy behind everything. Their shots were on point as expected, as they were in the previous tournament as well. Sentinels might be a little bit frustrated with how they played some of the rounds. Perhaps they feel like they could have been a little bit more aggressive. They almost were hiding and cowering away from the Moners, knowing that Moners just hit shot after shot and the poke damage is going to be there. But by just allowing Moners to have too many angles, it meant that Sentinels then were forced into a corner where the damage was coming from far too many directions to be able to handle. So Sentinels will need to look at that. They need to have a good losers bracket run now to try and come back through to the tournament. But we have seen them already in the previous Arenas tournament we commented on. They did struggle in the early stages, but then came bouncing back and won the entire thing. So I wouldn't count them out just yet.
That's very, very true. Well, the next game that we're going to be bringing you is going to be Premier GG versus My Little Phony. And we'll show you the bracket now just to keep you up to date with all the games that are going on, because there's been games going on everywhere. You know what I mean? Complexity have moved through, though, Dan. That's pretty exciting for everybody, as Complexity make what I would describe as a grand return to the grind after ALGS Championship disappointment. Alpine Esports versus Benchwarmers is still going on at the moment, but you can see the Dudes Night Out took down AIM Religion, and they will be playing Moners in their next round. Arena Demons, you mentioned it earlier, Arena Demons 2, excuse me, will be going up against the winners of G2 and Ghost Gaming. That game is still going on at the moment, but unfortunately, Dan, Mojo Jojo fallen down to that lower bracket. Sad times.
Oh, Jojo. It's a shame. I don't think I'm going to get the chance to cast them. I'm going to be completely honest. We won't commentate on the losers bracket until round 3, so that's going to be a long way for Jojo to get there. Credit to Noble Esports, by the way, getting to losers bracket round 4 already. That's impressive for them. But sorry, that is of course just an error. But yeah, maybe that's a prediction from the production side. I like that one. Confidence in Noble Esports.
It's like when you get to a theme park and you get the what's it called, the fast track. You get the fast track ticket. It's like you get that's what Noble Esports have done. They've moved their way through. Congratulations to them. But as you say, a little bit of a graphical mistake. We'll get there. We'll make sure that we drag them back. They're in there twice, to be fair. So as you say, it might be a prediction. But Complexity moving through, very, very impressive for them. That'll be an exciting game, to be honest. The winner of Alpine Esports and Benchwarmers taking on Complexity. That'll certainly be one for us to keep our eyes on, and we'll keep you up to date with the scores as we get them and as they come flying in. But as I say, the game we're going to be focused on, Premier GG versus My Little Phony, two very talented teams that have also had decent runs in arena tournaments now.
They have, and I think Premier GG taking down Space Station is going to be a nice confidence builder for them. It was hard to decide who was going to be able to progress to winners bracket round 2. We didn't see how they were able to conquer their other opponent, but judging by the speed of which, you'd presume it was probably a 2-0, and the same can be said against their opponents in My Little Phony. So I don't know which way this one's going to go. I think both teams have the ability to win maps comfortably. It could be one of those where we see it go right down to the wire. We see kind of round 9s coming into the equation, or it could be one of those that just is 3-0 after 3-0. If one team gets rolling, if one team has a little bit more confidence than the other, you have to give a certain amount of respect to the other team, but you also have to disrespect the other team sometimes by being aggressive, trying to catch them off guard, trying to be that kind of surprise package that the other team's not expecting. Because if you suddenly, all three of you, turn up out of nowhere with Devos or flatlines, it's very difficult to respond to that if you can just jump on one player, isolate that one guy, and then you've got a 3 versus 2 fight. But on the other end of things, you've got to make sure you're not in a position where you can be jumped on by a 3. So that's why you get those standoffs at times where it's just kind of poke damage versus poke damage. As soon as one player gets cracked, that's when usually the IGL will say, all right, now we go.
Well, one thing I'm enjoying at the moment, and it is the slightly sadistic side of me that's enjoying it, is when I look over to the Twitch chat and I see the classic argument is already broken out. Miners go through, mouse and keyboard versus controller. It's already started. Everybody just pick a lane and stay in it. You don't have to fight. It's all good. You know, we know the controller aim assist is there. You still got to be good to hit your shots. You know, it's the case of things. These guys are pretty damn good, you know. But if you do want to fight, I am enjoying it. And one thing...
we can provide you with mouse and keyboard and controllers so that you can fight fairly in the battlefield.
This is true. And one thing that one of my favorite comment that I've seen so far is imagine playing shooters with a glorified TV remote. So that's, I'm not going to encourage it. Everybody just calm down, right? Everybody calm down, respect the players, inputs, whatever it might be. We're all here for a good time. But it still makes me laugh. Let's talk about our game a little bit. As you say, it's going to be a very tight one. I can see this being a game, that goes to a map 3, because it's a best of 3, as we say. So it's going to be over again very, very quickly. Not many games to play to go through to that next round, but I find it difficult to separate the two teams. You look across the lineups, so look at the players, and there doesn't seem to be one player that is going to completely take over another one, if you know what I mean. Like when we saw Kangana a little bit earlier in the EMEA region, you're always looking at Graceful, right? You're always looking at him to have an impact. I just don't feel like it's so evenly matched that there's not one player that looks like he can take control of Arena's game.
They certainly aren't star-studded lineups compared to some of the teams and players we've seen from Battle Royales that have been highlighted, that have been kind of at the front of everyone's brains when it comes to being a good Apex Legends player. But we've already learned from Mona's, for example, today that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good arena team. And even though we have seen both My Little Phony and Premier perform well in Battle Royales and in some arena tournaments, it just takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of effort, map knowledge coming into it, legend knowledge as well, knowing which compositions to go for, that you really can make a difference. And sometimes all you need is that slightest edge. So it's going to come down to who's put a little bit more time in, for me, if I'm completely honest. It's not going to come down to raw skill. It's not going to come down to aim. It's not going to come down to chemistry, about who's played together more in BRs. It's about who's played more arenas together, knows the maps, and knows which power positions to play.
Yeah, finding out what the maps is going to be interesting as well. We'll get you that information as soon as we have it as well. We don't want to keep you waiting, because it might be a case of we didn't see one of the off meta picks for maps in our previous series. We've sort of seen 3 maps that we're so used to seeing in competitive arenas, and they're the ones that have interested me the most, to be honest. Anything that's a little bit different always draws my attention and draws my eyes, because it's more unpredictable about what's going to happen. You never know if a team has played a little bit of it and maybe knows a little bit of a strategy. If one team's just going to throw themselves at the other, I don't know. I like the carnage. What can I say? I like the carnage.
Yeah, we see 2 different ways of playing, especially in EMEA earlier anyway, when we had Kangana, who were very set with, we are playing with these legends. They're the legends we're comfortable playing with. We know that there are better legends to use on certain maps, but we want to play with these. We don't want to have to play a flex role where someone is constantly changing from legend to legend, something that Aiden the Destroyer does very well, may I add, from Mona's. He looks so comfortable on whatever legend he plays, but sometimes just knowing those legends, knowing those abilities, and having that muscle memory is not going to be there for certain players. They don't have the time to experiment and play with every single legend, even though the majority of players at this level play a ton of Apex, and they probably have played the majority of these legends time and time again, whether it be through pub matches, whether it be through arenas or whatnot. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but again, it comes down to these minuscule and minor decision-making skills, muscle memory that comes into it, the mechanical ability, and it can all just be one tiny thing that can really change a game.
And do you know what I want to see change in arenas? Right, so
what would you like to see?
We got a little bit of time to fill once again, so it's time for story time with me again.
Yep.
I think if it comes down to round 9, right? And it's all right, come back. You will like this. You'll like or hate it, and I reckon I can trigger everyone at once. Ready? So round 9, there's no buy phase. Everyone gets a Kraber, and it's just what happens. We just let what happens. How can you not like that, right?
True shotty snipers style, just like Halo back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone gets a Kraber. Controller players might not be thinking that's a great idea. Shots at controller players.
If controller players,
I'm a controller player, by the way.
If it's so OP, then you should have won the game by the time it gets to round 9. So you won't even be on the Kraber round. But I like it. I think it's a great bonus round. Personally, I'd love to see that implemented. I think,
100%. To be honest with you, I think that BR should start with Krabers as well. I think everyone should drop with the Kraber. No, I'm joking. Don't put these ideas down. Do not. That wasn't me.
Man of his word, though. On set, if you remember earlier, on set was saying he's a man of his word. And you should trust everything he says, and you would never ruse anyone or pull the wool over anyone's eyes. So
it was a ruse. It was a ruse, everybody. Sorry, I lied to you. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully we can get into the game as soon as possible. We'll wait for the players to get into the lobby, everybody. I'm sorry that you have to wait and you have to put up with me spewing some of this stuff, but it's where we are right now. Okay, we've already done EMEA. We're in NA. It's getting late. What is the time now? Actually, let's have a look. It's 20 to 1. It's not that late.
Not that late,
Not
really.
by this time anyway. I'm ready to go.
Not too bad. Although I wouldn't mind just a little nap if the players are going to take that long. If they could just do us.
Close your eyes.
They can do us. Can I? Can I just have a little minor nap?
No, absolutely not. All right, Dan's going to meditate while I mean, it's your choice, Dan. You have the choice to close your eyes for a few moments.
It feels like I'm on a sunbed, if I'm honest.
But that means that I am completely and utterly responsible for the broadcast and what happens. That's on you as well. So I'm just saying, if you want to leave me with that responsibility, I'm happy to do so.
I won't do that. I also
let's talk to chat again. Let's see. I asked a little bit earlier. I was like, yo, I know there's a lot of fans for Monas. I've seen the hashtag Monas on top, which I'm a big fan of. And I want to see if there's any more fans that we've got in here. Who's everyone supporting? Who's watching right now? Who's the love's going to? I want to see. We've got G2 fans. We've got complexity fans. I want to see some complexity fans in the chat as well. As I say, I'm a big fan of what they're doing. Back on the grind. Back on the just not just the BRs, not just scrims, in arenas as well, which would have been crazy to say about complexity at this time last season. I would say between AOGS when it was kicking off, but. Yeah, I mean, show the love to the players. This is your opportunity, chat. This is, stand up, be those people.
I want to see complexity pop off. Like, I would love to see. I mean, the thing that worries me, right, is we only saw Gambit once today in EMEA, and we know what Gambit are like in Battle Royale. We know what Hardeki's like in Battle Royale. And if I was to compare Hardeki to one single NA player, I think Monsoon would probably be there in terms of like individual ability, clutch plays, just pure bananas. But that doesn't necessarily mean that transitions to arenas. Hardeki wasn't able to go nuts. He wasn't able to 1v3 everyone. He had some big moments, but it wasn't really enough. Monsoon, though, I feel he has the support to go off here in arenas. And whilst we might not see him here in round 2, we're going to be focusing on a different game. I do hope that we get to see complexity a little bit later.
Well, let's talk about the game that's coming up. Let's talk about the map picks that are going down. As we can see, Premier GG versus My Little Phony is the next game. And Premier GG will have that first map pick, Dan. Guesses now. 3, 2, 1.
Gardens.
Gardens. He's gone for... It's Party Crashers. 0 points on the board for you, Dan Gassian. But I'll give you the chance to redeem yourself. My Little Phony, who did they go with for map 2?
Phase Runner.
They went with Phase Runner. Our survey says... Gardens. Unfortunately, that is 0 out of 0. But this is the bonus round for you, Dan Gaskin. This is the Kraber in your hands. What is map pick 3 for Premier GG?
Thermal.
He's gone for Thermal Station. Dun, 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 dun.
Damn
0.
it.
Absolute donuts on the board for Dan Gaskin. But let's break this down a little bit. Party Crasher, Gardens, and Phase Runner. I'm not gonna lie. This is, I think Party Crashers is going to give us a good indication of where the series might go, because Phase Runner and Party Crashers seem to play very similar with that poke damage. Gardens, as we know, is a free for all. It's 2 people running at each other, and whoever's got the harder head is going to come out on top. But would you agree with that statement? Or do you think that there's little to no theory behind it?
I'm just still upset that I did actually get 2 maps correct, but just at the wrong time.
You got them wrong, man.
Yeah, but I guessed Gardens for map 1 and Phase Runner for map 2. At least I got 2 of the 3 correct. Do I get anything? Do I get any sort of prize? Any sort of love? No? Nothing? Okay.
You didn't get it right.
Yeah, but it was almost right.
It's like going on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and going, oh, yeah, but I knew it was one of the 4 answers.
Yeah, but I feel like
that
did me in there. I feel like actually I got it correct and they just put it in a different order to spite me. So yeah, but I'm excited anyway. These are three maps that I think is going to provide for some entertainment here in winners bracket round 2. As you say, the poke damage is very much here on Party Crasher. You know the angles that people are going to be playing at this point. You know where to be throwing grenades. You know the kind of general area where you're targeting. But you are going to have those players who are going to try and play those off angles. They're going to try and be little sneaky beavers, kind of marauding their way across the map, going for those resources, and then emitting some damage from the other side. But you have to be very careful that you don't get caught out on your own. Otherwise, then we know what happens. You find yourself in a 2 versus 3, or you put your team in a 2 versus 3. But I love Party Crasher. Again, you said earlier you'd like to go with Party at Party Crasher. Again, I don't really see it. There's not really much to do there, if I'm completely honest.
Vibing with a Pathfinder on top. You see those lights in the background? How could you not want to do that? Standing on top of Mirage Voyage, the lights and the music blaring. My kind of place to be, Dan. That's all I'm saying. You can go and sit. You can go and sit on the little chairs outside, all right? And just enjoy the views.
Is there free tea?
Different people.
I would probably choose Gardens, if I'm honest. Go and sit on the top of gardens with a cup of tea, appreciate the scenery. Everything looks beautiful. Fred the gardener has been keeping everything in good nick, making sure that all the roses are smelling perfectly. Everything's at the right length.
Dan the kind of guy to go to gardens because it's free entry, and he gets a cup of tea. It cost him £1, and then sends it back just because he wants to complain, even though there was nothing wrong with it. That's the kind of person that Dan Gaskin is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm up for a party. I invite you all to join me on Mirage Voyage. I drove it into that mess. It's fine. Hey, we've got some gameplay, everybody. Thank goodness for that, because I apologize for having to listen to us babble on, but here we are. Premier GG taking on My Little Phony. Dan, we've got some Apex on our screens. I'm excited, my friend.
I tell you what, I've been waiting for this moment for a good 20 minutes, and now we're going to get an actual fight going on. Hambino pushing in. He's going to be taken down to a considerably low amount of health, and there's going to be a trade for trade, and just like that, we wanted Apex Legends. You're giving Apex Legends Premier GG in one of the quickest rounds we've seen today. Well, they absolutely obliterated My Little Phony.
That was over almost as quick as it started. I'm slightly concerned now. If we keep up this pace down, that we're going to be showing Apex Legends for around 1% of the show, which is not what we want to be doing. We want to be bringing you action. We want to be bringing you the best Apex Legends players in the world. But we're going to continue to roll through this now, and My Little Phony going to look to answer back. But that was a really devastating performance in that first round, and I love the aggression, Dan. No messing about, bubbles out early, and trying to get up in the face of their opponent.
Look, these teams, these players have places to be, they have things to do, and they know full well that if they just run at the other team, maybe they can get the job done in a matter of seconds in that instance. But Premier GG with just no respect to My Little Phony. The nades will come out, the sky nades are there, the 30-30 repeater is there as support, and Flatline's there as well. And it looks like Premier GG are in the thick of it again, but can you hit your shots? Not this time. Fearless will take down the first knock.
Oh, big shots coming in from Hambino, though. Nearly managed to trade things out, but didn't quite manage to. There's two players who are flesh at the moment who are on My Little Phony, but Premier have managed to stabilize for a second, even though Crook has gone down. So, a little bit of a standoff, and you have to say that maybe My Little Phony playing this one well, getting into a position where they can regroup. However, the Pathfinder is going to be wiggling and trying to worm his way around as Crook will be taken down by Fury. Or I should say, not taken down, eliminated from the game after the knock has been now confirmed into that kill, which will leave Ronnie with some shots with the day repeater. Does a little bit of damage here, but Hambino trying to play bait here for his teammate.
Pretty much dangling himself on a fishing rod at the moment. Manages to get one, so at least he's taken one down with him, and now it's all down to Ronnie on the Gibraltar. Can he actually emit enough damage to make this a round? No, he cannot. My Little Phony will tie things up 1-1. Premier GG caught out a little bit on that occasion. But we've got exactly the same composition from one team to another, so we don't really need to talk about how one legend may benefit in certain areas or not. It is very much a trade for trade, a blow for blow, and 1-1. Now My Little Phony will be delighted that they're not going to be obliterated in 10 seconds.
I'm sure everyone who's watching as well is going to be happy about that we're going to get an elongated series between these two teams. All 6 point of views on your screen. Thanks to the wonderful people in production for giving us that option to see how everyone is going to be approaching things. And it looks like circle-wise, we're going to be going towards Dan Gaskin's side of things, the quieter side, away from the lights and the magic of Mirage Voyage. And this is where we see some placement nades being really, really vital down.
Don't pretend like you don't like the quiet life. Now you are at least 45, but My Little Phony don't fancy the quiet life. They want to get up in the face of Premier GG. They want to take the fight straight to them. Either 8 in the hand. Tempest does hit some shots, but misses few as well.
Crook going to go down. Going to be traded out. Well, however, Tempest is on a little bit of a roll here, and he needs to hit one more, and Tempest both teams out in style. My Little Phony, a little bit of a shaky first round, but both teams just running at each other, it would appear here, Dan. Not too much strategy to talk of.
Just like that, I mean, My Little Phony suddenly find themselves on map point and could be 1-0 up. And, well, that would be quite a surprise after how round 1 went, because Premier GG looked like they were just going to be able to walk their way through things, but maybe it was the aggression of My Little Phony forcing Premier GG into that fight, just not going My Little Phony's way in round 1. But ever since, their aggression has paid off. They have been able to single out one member of Premier GG and then take full advantage of that 3 versus 2. There's a little bit of chatter going on. I can't quite see it. I want to see what's going on, what they're saying. Oh, okay. Well, and that's probably, yeah, that's going to, yep. Okay, cool. A little bit of arguments going on about ping. That's always going to be the first excuse these players go to.
couple of shots going to be exchanged. And Bino, once again, trying to get aggressive. And at the moment, we talk about strategy, we try and break things down, but this is just two teams trying to flex their muscles on each other. And defensive bombardment is going to slow things down for a few moments. As Ronnie is going to throw yet another grenade into the distance. He's going to have to be careful. As his teammate is alongside him, he's going to launch one more. Hey, there's another one in the back pocket. He's got deep pockets, this man, and they're all full of frag grenades.
Tempest very low and will fall, and so will the teammate in FL. Just James, fearless, but maybe he will be slightly feared. Premier GG tie things up 2-2. We're going to go all the way here on Party Crasher, or at least to 4 rounds anyway. But just, you were right, no strategy at the moment. There's no kind of resource
I'd
management.
love to break it down. Your job is so easy as an analyst here because there's nothing happening. It's just two teams running at each other.
I could just say nothing really, couldn't I? Dan, so what do you think? Yeah, just running at each other. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah, whoever hits their shots first is going to win.
To be fair, that is how arenas can be sometimes. If you play with this strategy, like of, well, let's not elongate things. Let's not allow our other teams to get an advantage by, you know, poking us and having more shield cells, having more bats. Let's take the economy out of the equation. Let's just go for raw gun skill here, trust in our ability to win our engagements.
Well, here's my little phony. Surprise, surprise. I've already got shots fired here on Party Crasher. 50 to the Gibby. Ronnie's going to fall. My little phony win. What else can I say? There's not much to play by play because two teams just ran into a bubble and my little phony hit the most shots.
So there's not much to play by play.
I wish
not
I could
much
tell
to
you more.
analyze. That means we're back. We're back to drinking tea on gardens and talking about Fred the gardener and how he keeps it nice and clean and tidy.
It's true. Well, Premier needs a win this round, and I imagine that it's going to be another calculated, cold, scripted, thought out, deep and meaningful round between these two teams, Dan. Argue against me, I dare you. There's no history to suggest otherwise.
No, I think you're completely right. There's a lot of strategy going on here. Both teams are very much analysing exactly the placement of
Heat maps,
their opposition. They know exactly which kind of area they want to hold down.
Spreadsheets.
Yep, the Excel spreadsheets are there, documents. They know all the damage that's been outputted by the other team in previous rounds. But now we're going to get the bubble fight.
I'm sorry, everyone, all right? This is kind of the apex I love to see. Ronnie with the longbow is going to hit one. Hambino, where are you? There's a fight going on, my friend. There's Hambino. There goes Hambino. My little phony win it. That was entertaining. That's all I've got to say. That was entertaining.
I mean, if it was nothing else, it was definitely entertaining. But neither team fancied playing that with any sort of strategy whatsoever. It was purely on fighting ability. Who can hit their shots? There was one round, actually. I think it was the second round where everything slowed down a little bit, and then one of them went, you know what, screw it, and they just jumped at the other team. Like, it was almost like they just had no patience whatsoever. Their mum's got their dinner on or something. They've got places to be. I don't know, but clearly neither team fancied any sort of strategy. Maybe they just don't really like Party Crasher as a map, and they don't feel like they need strategy. But the worrying thing is, on set, map number 2 is Gardens.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, maybe we'll have a little opportunity to slow things down, but Gardens, these guys are going to be smelling each other off spawn. They're that close. So it's going to be, you know, much of the same. It could be even quicker. Do you know what? I might start a timer because, you know, we were talking about a record for Gardens. This might be the one that breaks it, to be honest with you, because that, in my opinion, has to be the record for Party Crasher, surely. Like speed of rounds per round.
And it was a 4-2 as well, right? I think that was probably a quicker 4-2 than we've seen some 3-0s be on Party Crasher, even with like the round buying extra time you will have just by playing those 2 extra rounds, 3 extra rounds even, excuse me. So yeah, certainly a quick one, certainly not really too much to dive into, except My Little Phony hit their shots better. They bubble fighted a little bit more successfully, and Premier GG were just caught out. They were just pants down at times. One player was singled out, was eliminated from the game, and then the other 2 had to fight in a very difficult struggle. But now we'll move across to Gardens. You know, me and Gardens, we have a love-hate relationship. You know, I didn't really like Gardens, but then when you look at it, it's just beautiful.
Lovely vistas. Lovely vistas. Manicured.
Look at those roses.
Landscape.
Are they even roses? I don't know.
Are they roses?
I don't know, but they look wonderful. Fred's done a great job. Shout out to Fred, the gardener of gardens, keeping my holiday retreat at its very finest. But yeah, this is going to be my holiday retreat in gardens. Go from a luscious, calm, beautiful landscape to obliteration and probably manic diving on one another and just killing one another as quickly as possible.
I hope both teams zip line to the top building. You know what I mean? How one usually takes a little bit of the lower ground. I hope we see a full-on, because this is what I think is going to happen right now, by the way. I think both teams are just going to throw themselves at each other like we did on Party Crasher. And I hope we see, like, shots being fired at each other as two teams converge together. Do you know what I mean? And someone falls before they even get off the zip line. That's the kind of aggression I want to see here. I want to see how aggressive two Apex teams can be on Apex. On Gardens, I should say. Obviously on Apex.
Yeah, we're not playing another game. I mean, we say it in jest, but to be honest, when we first used to see Gardens, that's how teams played. Because they knew that the power position was up top, so they both would just zip. And they didn't necessarily know which kind of area was quicker, and they just felt like they could probably do enough damage or grenade whilst they're on the zip that they did just meet head on, literally nose to nose, and then you'd have a punch out on the top. And people didn't really have respect for Gardens because they felt it was slightly unbalanced. But as we've developed the meta of arenas and people have worked out that you're not at too much of a disadvantage now if you're on the low ground because of grenades, because of Horizon being able to help out as well, Legends really coming into play, that it does mean that Gardens can be a playable map. And I have slowly learned to enjoy Gardens. And maybe the teams here will be able to show us the quickest game you've ever seen on Gardens.
Maybe. I mean, we've seen Party Crash is the quickest 4-2 we've ever seen. Maybe it'll just be a really slow. Maybe everyone's going to play Sentinels. Who knows? At this point, between these two teams, I don't know. I don't know what to predict. I'd love to talk strategy. We've talked strategy that you'd expect to see on Gardens, but the way these two teams have been playing, Dan, I don't know. I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? I think they're just going to run at each other. I don't think I can give you any more than that, everyone who's watching at home. I think they're going to run at each other. I think whoever misses is going to lose. And if there is more strategy to it, I'll be happy to talk you through it. But until I see it, I just don't believe it's going to happen.
So the one benefit of playing kind of the low ground game here is you will get more resources. Like zipping to the top, you're not going to get all these pills, right? You're not going to be able to get bats and whatnot. But for the most part, it's not really a poking map. Once you're up there, you're up there. You don't really have a back and forth trade-off. There isn't really a chance to elongate it if you're on the lower part, because as soon as you are cracked or as soon as there is a bit of damage from the team that are above you, they will probably push you, or at least just get an angle that they can take you down, get a knock, and then it's 3 versus 2, and then they push you. We do see sometimes Gardens go right to that final circle where like it's just under the door at times, or it's a little bit further on the other side, right in the direct center of the map, where it's just a massive standoff and it is a slight poke damage war at the very beginning. But it's rare that that happens on this map. So for most part, even though you get more resources when you get low ground, you really want to be competing for that high ground. Grenades are going to be very important. You have to be buying them up. I don't know how many grenades you want. Fuse could be a decision if you want to go really kind of gung-ho. We saw how Horizon was really beneficial earlier. The black hole just being able to suck the enemy team in, and then the grenades just exploding in their face, and there was nothing they could do about it. I'm trying to give you strategy, but to be honest, I don't think much of that's going to happen because these two teams just seem to want to run at one another.
Yeah, I think zipline or jump pad, see what happens. That's, I mean, both these teams have actually employed specialist analysts and strategists to put together these, you know, these. This is what they've worked out. You know, they crunch the numbers down, put it all together. It's not just, you know, two teams running at each other here. There's more than that. It's deeper than that. And this is how both teams think that they're going to have the most success. It's as simple. It really is. You know, we think it's simple. More to it. Thousands of dollars have gone into this, millions almost. You know,
well,
for these strategies to be put together.
I mean, My Little Phony take the advantage when both of them have the same legend composition. Are we going to see a different legend composition for both of these teams? Is there going to be one legend that will just kind of allow Premier GG to propel themselves back into things here? Or are My Little Phony just going to take a 2-0 sweep and march on to winners bracket round 3, where they admittedly, I think, are going to face a team that will probably play very differently to their current oppositions, and they might have to switch things up ever so slightly. But you can only play what's in front of you, right? Both of these teams are saying, well, they're running at me, so let's run at them. Or they've pushed us, we have to fight them here. You can't play a slow, methodical game if the other team is just full-on going banana at you. So it's a difficult one.
It's tough. And hopefully we'll find out the result of what's going to happen as soon as possible, as we're still waiting for the game to get underway. And one thing we could talk about a little bit is the importance of care package in round 1 and 2 is something that has swung the games. We'll maybe talk about this a little bit more about what might happen later between a couple of other teams, because these two teams, as we say, we've predicted what's going to happen. Just going to run each other and see what happens. But in round 1 and 2, care package has been a really big influence. Upgrading that Mozam to a blue or a purple Peacekeeper has been the difference between some rounds, Dan.
Yeah, we heard it in an interview earlier, right? That just it can be a little bit scary when you're going up against an opposition who really does control that care package. The Gibraltar has been a big focus for some teams, just to bubble down, secure that gun. It means you can spend your materials elsewhere in rounds 1 and 2, whether that be on, ultimate abilities, or whether that be on just batteries, health packs, whatever. Med picks, health packs, that's something that is very entirely different. But yeah, the care package can also be a little bit of a fluff. Like, sometimes it doesn't really give the gun that is going to be too beneficial for you. Like, yeah, okay, a Peacekeeper does hit a bit harder than a Mozambique, but also a Mozambique has its own benefit in its own way. It can hit from distance, it's got a lot of poke damage, it's got a ton of ammo to work with. So sometimes the care package won't necessarily work out too well, but for the majority of times it's going to be at least a little upgrade if you can work with it properly.
Well, good news, everybody. We're loading into the game now. The players are in the lobby. We're ready to go. So it's just a few moments away from actually seeing some more Apex on our screens, which is incredibly exciting for everyone involved. And thank you for sticking with us. We know it's been a little bit of an arduous journey to get into these games today, but we'll get into them as soon as we physically can. You know, players have got to jump out and back into lobbies. There's all this sort of stuff that has to go on behind the scenes. We want to show you gameplay as quickly as possible. It's just how these things work in arenas, okay? So thank you for bearing with us. And yeah, we'll get into this in just a few moments. Players are loading in, Dan, and we're moments away from seeing two teams run at each other.
I mean, it could be different. I could just be feeding Powerpuff Girls facts to you all at home.
Probably best we moved on from that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like, you don't want to be hearing about how much I enjoyed watching Powerpuff Girls as a kid. How I think Mojo Jojo is arguably one of the most evil villains to grace our screens since Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man. So maybe Mojo Jojo will make an appearance in the new Marvel films. Who knows? We have seen the recent trailer in Spider-Man. I'm very excited for that. A lot of old villains coming back. Mojo Jojo in the multiverse. Who knows? Hey, we can speculate as much as how much craziness is going to go on in this next map.
Speaking of Mojo Jojo, did you know he was voiced by the Scream movie killer? Did you know that?
Was he actually?
Oh, here we go. There you go. So there you go. A little bit of a fact for everyone right now. Yeah. Want to throw up to some of your mates at home? Sure, that'll definitely impress them. You know what I mean? Did you know, if you start any sentence to a friend to try and impress them, if you start it with, did you know in the Powerpuff Girls, then you can't fail. Whatever follows after that doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're there. The focus is going to be on you. If you're in a party and you start a sentence with that, then everyone is going to surround you and they are going to be eagerly awaiting what is about to come out of your mouth. So, yeah, start your night with that one.
Not gonna lie, if you were at a party, right, and someone turned around and said, did you know in the Powerpuff Girls, whatever's happening, you listen. I'm just saying, you do listen, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Anyone who starts anything with that kind of sentence, you're like, you're right. But you'd listen and you'd be interested and you'd probably use it later on. Hey, we got some Apex on our screens, everybody. Woo! Let's get into this one. Premier GG versus My Little Phony. The W key wars continue.
My Little Phony have a 1-0 lead after map number 1, and it actually took longer to get into this second game than it did for them to play out party crashes. Here comes the bubble fight, number 1. Please get some good damage, but it's not going to be enough just yet. Premier GG down to a very low complement of health. Ronnie has to try and help out Hambino, but it's not going to be enough. My Little Phony takes round 1, and I hope you've got that timer on board on set, because this could be record-setting time for how quickly we get through a game of guns.
One of the smartest things Dan Gaskin has ever done is play-by-play an entire round fully in the knowledge there would be nothing to analyze afterwards. And quite rightly so as well. Both teams just ran at each other again, Dan. It's as simple as that. My Little Phony won the fight, much like they did earlier on. What else do you want me to say? Got into that bubble. The bubble went down. Both teams went in. That was the end of it. But now we are going to see both teams go towards that high ground, and we are seeing the zip lines, Dan. Honestly, these teams just duke it out. Straight up the zip line. Fire those bullets. No nades.
Give me a zip off. Premier GG have advantage in this zip off. They'll get the high ground, and the other team is probably just going to toss some grenades up towards the high ground here. You have to be very conscious of what's above you. damage trying to be transitioned from one team to the other, but this is going to be a slightly slower round because Premier GG can just hold on to this high ground for a short while.
A little bit of a slower round. This might be the longest round that we've had so far.
Yeah, turn it off. Don't like it.
And Bino taking the time to pop the syringe. They have to get some meds off as well. Just try and get back up to full HP. It's almost as if these guys have been listening to us. They know that what we want to see, and they're refusing to give it to us. There's a crack coming in from the flat line of Fury, though. And now Premier GG with this high ground, having to avoid these sky nades. So we're back to a little bit more traditional Apex Legends arenas, Dan.
Well, My Little Phony are going to have the low ground. They should have more resources than Premier GG. So Premier GG are going to have to take advantage of this high ground at some point. They need to be looking to try and poke ever so slightly, but at the same time, they don't want to give up their position, nor do they want to deplete their own resources. That's going to be a nice 76 crack, and that might just be time to go.
A little dome tickler for sure as Crook goes in now and tries to bubble fight with the Gibby. Goes for the little flick round the corner. The Gibby will hit it with the right hook, and that thing's got a lot of power behind it. That will be another round now going to My Little Phony. So now they find themselves not just one up in the series, Dan. All of a sudden, we've sped ourselves along, and even though the round was slow, we find ourselves on match point.
It was slow, but Premier GG kind of threw it away. They got the crack, they pushed in, but they just weren't able to get the shots done. My Little Phony, despite having the low ground, still able to close out the round. And Premier GG, they'll probably kick themselves a little bit because that might be them throwing away the entire series. My Little Phony now just one round away from winning the entire thing in this best of 3. I think there was a Gibby Ultimate purchased on the side of My Little Phony, so we'll see how influential that will be. It doesn't look like they're going to be diving towards the high ground, though. No ultimates purchased aside from that defensive bombardment. And maybe this could be the final round of the series.
Could well be. My Little Phony one round away. And for all of the little jibes, we have to say, maybe we've been making about this, it's been very effective for My Little Phony, the way that they've approached things. There's a sky nade, and there's a Gibby sliding backwards off of the high ground, showing the moves there. You know, he's a very agile man, even though he's got that strength and that power as well. Trust me, Gibby can move. You get him back on Party Crasher, the man knows how to break it down on the dance floor.
I mean, I've seen him perform the hacker in quite an effective way, so I certainly wouldn't want to be on the other end of a dance-off because I feel like he probably has a little bit more up his sleeve, and he's got a big shield on his sleeve as well, and at the moment, that's going to be what's being utilised on top of that building to get a little bit of poke damage here to My Little Phony. They're on the low ground again, but of course that defensive bombardment is there to try and force them off top.
Hostile right here.
Right, still an advantage here for Premier GG. They do need to try and get something going. At the moment, there really hasn't been any rhythm to their play and no real thought process either. And Bino trying to lock onto that player with the flat line, but not going to be able to do so. James Fearless maybe thinking about a little grapple up to the high ground. He's got 2 grapples to work with in this game. There might be an opportunity if some damage is done to swing up and try and get that initial knock here.
Yeah, what's the plan here for My Little Phony? Because they're very much just holding this building. I don't know whether... I don't think they've got the defensive bombardment anymore. If they do, then that's very much going to be their plan. But I think it was... No, they do still have it. Thank you, observers, for quickly switching over. So this is probably the game plan then, is wait a little bit, wait until they know everyone's above them, go for the defensive bombardment, then you get a swing from the Pathfinder, and then you initiate in a fight.
At the moment, a lot more slow pace than that as the ring will start to close and the low ground starts to become a little bit of an issue as you have to think about moving out and moving to transition down to that low ground. That's why Premier are a little bit slow on things here. There's the defensive bombardment finally being called in, which is going to maybe give My Little Phony an opportunity to move forward. Frag grenade will be tossed into that room to see if it picks the hit markers and any damage, but not going to happen. So even though the abilities are starting to be used, Dan, still no real damage.
But Premier GG at least are taking off the ultimate high ground here in a slightly more pushable space. They are stuck within that building, but I was going to say that they scamper up and they take the high ground once again, but they cannot stay up there. They do have to move. The circle is going to be moving. They've spotted a couple of members of My Little Phony retreating to a different area. As My Little Phony maybe looking to try and play final zone here, force Premier GG off the top.
Tempest trying to get into a position here, using that bubble. There's that first knock, and unfortunately here for Premier, it is falling against them. There's the second. Tempest and James Fearless doing a lot of work for their team. He's going to take the time just to pop that battery, but he's not going to be needed in the battle as My Little Phony will complete the sweep here on Gardens. It will be 3-0 to them, 2-0 in the series, and that'll be the win going in their pockets.
Yep, they move on to winners bracket round number 3. Also known as the semi-finals, actually. It's as easy as that. You get into round 3 and you're in the semis. You are guaranteed at least, top 6 by that point. So My Little Phony performing very well in this bracket. Premier GG, even though it was fast, it was explosive, they just weren't quite able to do the same amount of damage, and that's ultimately why they lost. There was a little bit more method behind the madness in Gardens, a lot more strategy implemented. I say a lot more because it did seem like there was no strategy whatsoever in Party Crasher. It was just run at one another. However, there had to be a little bit more thought process here on Gardens. Both teams styling it out, playing that bubble effectively, and ultimately, My Little Phony, they just fought a lot better, and the bubble fight's very successful from them.
Yeah, really good bubble fighting from them, and you have to say that maybe they did a good job of just separating the final players alive in that last round that we saw on Gardens to use that bubble to isolate the players inside the building and kind of cut off their escape. So a good job for My Little Phony. They'll move into the semi-finals, like you say. Impressive from them, but again, I worry about both those teams moving through. I don't know how effective that strategy is going to be going against some of the more experienced arena teams.
Yeah, I think a team like Mona's, a team like Sentinels. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think they would probably mop the floor with them. Maybe you might get a few cheeky rounds here or there where you catch them off guard and maybe the aggression works out. You get that first knock, you take them down. But I think with a little bit more strategy, you can hold off aggression like that. You can be prepared with it, whether it be grenades, whether it be bubbles, whether it be other abilities. There are always counter strategies to aggression like that.
All right, well, it's time for us to go for a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to have plenty more Apex action coming your way. But don't forget, in the meantime, to head over to gloot.com, GLOOT.com, and sign up for a free account so you can start competing and tracking your stats in Apex Legends. Go and check it out in these few minutes that we're going to step away. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, everybody, welcome back to the GLL Arenas summer. We are recharged. We're ready to go. Dan's had some food. He's got some calories under his belt, and we are going to start off in the best way possible by having an interview with one of our amazing players who's involved with the tournament. We have James Fearless joining us from My Little Phony, who have just come through a war with their opponents. But James, if you're there, can you hear us? Yep. You good? Yep. You good? Awesome. Yep, I can. Great to have you on the show. Congratulations on the win in the previous round. I want you to get your insight on what just happened, because that was a war between you two teams. They were just running each other. There was no holding back.
Yeah, so basically, like, what the game plan is, at least whenever we play, and this is like our 3rd time playing in an arena tourney. So basically, like, what our plan is to just relentless aggression. Any opening we get, take an opening. Literally anything that any of us see, we all, like, one of us will call it and we'll just go, and we'll just bubble up on somebody. We'll just fly at them. Just because it's simple, it makes the rounds quick, and also people are probably used to, like, the little poking damage and stuff like that.
And what happens if a team does try to play kind of the poke damage against you? Like, let's say they're just constantly back-footing away from you and just trying to go for poke damage, saying, no, we're not going to allow you to jump on them. Is that when you then bring out ultimates, bring out Octane's Pad, for example, Pathfinder Zip? Do you literally just dive on people at that point?
Well, pretty much you can do that, and we also try to, like, use our throwables methodically. Like, we won't, like, just all waste them at the beginning of the round. Like, we'll try to hold on to them and then, like, just get them out of position so we can push them and stuff like that. So we just kind of, like, that's like our gameplay when it comes to that.
All right, well, we're going to have to see if that works in your next round, because you move on now to play against Alpine Esports, who a team we know a lot about, and we've seen do a lot of crazy things. I mean, are you going to keep that same strategy here? Are you going to bring the vibes? Are you going to bring the aggression? The W key going to start to wear out a little bit on the old keyboard?
Absolutely, we're going to keep doing the same thing. I ain't going to change nothing. The only way we'll change something is if we see something, like in-game adjustments. And it just depends on what looks they give us.
Yeah, and I've been asking a lot of people, like, on legend composition and stuff like that. Do you have a game plan for different maps, or is it very much the same? It doesn't matter on the map. You stick with the composition, you stick with the aggression.
Usually same composition. Gibby, Pathfinder, and Octane work on pretty much every map. It depends, like, on the new map on Dome. Kind of like that's more of like a lot more vertical characters like Valkyrie and Horizon. So if we play that map, we might, like, switch up the comp for that one at least. For the rest of them, pretty much the same.
Awesome stuff. Well, James, we'll let you go and get ready for your next game, because that's going to be coming up very soon. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations to getting so far, but I'm not expecting the run to end here yet for you. So best of luck, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on. Later.
Awesome. Great to hear from James, and a perfect way to set up our next game, Dan, as well. Thank you for rejoining us after the break as well. I'm sure that you've all got renewed energy like we have as well to get into some more arenas action. Dan's got his serious face on once more. You can see that. He's sat up in his chair. He's puffed his chest out because he wants to get into the next game, which, like I mentioned, is going to be Alpine Esports taking on My Little Phony. So the perfect way to set things up, Dan, really. Just a little interview there with James Fearless saying that he's going to be bringing the heat a little bit like we are.
It's at least good to hear from them that even though from an outside looking in, there's no strategy, right? It's just run and gun. But even though it was run and gun, and James kind of confirmed it was run and gun, there was at least strategy behind the run and gun. It was more, we do damage and then we push. It's as simple as that. We don't want elongated fights because they don't want to give the opportunity for other teams to outplay them with poke damage, so that they don't want to have to go with it in a resource battle. They don't want these long, stale games. Instead, just get the job done. They either win the fight or they don't win the fight. It worked well in the previous game against Premier GG, but will they be able to do the same thing against Alpine here? That would be my biggest question.
Well, let's check out the maps they're going to be playing and see how the map picks have gone down. Dan, a chance for you to redeem yourself here. Number one, what you got?
Overflow.
Dan's read the Discord. Congratulations to Dan, and we're going to take that point off for cheating. It's going to be Phase Runner, actually. We have been stitched up by production, and I respect that from them. Oh, that's impressive stuff. So we're starting off on Phase Runner. So you're still 0 out of 4, Dan, so far. Let's give you a chance to redeem yourself. My Little Phony's pick. Where are we going?
Overflow.
He's gone for Overflow again. It's Gardens. He's 0 from 5, everybody. He really is struggling here. And for all the marbles, Dan, I'll let you get back onto an even footing if you guess map 3.
Overflow.
He's gone for Overflow. It's Overflow. He's got one right. He's managed to get himself back onto even keel at least, and Overflow will be our final map. So this one, you're looking at My Little Phony and the way they play the previous maps. They like to get aggressive. They like to get those close quarter encounters as quickly as possible. Gardens and Overflow gives them the chance to do that.
Yeah, we may not even get to Overflow, if I'm completely honest, if My Little Phony have the same success that they did in the previous matchup, but Alpine Esports might be able to combat them a little bit easier. Legend composition is going to come into it. Do they have a Gibby to combat the Gibby? Will we get a double bubble fight, double bubble trouble? Is there going to be anything that might just kind of throw a little bit of a spanner in the works? We saw a Revenant used a little bit earlier. Granted, it wasn't on Phase Runner, but it is something that could come into the equation. A silence could be very much the downfall to a Gibby team, not allowing them to Gibby when they're perhaps in a scenario where they need to. So all these different things do come into the equation. And I'm excited to see whether My Little Phony's aggressive take on arenas will continue to play off. And once they do get to the late stages, I guess this already is the late stage of the tournament, but maybe if they go up against another team who doesn't play aggressive, it's completely the opposite of that. It's very much slow-paced, methodical, strategic. We are going to go for poke damage. We're going to get out the 30-30s. That is going to be a pure war of, hey, stop pushing us. Oh, wait, we're going to have to push you back. Okay, we're going to get pushed again. Like, it's just going to be a complete back and forth, like a little tug of war.
Yeah, the one thing I like about the way that My Little Phony plays, it forces decisions to be made by your opposition, right? It doesn't allow them to settle down. It doesn't allow them to feel comfortable and kind of feel their way into a series. You're constantly being forced to hit shots. And if you're the team who are constantly forcing that, you're used to that position. You're used to putting yourself under pressure and finding yourself in those gunfights where you have to hit the bullets. So I kind of like it, to be honest with you, from My Little Phony. We'll have to see if it continues to work here. And Alpine, it's the first time we're going to see them now, Dan.
Yeah, I don't know how Alpine are going to play. I was happy to see them progress. I also was quite sad not to see Complexity progress because I wanted to see them on stream, but perhaps we'll see them in the lower bracket a little bit later. But Alpine, for sure, throughout Battle Royales have always demonstrated they have the ability to get to those late games. They have the ability to win those 3v3 engagements. So why wouldn't it transition into arenas as well?
There was something very poetic about the way that this game started, which is James Fearless, the man we just spoke to, running forward, the boxing gloves out on the Pathfinder. I love that. It says everything you need to know about how this game is going to go. But My Little Phony here, already pushing up, trying to get in position to get the meds, but looking to take those fights as early damage is actually going to be exchanged between the two teams, but nothing really too significant so far.
My Little Phony, though, still pushing up, still getting the angles, forcing back the likes of Alpine, Staniaki, and Yuris, who have all shown up when they need to in Battle Royale scenarios. But
I miss Hill. I'm just going to say that right now. Hill not on the team today for Alpine. I'm sad about that.
But are they going to be able to turn up here? Like, I mean, regardless of composition, regardless of who's actually playing right now, right here, is there going to be an option where they are able to win against a team who is constantly just W keying and constantly on their backsides? But hit shots like that, then maybe.
Stunny's going to get the first knock here onto Tempest, so a little bit more of a methodical game coming in from Alpine Esports is going to allow them to get that first knock. However, pressure still coming in here. Arcane hit some great shots from down low, but is it enough, and has he been able to buy enough time for his teammates to get into position to finish off that damage? It doesn't look like that is the case. RKN now going to be taken down. It all falls onto the shoulders of Urice, who manages to get one, makes it a 1v1. Urice versus Fury. Fury has the advantage with the HP, and that is what is going to make the difference here as My Little Phony take home the first round.
30-30 repeater doing its job again. Didn't have the shatter caps, but it doesn't matter. Just connecting with those shots close range. Have, of course, the arm shield with the Gibby to give you a slight advantage in any 1v1, and had the shield advantage too. My Little Phony carry on from where they left off in the previous series. Sheer aggression, just trying to overwhelm their opposition, not allowing them to have the chance to strategize whatsoever. They took enough resources that even though they did get chunked away a little bit at the start, they were able to replenish that health, re-engage, and then win that battle. A very important round one victory for My Little Phony. They will now have more economy to work with here in round number 2.
See if they can get that second round on the board. As we know, getting a 2-0 lead is so devastating in arenas. You really can have the opportunity to get those 2 match points in your favor, which gives you the little round mistake, or the opportunity to make a mistake and still capitalize and adjust. So the bubble is going to be used here by Fury. Doesn't manage to quite pick up the meds, as that bubble's going to disappear pretty quick, so decides to retreat back to his teammates. But My Little Phony not being allowed to control the pace maybe as much as they would, and they're taking quite a lot of damage here now.
Yeah, Fury's is so low, as well as James. They're going to have to try and transition to the other side of the map. Not going to work out, but at the same time, Alpine have lost 2. And just like that, it's just a 1v1 or a 1v2. It doesn't matter because the shots are raining through, and My Little Phony, they managed to convert what looked like a round that was very much not going to go in their favor. And they just turned it around. Alpine just fell to the floor, and it's a 2-0 lead. And they're 1 round away from another quick 3-0 sweep.
Yeah, good confidence there from My Little Phony in those fights as well. Knew that Alpine Esports were low HP and decided instead of just taking their time to reset, they probably figured out they had a little bit of a HP advantage, maybe a little bit of an angle to work with, so weren't afraid to take the fight like we saw from them in our previous game as well. So now we're on match point, and it's going to be 2 of them here for My Little Phony. And Alpine Esports need to answer back, needs to find a way to combat this aggression.
They did some good damage, but it can come down to just one missed shot when it is going to be these really aggressive fights. Not quite the bubble fights that we saw previously. Instead, the bubbles have been used to grab resources. So My Little Phony, there is some strategy here. It's not just about running at the other team. They're instead picking up bats, picking up the shield cells and Phoenix kits to ensure that they at least have a way to get back up to full health after that happens, after you take a little bit of damage at the start of the round. Alpine Esports now are going to reposition, try and get an angle here to do the damage, but we've got to be very careful, because My Little Phony, once they do get any sort of damage, any whiff of an attack, they will push you.
James Fearless showing no fear. Defensive bombardment coming in. Urice was taken down to pretty much 0 HP, and now RKN's going to be there to try and support him. But once again, the bubble fight opportunity. You don't have to ask these boys twice, as My Little Phony will close out map number 1 inside of the bubble, which they now called home.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well get James on for another interview soon, right? It's going that way with how My Little Phony have just played that one, a very quick 1-0 lead, and it is still a best of 3 here in winners bracket round 3 or upper bracket semi-finals, whichever way you want to paint it. But either way, we're painting the picture that My Little Phony's aggression is still paying off here. It doesn't matter what map they seem to be on. As soon as they have that damage, they are fearless. And even through a defensive bombardment, they're happy to push through, take 1 hit, and still focus on that Gibby to ensure that you help your team to get the knocks. And yeah, very impressive from My Little Phony. That even though we were kind of joking around about the lack of strategy in the previous game, you can understand the method to the madness, right? They are making it work here. They're not allowing their other teams to strategize whatsoever.
That bubble almost actually gave James Fearless a little bit of help. It was an enemy bubble, but it just gave him that little bit of cover when he came back up, and maybe even under the bridge to avoid that defensive bombardment. But we do find ourselves now moving over to Gardens, where, you know, with the pace that they're playing at, you can't really say anything outside of the fact that My Little Phony are looking incredibly strong here, and you wouldn't be surprised to see them close this one out on the next map. But every time I've said that, I swear, in arenas, this is where things fall apart as far as predictions are concerned, because Alpine will find a way back into things.
It's very difficult to have favorites and to go off previous maps and previous results because games do vary a lot depending on who is playing in the matchup. Yes, okay, we saw My Little Phony dominate Gardens earlier, but they weren't playing against these three players. We might see Alpine just be far more comfortable on Gardens than My Little Phony's previous opposition, Premier GG. So even though, yes, okay, history would suggest this is going to be a comfortable one for My Little Phony, you've always got to have that but what if it's a good map on the other side for Alpine. But considering from map number 1, it was very much My Little Phony dominating, getting aggressive, winning their 1v1s, winning their 2v2s, 3v3s. They had it all there. The recipe to success was very firmly in their favor. So, yeah, it would suggest this should be a map for them. They should take the whole series 2-0. I would like to see Alpine get back into it purely for a viewer's point of view, purely for a neutral's point of view, but it's hard to go that way.
Yeah, it certainly is tough, and especially with the sub as well, it's going to make things a little bit different for them. But as we say, things can turn around very, very quickly in arenas. As quickly as that map was over, could find yourselves with the same kind of pace. Alpine Esports tying things up a 1-1 here. So a lot of work for them to do, obviously, in front of them, and probably a little bit shell-shocked with the way that first map did go. However, as we say, only takes one Skynade in this first round to get your first round on the board, and all of a sudden you're back into this, and a little bit of confidence, a little bit of momentum starts to roll your way.
It has been impressive, and I wonder whether the kind of grenades that we see in Arena is helping people going into Battle Royale with their grenade placement, because you do have to be far more accurate in arenas. It's kind of not the kind of lob and hope that we see sometimes in Battle Royale, where you kind of know the general area, you know the building where people are going to be. Of course, you've got the line which shows you where you're going to be throwing things, but with the Skynades here, you need to have an element of muscle memory. You need to know where you're going to be aiming things. You need to have a little bit of knowledge about where to be tossing these grenades. So it certainly will help transition, I guess, into Battle Royale. It always adds something to your game. You're always going to be improving, learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be playing a BR game and you'll find yourself in that exact position on the map and be able to throw the perfect grenade because of arenas. Yeah,
it's very, very true. All of these little scenarios which starts to get ingrained into your brain the more that you go through these routines are certainly something that players are going to be, more than aware of after a couple of tournaments here in arenas, and when they find themselves back on, whether it be World's Edge over at Thermal, they're playing some Olympus, whatever it may be. Certainly going to give them that little bit of extra insight, and similar geometry is certainly going to work in their favor as well. But as the players get ready for the lobby, do you think Alpine can work their way back into this one? Or do you just think that the pace that My Little Phony are playing is difficult to kind of stop with the momentum they have?
I think, yes, they could work their way back into it, but I don't think they will. I think that My Little Phony seem to have the game plan down to a T here, and I don't think Alpine have enough strategy behind them to try and combat this. Alpine are another one of those teams, especially with the sub, as you say, that are just going to be looking to take fights, try and win arenas based off their ability as Apex Legends players, rather so than playing different strategies, rather so than playing different legends and compositions.
Well, high ground going to be My Little Phonies for now. And not just the high ground, but the second level as well. And those shots with the Mozambique are going to do a lot of damage. This might be an opportunity to actually push here for My Little Phony. Looks like they're thinking about taking it. An early investment in an EVA 8 as well. So you can see they're more than willing to try and take any kind of fight. The bubble will go down as well. And that is going to mean the push is coming in. A player slides up at the stairs. And My Little Phony have made themselves very, very comfortable inside these bubble fights. As James Fearless and Peppers pick up the first two. Last player alive will take it down as well. And as soon as the bubble goes down at the moment, Dan, it just seems like the next thing we see is My Little Phony winning the round.
It's time to go. It's honestly, there's a call from the IGL, and they just all swarm it, and their bubble fights are excellent. They target successfully. They ensure they all know who they're looking at, who they want to focus first. But even when there isn't focus, even when they're all like fighting their own separate 1v1s, they seem to be winning them. It doesn't seem to be a case of like one knock and then a knock from the other team, and then it's a 2v2, then it's a 1v1. For the most part, My Little Phony are just downing all three players without losing one. They go 1-0 up here, and quite often on Gardens, when you go 1-0 up, it turns to 2-0 up, and then they'd be one way from taking the entire series that quickly.
Well, My Little Phony sliding through the skies, or I should say flying through the skies, as the slides will happen once they do land, and they will have complete control of the high ground already. Now, their job is to avoid those Skynades, but with Gibraltar on the team, we'll give them that dome to work with if they do see them up in the air. So, Alpine Esports at the moment, they just haven't had any map control whatsoever so far.
And it's horrible when you're stuck down there. The angles you have to take to try and hit shots. You're looking up. You're a little bit lost. And you can see how they were kind of squirming and running around to try and find any sort of position. They just look uncomfortable. Very difficult to play. My Little Pony have to take full advantage of this high ground and need to make this 2-0. Because if you give Alpine Esports a ticket back into this game, you know full well they're going to take it.
Tempest is taking a little bit of an off angle here. He's going to use the stim to try and get into position. There's the bubble once again. However, Fury's going to be the first player to go down. The second will fall as well. And it's all up to James Fearless. And for the first time, the bubble, they've been evicted from it. Alpine Esports tie things up. And My Little Phony's aggression that time just fell into Alpine Esports' hands.
That happened against Premier, though, a couple of times on Party Crasher when they won 4-2. Like, it's not going to work out every single round when you play with that aggression. Sometimes a shot will be missed or your opponent will clutch up and do something special. I think there was a few punches being thrown there by Alpine Esports and the melees connected. And when those melees do connect, it disorientates you. It also hits very hard. And Alpine will be glad to get their first round of this series on the board, and at least say to My Little Phony, this is not going to be an easy route through to the winners bracket final here. We're going to show up and we're going to give you a game.
Well, it's going to be a similar thought process here for Alpine that My Little Phony tried to employ. James Fearless with a beautiful little grapple, though, is going to give him access to that high ground, even though Alpine Esports are going to be up there first. So he's going to have to retreat. The Skynades will come in, but not real damage being done. No numbers to really be worried about here as Fury tries to poke around that corner and see if he can land a couple of Mozambique shots to the dome. Fury's now trying to get aggressive, and this is much more like it from Alpine. I always feel like the best way to meet aggression, Dan, is with some more aggression yourself.
Fight fire with fire, and certainly Alpine Esports have found a little bit of success here. A big struggle blast we see My Little Phony on at the moment, but there's going to be one knock. Perhaps this is going to be a fantastic return, but Stunny at least will get the response, and now it's a 2 versus 1. Alpine should be able to clean this up comfortably, which they do, and now they take the lead in this map, and in fact, put themselves on a map point. As simple as that.
That's how amazing how quickly things can turn around. We mentioned it only takes a couple of rounds in arenas and you can find yourself tying up a series. It really is that quick and that simple. For My Little Phony, the thing that they need to try and do is deny that match point and at least send it to a situation where their opponents need to get that 2-round advantage. But for Alpine, a real opportunity here, Dan, to just tie things up and move into a deciding map number 3.
Yeah, it's whether My Little Phony were a little bit too quick to jump on Alpine Esports when they did have the height advantage. A lack of judgment, perhaps, or just sticking to their guns of we're going to push when we get a crack, and it just didn't pay off for that one situation. But now we're going to get that battle that you wanted to so desperately see. Two teams just diving one another at the high ground. James Fearless needs to hit this shot.
Oh my! What has just happened there? James Fearless managed to do a huge amount of damage, and now we're just seeing a rumble in the jungle. And who's going to come out on top? It's going to be My Little Phony. They tie things up at 2-2. That was over in the blink of an eye. Quicker than a hiccup, as Jim Ross once said.
Has to be down to James Fearless hitting those shots. I'm going to be completely honest. If he hadn't connected with them, then that could have been a very different round. That could have been Alpine Esports taking the map. One player was singled out. It was James Fearless, and he said, "You know what? Bring it then. I'll give you some. I've got the Eva 8 in my back pocket." He connected with the shots, and we're at 2-2. And so maybe things might slow down a little bit here because Alpine Esports are going to be on the high ground this time. My Little Phony had high ground last time. Alpine tried to meet fire with fire, meet aggression with aggression, but on that occasion did not work out. The zip very much failed.
Looks like Arcane's actually going to take a little bit of a different angle here. He's going to pick up the meds. He's going to retreat to his team now, which is give them somewhat of an advantage. And now Alpine going to have to be aware of those Skynades. As you see one frag grenade dropping. We heard from James Fearless saying they're not going to use all their utility immediately. They are going to take their time, and the defensive bombardment is going to be held off now by that Gibby Dome. Alpine Esports also have one to work with themselves. Arcane thinking about throwing that down, but maybe wants to work a little bit more of a position. But there's the numbers, and there's the cracks, and this is the signal for My Little Phony to fly in. What a shot that was from James Fearless, the first off.
What an execution that was from My Little Phony, by the way. They threw the Gibby bombardment, they forced the bubble, and then as the bubble was dissipating, as the bombardment stopped, then the utility came through, the grenades rained down, and the hit markers came in, the damage counters were there. My Little Phony back onto match point, back onto series point. It's easy as that.
Just a few moments ago, we were talking about Alpine Esports tying up the series at 1-1. Now they face not only a match point, but as you say, series point. So they really need to find something magical here. But you're completely right, Dan. We were saying My Little Phony maybe lacked a little bit of strategy. Well, they've corrected us, and they've just shown that they do have the strats, especially when it comes to those sky hates, the defensive bombardment, and most importantly, like you said, the timing of it all to make it work so effectively.
Now they're going to have the advantage. They're going to have the high ground, and look at that perfection with the movement into the jump pad, and you can get that arc star down instantly to ensure you've got the high ground. These nades could be huge if they connect.
Bubble going down. That is good for My Little Phony. That means that Alpine Esports are having to reset here, having to burn through some meds. James Fearless is going to take the time to do it as well, as he needs to pop a battery, but Alpine Esports now in this difficult position where they know there's going to be some grenades coming their way. They need to try and find the angles themselves to get some decent skynades down.
And their backs are against the wall here. It's a must-win round, otherwise they drop down to the lower bracket. They won't be out of the tournament. RKN, though, will be out of this round. It's down to Stunny and Yuris to go big and hit their shots, but it's Yuris falling. Stunny is the last remaining player. My Little Phony win 4-2. They win the series 2-0, and they will be in the winners bracket final here. And, well, Alpine, they gave it a good go. They almost had the comeback. They almost took the map, but My Little Phony had a response. They had a plan B.
They certainly did. Very, very impressive from My Little Phony as well. To, they felt a little bit of pressure as well in that series, which was impressive from them to see that they can bounce back from that. And they also showed they got some strategy and a little bit of timing and, most importantly, some shot calling to go alongside it. But I think it was only one bubble fight they've lost so far in the series. And when you have that kind of record as a team, when you get that bubble down, it's only going to serve you well.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before you progress and get a couple of more rounds on the board and then win the entire series, to be completely honest. This was the one that didn't go in their favor. They did a lot of damage, but they weren't able to get those knocks, so there was just annoying damage coming from their enemies, whether it be from melees, whether it be from the automatics, but ultimately My Little Phony do seem like the real deal. Jokes aside, and I know we were poking a little bit fun at the previous game. This one was a little bit different. Alpine forced them to have more method to their madness, and certainly My Little Phony have shown up, and they deserve their position in the winners bracket final. Guaranteed top 3, of course, so that's guaranteed prize money, which I'm sure they'll be delighted with.
Oh, 100%. It was that play from James Fearless as well, the man that we spoke to just a few moments ago, that was really, really impressive. Getting that much damage done when you put yourself in a disadvantageous position on the map, and you've already taken some damage yourself. And every single clip that we're seeing at the moment, very impressive from My Little Phony, whether it's the close range fights, whether it's the coordination, everything just worked their way.
Yeah, I love the kind of defensive bombardment, wait for it to disappear, then throw the grenades, and then push. It was all timed to perfection. A lot of strategy was there. It was all implemented correctly. So My Little Phony will be delighted with that one. They will now be done for the day. They won't play their winners bracket final matchup until tomorrow's show, so they can go and rest. They can watch how everyone else is going to be playing, but for the most part, I think they know how they're going to play. They play the game and they play arenas how they want to. They don't let anyone else dictate the pace. They don't allow anyone else to change their style of play. They are going to focus on their own game rather than their opposition's, and it's worked out for them so far.
It's going to be interesting to see when, like you mentioned, a team like Mona's, who like to play a little bit more methodical, slow pace, pick you apart, almost surgical in the way that they approach arenas. If they go up against My Little Phony, that could be a really, really interesting matchup, a clash of play styles, and something that we saw when we saw the longer series between Sentinels and Mona's last time we had a grand final in arenas. So a very interesting one to keep an eye on as we do see the bracket progress. But for now, we're going to go for a break because it's time for us to set up our next game. We're going to move down to the lower bracket, I'm pretty sure, after this one. So we'll get you up to date on the next game we're going to be bringing you. But in the meantime, Dan, get your ice cream, my friend. You've got a few moments to get those calories back on board. We'll see you in just a few. Alrighty, everybody, we're back once again. It's Dan Gaskin, it's Mark Hatcher. What else could you want from a broadcast? How about some Apex Legends, and how about someone joining us to put a smile on both of our faces and certainly his teammates' faces? We have once again James Fearless, who is officially now, by the way, part of the broadcast, and it looks like his camera's frozen, or we can hear you. But the most important thing is you look like you were kind of like just being very stoic. You know what I mean? You were just kind of holding a pose. But we can hear you, mate. Congratulations on what just happened. You know, another convincing win for you over Alpine. Talk us through the series. We've got you on cam as well. There he is. Look at his beautiful face. He's back with us. He's part of the... Dan, it feels like family now, doesn't it? Like, he's here all the time.
Right, pretty much. Wait, what was the question that you asked? I didn't hear.
Talk us through the series, because it was a very fast-paced series once again. But I feel like there was a little bit more strategy to this one from you, especially when you got over to Gardens.
So on Gardens, basically, like what our strat is, the reason why we picked that map is so alternating the sides depending on like, you know, which side it is. If it's high ground, that's where you use your zip. And then if it's low ground, that's where you use pad. So basically, like we would eco different rounds if we didn't have pad and just like play it a little slower than normal, but we'd still like try to put pressure on them and still with like the, you know, the methodical nades and stuff like that. Like I talked about previously before the series started. And that's what we were kind of doing.
And in previous tournaments, when you guys have competed in arenas, like what has been your kind of major downfall? Where has been the points where you felt like you really need to work on things and adjust going into this one?
I feel like definitely like the whole thing that we needed to work on is really just like our adjustments. Because the last tournament that we played in the UMG Invitational, and we played in that one. And I felt like me as an IGL, I wasn't like adjusting correctly, and I was just like, I wasn't calling plays right, and I've been kind of trying to work on that and everything like that. So that's kind of like what I've been working on mostly to help the team, is just like play calling and like clear, crisp comms and trying not to make as many plays.
Now, my question kind of goes off the back of that one, and I'm hoping I'm not stealing your question away, Dan, as well, because I want to talk about the defensive bombardment play followed by the sky nades that we saw in one of the later rounds, which seemed to be timed so perfectly. The defensive bombardment went down from your Gibby, and you waited for the dome, and as soon as the dome was about to disappear, it was almost as if you timed it to get the sky nades to fall almost immediately afterwards. Was that something that you called?
Yep, that's exactly. I was just sitting right underneath the building, and once the bubble, like I heard that you can hear like a visual, like there's a visual and an audio cue, and you hear whenever the bubble is getting ready to go down, and I called it, and I told him to start throwing as it was getting ready to go down, and then as the dome went away, boom, they was right in their face, and then Euris flew off the building. That's all I remember.
Yeah, I just see him flying through the sky, damage hit markers everywhere on our screens as well. I mean, should we start considering you as potential favourites here with performances like that? Are you thinking you could take down the likes of Monas, who did win that previous UMG Invitational that you were speaking of?
Oh, absolutely. I think we can take them down. They're my homies, and I've played against them multiple times. I know exactly how they play, and honestly, they should be worried. That's all I got to say.
I like it. I like it. That's what I want from you, James Fearless, coming onto the broadcast, throwing shade. No, he's not throwing shade. He's saying he's homies. I mean, it's a little bit of a cop-out for you. If we're going to throw shade, we're going to throw shade properly.
I got to talk back.
All right, James. Well, congratulations on your performance today, and to your two teammates. You've been outstanding, to be honest with you. And hopefully we get you back on the desk tomorrow, mate, when you come back to play some more games.
I'd be down. All right, I'll see you guys. Thank you guys for having me on as an interview. I appreciate it.
Cheers,
awesome.
James.
Thanks,
Later.
James. All right, Dan. I mean, this is James. Do you know what? Just get him on tomorrow. You know, whatever happens to My Little Phony between games, just get him on. Good guy, very good guy, and speaks very well about, you know, his team and what they're trying to do. And I think you can see that in the gameplay.
Oh, he definitely can. I mean, as an IGL, he's very much switched on, knows exactly how he wants to go into every round. And even when the call isn't necessarily correct, you can tell that the team is behind him. They're all doing it together. A bubble fight that doesn't go their way, it doesn't phase them. Even though they went down 2-1 in Gardens, they came back and they won it. And that's what you need. You need an IGL who is going to be able to not only make calls with confidence, but also have a team behind him that is going to follow those calls without any sort of questions, because you either die together or you win together. And for the most part, My Little Phony, they were winning together, and they've got themselves into the winners bracket finals.
Interview was a lot of fun, and again, that interview brought to you by HyperX Quadcast. You can see it over my shoulder right there in the box, looking all pretty, lighting up the RGB lights. Make sure you get your hands on one if you can. Very, very good microphone, and shout out to HyperX for supporting us. You know, showing us the love to get this broadcast on to your beautiful faces at home. Let's move on now. Let's talk about what we've got to do, because we're ahead of schedule a little bit here, and we're going to give take the opportunity to shout out some of our other sponsors while we're here. We got GLL.com. Head over there, make sure that you sign up, make sure you get a free account done, make sure you start completing and tracking all your stats in Apex Legends. Noko, who have been literally keeping me alive and Dan alive for the broadcast today. It's getting a little bit late over here. You can see Dan's eyes starting to get a little bit heavy. Maybe just a couple more sips just to keep you going here. Of course, we've got other sponsors as well. We've got the likes of Lenovo. A huge shout out to you. HyperX, we've already mentioned. All these people coming together to put on this amazing tournament for these players to get involved with and bring some entertainment to you guys at home as well. Did you see that, by the way?
What happened?
To move my hand and whipped out. That could have been deadly.
Careful, your eardrums.
Imagine that. A man on broadcast, on live Twitch stuff, like just rips his ear off, rips his eardrum out. That could have been awful. I'm going to take a sip of okay, in the meantime, that's right.
You've gone for the orange. I've gone for the ice soda. I do have orange down. Oh, I do have orange behind me. Maybe that's going to be tomorrow's choice of knockout.
It's really good.
Go for that one. Yeah.
Really, really good stuff. Well, I think we're going to be able to bring the bracket up pretty soon, which we're going to try and get into a game that's ongoing at the moment. Hopefully we can get you a little bit of extra action in. You know what I mean? My little phony sitting there, nice and pretty. In the winners bracket final, you can see upper bracket round 4, best of 5.
Hold on a second.
We call it the winners bracket. Go on, talk to me.
Dude's night out. They beat Monas. That was not something I was expecting to see.
Okay, all right, that's made things interesting. And now we're going to see Monas falling down to play against Mojo Jojo, who is still alive, Dan. Let's go.
Mojo Jojo. That is not what I wanted to see. Mojo Jojo going up against one of the best teams in the bracket.
G2.
What's happening?
G2 down in the lower bracket. Arena Demons 2. That is Dude's Night Out. Arena Demons 2. Who's had the better day? That's the question. I want to get into that game.
Previous champions, Monas, they certainly will be pretty angry that they've been taken down by Dude's Night Out. But again, this just shows that we can't go off previous form of a tournament that was a few weeks ago, because the meta is developing, teams are practicing, people are getting better and better, people are changing their strategy, and it seems like it's almost a curse when you win the tournament, because you go into the next one and you seem to get taken down by a couple of new boys.
I mean, you got bench warmers versus G2 down there. That's going to be an absolute bang. Mojo Jojo versus Monas. I'm kind of happy I'm not commentating that, because there's a lot of syllables for me to get through and mess up and get wrong. Sentinels versus Premier. I mean, that's going to be nuts. And then you got Ghost Gaming, who have just knocked out Complexity. Complexity with a very tough run, you have to say. They took down by Alpine Esports, and then, you know, they don't have the biggest amount of arena experience, Complexity. But again, shout out to all of the members of Complexity for getting involved and showing that drive and that determination to get back on top. Any option to compete is always a good one. But Alpine Esports just fallen down, we can see in the Liz bracket round 4, best of 5, and we are going to be moving into best of 5s when we get down to those games as well. But I've got to be honest with you, EMEA was didn't throw up quite as many surprises as we are seeing in North America. And I feel like there's a couple of teams now who are really starting to focus up their game, maybe towards Arena.
Yeah, we've seen a few kind of surprise packages, teams who are, as you say, really practicing and strategizing on Arena. For example, VSA in the EMEA broadcast, they were a surprise package. They came out of nowhere and they said, yeah, I mean, you know, we just dominate ranked. We thought we'd join the tournament, and they dominated the tournament as well. They're in the winners bracket finals, and they're doing something that My Little Phony have been doing. They've just been showing a sheer amount of aggression and trusting in their gun ability, trusting in their aim. And it's going to be interesting to see who wins out of Arena Demons 2 and Dude's Night Out. We're trying to see whether we can get into someone's ongoing game, but if we're not able to, then we will just have to wait and see who gets into losers bracket round 3, and then we will focus on that one. But for the most part, I mean, we're going to see a juicy matchup. We might see Sentinels versus Ghost Gaming, which again could be mouth-watering. Monas versus potentially G2 or Bench Warmers. I mean, wherever we go in losers bracket round 3, we're going to get one hell of a matchup.
Yeah, I hope we can force our way into one of these lobbies. Hopefully we can, you know, we'll probably try the nice approach to start with, I'd imagine, you know, asking nicely. If we need to, I'll boot my way in. Let's be simple. You know, I'll find the password to your lobby and I will get in there and I will give it to the observers who actually I have no say, by the way, absolutely no say whatsoever for everyone watching about if that can happen or not. So, you know, hopefully they let us in. That's what I'm trying to say. And hopefully they let us in because we want to show you guys some more Apex as well. But My Little Phony, I mean, what a performance from them, Dan. They have been a standout performance. And I was hearing in my ear there, just for a second from production, by the way, that we might have something for you guys at home who are watching and thinking, hey, we want to see some more Apex arenas. We might have something for you. So stay tuned. Can't promise. Stay tuned.
It's very vague, though, isn't it? We might have something.
Mysterious.
That could be a video you found of on-set dancing back in 2006 in just a little bikini, which may or may not exist on the internet somewhere.
Happy to admit it. It exists.
Dip too far, because once you go down that rabbit hole, trust me, there is a lot of videos of Mark doing things that you wouldn't expect him to be doing.
You would expect me to be doing all of it.
Yeah,
I don't think there's many. Actually, do you know what? I'm not going to open that can of worms. But let's have a look across here, and it looks like we might be going into a Sentinels match. I'm hearing Upper or lower bracket? Well, I don't know. Dan, we get to make a decision here. Okay, so do we want to go upper bracket or lower bracket? I kind of feel like lower bracket is I don't know. Do we want to go Arena Demons versus Dudes Night Out? Do we want to go lower bracket where we send someone home?
I mean, Dudes Night Out have shown us, well, they've shown off broadcast that they took down Mona. So I'd quite like to see what Dudes Night Out have to offer.
Okay, let's do that. And we haven't seen Arena Demons either. So let's do Dudes Night Out versus Arena Demons 2, who are kind of carrying the mantle at the moment because Mona's down in that lower bracket. Arena Demons 2, maybe they're the original Arena Demons. Maybe this is something that they've reclaimed the name. Mona's have gone to Mona. They've been forced out of the Arena Demons name. And Arena Demons 2, maybe one expected to have it, so uncontested, had to throw a 2 on the end of it. These are all vicious rumors that I'm throwing out there. If you're throwing rumors out about videos, I'm going to start making them up about this.
I mean, was there consent from Arena Demons that Arena Demons 2 could be called Arena Demons 2? Was the baton passed on, or was it unwillingly taken?
Is there paperwork?
Exactly. Was there any sort of copyright things that went down? Was there any claims that might be made after this?
Lawyers present.
There's a lot of things that come into the equation when you get to renaming your team after another team. You've got to be careful with these things. But it is a lot of responsibility because the Arena Demons, when they were originally called Arena Demons, now called Monas, they managed to dominate the previous Arena tournament. They were the demons of that Arena tournament. But now they're called the Monas, and they've fallen down into the lower bracket, and they might be moaning about that. Whereas Arena Demons 2, we want to see what they're able to do against Dudes Night Out, who beat the previous Arena Demons. So there's a lot of Arena Demons and arenas and things and Monas and top-notch.
It's almost like, Dan, you beat Arena Demons, but you never really beat Arena Demons.
No, they come back.
Do you know what? They can't, because then you have Arena Demons 2, who kind of approach out of the shadows, who appear. And then if you lose to them, you go down to the lower bracket, you might meet up against the original Arena Demons, aka Monas, once again. So you never really beat Arena Demons. That's what I'm trying to say.
Those really bad sequels that no one really asked for as well in movies, but you still go and watch them at the cinema.
Sharknado 50.
But then you have to be careful because then the prequels come out. What if suddenly next tournament there's Arena Demons 0.5 that come into things and
Return
they
to
start
the Arena Demons. The Arena Demons Strike Back. All of these things. All options, everybody. As you can tell, we're filling for time. We're going to be jumping into game 3 of the series, though, between Dudes Night Out and Arena
Overflow
Demons, which is going to be Overflow. It's tied up at 1-1. Can Dudes Night Out banish both of the Arena Demons down to the lower bracket, where Arena Demons could face against Arena Demons 2? Who knows? I've said Arena Demons more than I thought I ever would in my life in the last 3 minutes or so.
Just the word arena in general, I think I've said more than I've ever needed to in my lifetime. But alas, here we are. Arena is a very important thing nowadays. And the Arena Demons are going to have to show us what they're made of. Arena Demons 2, excuse me. Whereas Dudes Night Out, who took down the Monas, the previous Arena Demons, are here for a reason. I thought Monas would comfortably walk their way through to the grand finals, if I'm completely honest, with what we saw from them in the previous tournament, especially after they took down Sentinels, the previous tournament winners that they went up against. But alas, it seems like Dudes Night Out were their kryptonite, and now going into Overflow at 1-1, this is a fantastic chance for both of these teams to push themselves into that winners bracket final, guarantee themselves top 3, guarantee themselves a nice slice of that prize money cakeage that is there waiting for them. But we don't know really how to call this one because we haven't seen these two teams play.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're going to be doing. That's why I wanted to see these two teams compete, these 6 players, because then at least going into tomorrow's winners bracket final, we can now give you something. We can see something on these teams.
And we're going to see them take on My Little Phony in that winners bracket semi-final, or winners bracket final, I should say. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. And I'm sure that My Little Phony are going to be watching this right now and thinking, hey, all of a sudden we're watching the stream, we're paying attention quite closely to what goes down, because this might give us a little bit of information to play with. So as you can see, we're heading over to Overflow. And this is a map that I thoroughly enjoy watching teams go up against each other. You have that initial little standoff, but it doesn't last for too long. You're always forced to engage.
Yeah, and when we were in EMEA earlier and we had our interview, we learned that people get pretty frustrated with Bangalore, right? Because the smokes come in, the poke damage is then there with the Mozambique and the Digi threat, and it's all a bit annoying. Just someone repeatedly just literally just jabbing you in the side over and over until it becomes a bruise, and then that bruise becomes a wound, and you have to go to the doctors. You need to sort that out. So it's not a situation you want to be in. You need to clear things up before it gets to that stage. You need to take them out of the equation and make sure you push them effectively. But here we go, our first look at Arena Demons 2 and Dudes Night Out in this tournament to see just why they are in this position. 1-1, and the winner of this map will go through to the winners bracket final.
You got Oxy Aries, you got Luxford and Reed. So welcome to the broadcast, gentlemen. The first time I've heard these names myself. Straight up, honesty, something that Dan Gaskin knows nothing about. But
How dare you?
early on here, you can see playing these head glitches. And this head glitch here is so difficult to try and play off against. So very good positioning from them. And you can see that Luxford has got the Bangalore as the legend pick. So no surprise to see that. The smokes are going to be in there. And on the other side of things, Dudes Night Out, a little bit more of a traditional composition, shall we say. Hey, catch that.
Dudes Night Out, a team that we have seen compete in Battle Royale tournaments as well, so a slightly more familiar team name and names featuring on our screens. But the Arena Demons, I mean, if they are following suit from the original Arena Demons, they are going for a composition which is more tailored towards this map. This is when Bangalore seems to be at her very best. Now, Arena Demons just going to dart out of that one, make sure those smokes are down so they can give themselves the best way of escaping, cut off those sight lines, and just watch through with those digi threats.
No real damage being done so far. It is all a little bit of poke, but there's the smoke, and the fire through the smoke is going to not quite ignite things, so to speak, but Luxford's going to be forced to back down here. Mozambique in his hand. He's going to get a few seconds here just to pop that shield cell, but look at these shots coming through with the Vault being picked up from that package, and Arena Demons now Luxford in a little bit of a sticky situation. The Doopy takes him down. Obviously, he's going to fly in with no fear whatsoever, but maybe a little bit overconfident there, as finally it will be Dudes Night Out who close things out. Rhyming out without there, Dan. That's the kind of talent that I have as a commentator, but it is an impressive performance from them, getting that damage down, and then most importantly, as we always talk about, damage is one thing, converting it into that first blood, so vital.
If Dudes Night Out do take down Arena Demons and Arena Demons 2, does that make Dudes Night Out the Arena Angels?
No. What happens is we get to the next tournament and they hit the final boss of Arena Demons 3.
Oh, don't get me started. Arena Demons 3.
Wait. Arena Threemans.
Oh, no. Well, you're getting creative, and I like that, and that's very impressive from you at 2:40 a.m. in the morning.
Best thing I've said in about forever.
It took you time, but you got there in the end. But in terms of strategy, I mean, Arena Demons tried to play that one slow. They tried to be a little bit passive. We had the kind of poke off from both teams, but as soon as Dudes Night Out had done enough damage, it was go time. They jumped very much onto Luxford. He got caught out a little bit. Arena Demons did fight back with some big damage. Again, I'm probably thinking there's some controller players here because some of the shots I'm seeing are ridiculous, just not missing. Very difficult to try and push a team who do have controller players at times. But Dudes Night Out will be extremely happy just to get this first one on the board, take the lead in this map number 3, and get closer and closer to that winners bracket final.
Look, I peaked.
Stay focused.
Yeah, you can just retire now.
Yeah, I think I peaked. I think that was the cleverest thing I've ever said.
Which is saying a lot, really.
It really does say more than I need to. Well, here is Luxford with that digi threat on the Mozambique, just playing this close corner, trying to see if he can get a little bit of an outline coming through that smoke. It won't be happening for now, as the nade will come in. He was going to have to drop down. He was the person who initiated a lot of early damage, moving towards his teammate Verhurst to try and support him. A nice little rotation actually coming in here from Dudes Night Out. Even though they have taken damage, they've all played close to each other, and that grenade is going to do some damage, maybe not quite as much as they would have wanted, but it buys them the time to get those shields off, and now they're full HP.
Impressed with the movement from Dudes Night Out, indeed, especially, I mean, on the Gibraltar, not easy. It's a dip, dodge, dive, and dupe right now, managing to get out of the way of any bullets that were coming through from Arena Demons, and I think I might have just peaked with that one as well, so I'm probably going to be retiring after this series, but certainly they seem to be in the better position right now, and Arena Demons, they need to find a way to respond. They need to get some sort of entry here, whether that just be with a few shots connecting, a wingman bullet to the face, maybe a grenade to the feet of Dudes Night Out.
Shot's going to come in with the Vault. From Skittlecakes, they're going to get the break, and now he repositions and does a lot of damage. Can he survive, though? That's the most important thing for him to do, and are his teammates in position to clean up some of these damage and turn them into knocks? Skittlecakes does manage to take down O'Reed, so Reed will be down, but all of a sudden, it's really started to turn on its head now. Luxford with the match stiff in the kill feed as well is going to get one, and not only that, the second and final not Kieran. Arena Demons 2 will make it 1 on the board for them.
Yeah, they managed to just do that damage at the end of things, even though Dude's Night Out seemed to be in an advantageous position. The Mastiff does hit hard when you manage to get into a position to really pummel it into your opponent's face. So Arena Demons now at least don't have to worry about being in that dreaded 0-2 position with their backs against the wall and having to face a team who can take risks and not really worry about it. And things will slow down ever so slightly. Both teams happy to be aggressive at the right time, but you can tell they are more than happy to also play that poke game that James so desperately dislikes. James from My Little Phony, that is. They're waiting in the winners bracket final for whoever wins this game.
Yeet pad out. Arena Demons 2 going to have complete control of this side of the map, although the Gibby is going to be almost caught out there, but a pretty smart bubble, to be honest with you, just to make sure they can make that cross without taking too much damage. The Duke's going to be moving in here, 45 out of 19 to that as well. Good damage coming in. The question is, can Dude's Night Out capitalize on the damage and get the knock that they were so desperate for in that second round? Because initially, with them getting a lot of damage done, they weren't able to get that all-important first blood.
Defensive bombardment comes out. No Gibby bubble to protect the Arena Demons, but it seems like they've managed to avoid the majority of that damage. It stunned them ever so slightly. Disorientated, grenades come through, but at least they've avoided the majority of them. Dude's Night Out won't push in just yet because no real damage connected with any of those grenades.
Dude's Night Out have used a lot of utility so far. You've seen the defensive bombardment, you've seen a bubble, you've seen frag grenades being used, and Arena Demons 2 will survive for now, which will give them a little bit of an advantage as they do move towards this end game. There's the R9. It's going to be doing quite a lot of damage as well. 47 flesh damage is going to be enough to really cause some problems with the Digi threat as well. All of a sudden, this is starting to turn on its head. The Ares is going to go down. Luxford now is the last player alive, and even though the initial damage was done, it was his 2 teammates who unfortunately got singled out by Dude's Night Out, and now Luxford's just firing through the smoke, hoping he can connect, hoping the fireworks will pop off. It's not going to happen though, as 2 players slide in. And Dude's Night Out managed to convert into a 2-1 lead.
Dude's Night Out put themselves on match point, series point now. A ticket to the winners bracket finals is there if they want to. Luxford trying to take advantage of one player being on a slither of health, even dropping the smokes, but those smokes almost gave the enemy the chance to really dash across and take advantage of maybe other players that are out of position. And Luxford just not able to do the damage from a distance with the R99, even though it does shred from a close distance. Sometimes it just can't do quite enough from long range. As we go into round number 4, which could potentially be the last round of this series. We did join it at 1-1, remember.
Very, very true. So match point, series point for Dude's Night Out, and what a run it would be for them towards a matchup with My Little Phony in our winners bracket final. But they've got to get the job done. Arena Demons have shown that they can hold their own, and they will be looking to claw this back here and make Dude's Night Out work even harder for it. Good damage coming in from Holst with that bolt. But one thing I've been impressed with, Dan, is there's been a little bit of variation actually in some of the weaponry we've seen used. We've seen the bolt, we've seen the R9, not just wingman, not just flatlines coming in from these players. A little bit of comfort being important to them in the weapon they choose.
Yeah, something that they would have used a lot throughout the Battle Royale of Apex Legends. If you're not a wingman player, you're not a wingman player. I mean, I don't mind it, but I certainly be more comfortable on an automatic, and maybe Skittlegate feels the same. Does some damage with the bolt, will retreat. Arena Demons, they have to win this round, otherwise they drop into the lower bracket. Don't forget, Luxury back up the full shield, smoke up down, and they will now push up. Really try and surround Dude's Night Out here, try and supplement.
Foxy Ares is going to be in a little bit of a sticky situation. He manages to get one, but it's going to be traded out. Reeds is trying to get the knock himself. The Pathfinder's still alive, I think, for a second. Although, no, Foxy Ares will get the knock as Luxford now moves in. Oh, going to be the last player alive. Can't even finish off the Bangalore. And they stay alive here. Arena Demons, it's 2-2. And now we have to have one of these 2 teams get that 2-round advantage to take home the series.
Yeah, I think we saw it going this way as soon as we noticed that they were both pretty evenly matched. I mean, not just in the series 1-1, but they were kind of going blow for blow with each knock. There wasn't any 2 clean fights to go by. I think we've got two teams who are very similar in terms of their skill level, in terms of their ability here in Arena. So it is just going to come down to sometimes that one extra wingman shot or that extra little bit of damage you're able to find from some utility, whether that be grenade or whether that be ultimate abilities. So you really need to be strategizing here and trying to take any little tiny advantage that you can here.
I just feel like this is going to be somewhat of a slow-paced, methodical round, because it is going to be extremely stressful for these players, knowing that it's upper bracket live on the line. It won't be tournament life on the line, but going in that upper bracket and not having to come from the lower bracket is so vital for these teams. Get that little bit of an advantage. Know that you've still got a mistake in the bag. Arena Demons 2 are taking a little bit of damage from those grenades, and that's going to be even more damage. However, utility being used and not getting that shield crack, you kind of don't mind that too much as a team.
Grenades going back and forth, but no damage, so no information as well. Another thing with kind of hit markers, with those damage numbers coming up, you gain so much information as to where players are when you do hit with those grenades. So they're not just about damage, but also trying to gain that info. Arena Demons 2 just head glitching again. They can wait, they can bide their time. Ring 1's not going to close for another 14 seconds yet. Care package is there. Is anyone brave enough to go for it? Is there anything in there that can really make a difference? The further we get in these rounds, the more likely, of course, you are to find a red item. I think it's actually round 6 when we start to see red items come into play. But nothing just yet. And now, though, you still can find some juicy items indeed.
No real damage being exchanged, and it's still that touchy-feely approach between the two teams. The frag grenade's kind of been exchanged, although Powerpuff has taken a fair bit of damage himself, but teammates in a good position to back up the player, trying to get the angle to convert that into a knock. And speaking of knocks, Luxford has gone down. Skill Cakes gets that first opportunity to do some real damage. Obviously, Ares is trying to hold off these players as well, and you have to say Arena Demons 2 are doing a good job of holding things off, but it's not going to be enough by the looks of things. And right at the last second, Dude's Night Out swing in to get the final knocks, and now they're on match point once again.
They moved so quickly when they got the knock on Luxford. Didn't allow Arena Demons to kind of replant themselves whatsoever and strategize about how they wanted to go into a 2 versus 3. They forced them into a quick gun engagement. Credit to Arena Demons, they did hit their shots. They did very nearly turn it around, but they weren't able to turn that damage into knocks and get the numbers game back in their favor, or at least on an even playing field. And that showed, even though 3 members of Dude's Night Out were very low there, 3 versus 1, for the most part, you're still going to be able to get that final member down regardless of what weapon they've got in their hands. And Dude's Night Out put themselves on, again, match point and series point.
There's a little bit of a standoff here. You see both teams are trying to take different angles, and good aggression coming in from Arena Demons. They got some good initial damage down. However, it's kind of been shared out at the moment as both teams move as quickly as I do when I'm wearing a towel fresh out of the shower, and you feel it slip for just a second. The hand goes down, you got to grab. You got to make sure that it stays up above the waistline. But for now, you're going to see a little bit of damage going down from the Bangalore ult, although it's not really damaging too many of the players. You can use more as a retreating tactic to create that space once again for Arena Demons.
Two entirely different people, you and I. I much prefer the drip and dry effect, but we can touch upon that off broadcast, as now Arena Demons have noticed that Dude's Night Out are starting to try and creep up on them ever so slightly. Trying to just take as much of this circle as possible so that when the Ring 1 does close, Arena Demons don't have the ability to just walk on in. But yeah, you spotted it. There it is. It's going to be passed off. The responsibility is given away. And it's Dupe's chance to try and win this series here.
Dupe looking to line up a shot. And we need to stay on this man's POV because he has the game in his hands. He has the series in his hands. One shot here. Things completely and utterly change. The question is, can Dupe boot someone? Zoom in around this corner. And I get the feeling that maybe Arena Demons know there's a Kraber in play. Just saw the shoulder for a second, sees the back of the gun. Nobody wants to poke, though, for Dupe. Nothing is happening for him. And if you're a Arena Demons 2 right now, Dan, you got to be so nervous as Velhas tries to move up here to give him a little bit of bait, but nothing quite happening. He looks to see if he can find another angle here. This has got to be so frustrating. One player pokes out the Bangalore. Oh my goodness! Through the fire and the flames, through the smoke, Duke will get the first knock.
They were trying to send Duke through a loop, but it's not going to work out. John actually gets taken down as 2 versus 2, but here comes the cleanup through. And Dude's Night Out go into the winners bracket finals. Arena Demons 2 not able to keep up with them. Night Out just seem to be the Arena Demons slayers. They come from the heavens and they send the demons back down to hell.
I mean, Kraber, as we all know, is a game changer. And a shot like that through the smoke wasn't a headshot, but it was enough to get the damage done. And that flick was beautiful to see. However, it was still made to be a very difficult last few seconds there for Dude's Night Out to convert. But these are some of the highlights from that game. It went down to that third game. It went down to almost our last round down. It was a very, very fun game to watch.
It was really enjoyable. It's a shame we didn't actually get to see the first 2 maps with these 2 teams, but we will get to see, of course, Dude's Night Out compete tomorrow in the winners bracket final, where they're going to be going up against a very confident My Little Phony in what is definitely going to be a best of 5 you will not want to miss. And of course, grand finals tomorrow is going to be best of 7 as well. So all these juicy maps, maybe some maps we haven't seen being played today, will definitely be played tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very fun to watch. And to be honest with you, I kind of want to see if we can catch that final Kraber shot in these replays, because this was the game changer completely for these 2 teams. This was a little bit earlier on as we saw the 2 teams really battling it out. This was Luxford, the Mastiff, who managed to pick up a nice 2-piece towards the end of things. And Luxford was doing some damage. As I say, it's always great to see new names competing, whether it's in VR or arenas. And this guy was certainly a player to keep your eyes on moving forward.
And it was just this moment where his kind of focus was taken away from the rest of the team for a little bit too long. It was very much just turtling and tunnel visioning onto one player. And it went against him in the end. And sometimes these are the fights that you look back on and just think, maybe if I played it a little bit different, I might have been able to win. But for the most part, it's hard to kind of pick apart what Arena Demons did. They played very successfully, but just Dude's Night Out had a little bit more of that clutch factor when it came down to things. And as you say, the Kraber made that difference in the final round. Not only being able to hit the shot, but also being able to grab that Kraber was a huge part of the round.
And also handing it off to someone. As I say, we see it so much, given the responsibility of the Kraber to players. Sometimes you just feel like, just hand it off to someone because you back them to hit a shot. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Where more often than not, it has been the shot that's been hit. That was the shot. 145 to get the knock on to Luxford. But even then, it wasn't made easy. You see these final battles going down. Dude's Night Out actually lost a player in this, but big damage coming in from Dupe allowed Skittle Gates to move in and get that final kill. It was a little bit more comfortable maybe than it looked in those final moments, but very impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a really impressive performance. It was great that we were able to jump into that game, some extra Apex for you guys, because I know there's been a lot of watching me and Mark talk about the Powerpuff Girls and Mark getting inventive with his commentary and saying the smartest thing he's ever said. But ultimately, we want to see more Apex, so we were able to do so. We jumped in, we got to see arguably 2 of the best teams in the tournament at the moment, and one of them could only progress to the winners bracket final. So there it is. We have our winners bracket final matchup ready for tomorrow. My Little Phony versus Dude's Night Out, 2 teams who have shown up during Battle Royale, and they're showing up in arenas.
They certainly are. It's a lot of fun to watch today. I'd say North America certainly hasn't been lacking in aggression, I think is the best way to say things. They really have been more than happy to take an aggressive approach. And it's the same thing, right? Whenever we watch BR, whenever we watch EU and NA and EMEA as a region versus NA, we always say this. EMEA a little bit more methodical, maybe not willing to take as many risks in fights in comparison to when North America see the opportunity to fight. They're like, okay, we're going to go. We see that opportunity. They don't think twice, and it's straight in, and they try and get the business done as quickly as possible. So very, very impressive. In the meantime, while we get our next map set up, next match set up, we are going to take a break. But what you should do at home is you should take a few seconds. You should head over to gloot.com. That's GLOOT.com. And you should sign up for a free account because it's an awesome place to be. You can start competing and tracking all your stats in Apex Legends. Loads of stuff to do. But in the meantime, we're going to take that break. We're going to catch our breath. We're going to set up the next game, and we'll see you in just a few. Epic intro music is there, and it can only mean one thing. We're back on your screens at home, on your tablet, on your phone, wherever we are. You have our 2 faces back, and it is the GLL Arenas at Summer. Dan, I know that made you smile because I can see you're a bit tired now, mate, but I've got something that's going to wake you up, okay? I've got something that's going to put a smile on your face. It's going to make those eyes widen once again, and that is going to be the fact that our next game we're going to be bringing you everybody at home, Apex fans, Apex family around the globe, wherever you are right now, is going to be a lower bracket game. Okay, so you might be thinking, okay, that's not that excited. But what if I was to tell you this is G2 versus Monas?
What? No
He's
way!
alive! He's back! Oh, look at him go. He nearly dislocated his spine, dude. And I was worried that we'd have to put him back together. But, I mean, what a game, Dan. What a game.
Great chair. And a great game. I think that you might be confused. I have a sty in my eye, right? Which makes me look more tired than I am. I know everyone's going to send me just their heartfelt messages now. Oh, I hope you get better, Dan. It's just a sty. Don't worry about it. I can still commentate on Apex Legends. And this is going to be a pretty hot series. Like, this is
trying to get that sympathy vote in with me around, son. Hey, just a start. Get on with it.
It hurts. Visibly, it's quite sore. So you can see it's sore. Have some sympathy. But yeah, G2 against Monas. This is the kind of the old versus new, right? You were saying how G2 were that team who considered themselves the arena boys. They were winning that first tournament, and then suddenly Monas, they managed to come along and they stole everything. They suddenly became the new boys on the block, and this is a chance for both of them to go up against one another here.
Well, let's take a look at the map picks. I almost got some words out there, and I think I combined them all into one. I just said, take a look at the map picks.
Take a look at it.
All right, Dan. Redemption time.
All right.
This is the Dan Gaskin guessing game that we enjoy. We know we love. Map 1, what are you going with, Dan?
Party Crasher.
He's going with Party Crasher. It is a G2 pick. Obviously, Dan's wrong. It's Thermal Station, which is where we're going to go first up. G2 and Monas both had a lot of success here. Dan Gaskin, Monas, where do they want to play?
Artillery.
Artillery is what you've gone for. It's wrong again. This is 1 out of 8 or 9, I think, at this point. Okay, so Party Crashers, you're surely going to get one of these right because we're running out of maps, Dan. Where are we going next? G2 Esports have picked?
Phase Runner.
Phase Runner is what G2... It's Overflow. Let's go over to map 4. If we go to the map 4 in our best of 5, Monas want to play on...
Gardens.
They want to play on Gardens. And let's see if... It's Phase Runner. Of course, it's Phase Runner. And our final map, Dan, surely you can get this right. Most of the maps have been eliminated. G2 Esports want to play on...
Gardens.
They want to play on Gardens. He got it right. He saved the best till last. Look at this man go. 2 out of a lot. But, you know, it's unfortunate, Dan, but you redeemed yourself towards the end there.
That is better than 0. So that's all I'm going to take away from this. And again, at least the map that I predicted came afterwards, so I kind of got it half right. No, you're not going to give me that one either. This is a great selection, though, of maps. These are some of my favorite maps, one of my least favorite maps, but ultimately we may not even get to Gardens, but I think we're going to see an absolute scrapper-do here. This is going to be 2 teams who have got something to prove. Monas, who probably shouldn't have dropped down into the lower bracket. I thought they were going to cruise into the grand finals. Now they have far more of a difficult task, and they're going to have to beat a previous champion in their own right as well, G2 Esports, who have won an arena tournament. It may have been a couple of months ago now, but they know how to get the job done. Well,
there's a little bit of a pattern here. You have to wonder if the winner of Thermal Station will have some sort of success maybe on Overflow, because they're both lava-based maps, Dan. We'll have to see if that comes into the situation as we roll through. You know, it might be something to link up there. Maybe it's getting to the point now where it's 3 a.m. in the morning and my brain is starting to slowly decompress. But let's see what happens in our first game of the series. Thermal Station's where we're going. This is G2's home. This is where they drop. This is where they like to drop, and they have historically dropped on World's Edge, and they know every single pixel of this place, Dan. So you would imagine they're going to have a lot of success here.
You would imagine so, but I just can't count Monas out. I'm honestly still surprised Monas are in this losers bracket. It's almost like they've done it just to give everyone else a chance. From what we saw of them just a few weeks ago, they looked unstoppable until that grand final against Sentinels, where I think they only lost because of lack of experience. So maybe they're just not hydrated today. I don't know, something, they haven't been fed correctly. Their mums haven't done their dinners. There must be something that's not quite right.
Hydrate yourself with some Noco. That'll get you going. Get a little bit of caffeine in the system, some BCAAs. That's what you need to get down you. And we'll have to see if they've managed to get that down them, and see if they're going to get some downs as well here on G2 Esports as we do get into our first map of the series. Best of 5 down, which means we're going to be going the distance. It means, you know, there's a room for a few mistakes for these teams.
Yeah, it means that this could be, you know, like an hour or so long series, but with the way that Monas played previously, it could be a 10-minute series. It will actually take longer just to get into each map than actually play through the maps, but you'd think there is going to be a methodical approach from both of these teams, at least to start with. Maybe if Mona suddenly realize that they think they have the upper hand against G2. They think they can win their gun engagements quite successfully. They might start to suddenly increase the speed in which they push, start to get a little bit more aggressive, don't give G2 the respect maybe that they deserve. But I don't think G2 are going to allow that. I think G2 are going to be far more comfortable. This is going to be definitely a match that I would imagine should have been a winners bracket final, should have been a winners bracket semi, not really a lower bracket matchup for what? This is for top 6, top 8 even? Like, this is crazy that we're seeing one of these teams eliminated this early.
More importantly, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. One of these teams will be playing to stay in the tournament. It's as simple as that. I'm going to let you redeem yourself, by the way. I know your map picks haven't been, or your map guesses, I should say, haven't been quite on point today. I think you'd admit that. I think everybody's seen it happen. I will let you get yourself back to like 0 overall, which is, out of 0 out of 0. We'll start again tomorrow is basically what I'm saying. If you can guess what weapon is in the care package.
The first care
round
package?
1. Yeah, right. I mean, this isn't hard. This is pretty easy for you to get.
I think there's going to be a Peacekeeper.
He's going for Peacekeeper. Okay, it's a sensible pick. Personally, I would have gone for a flatline. I think that might be in there, but we'll have to. Well, I tell you what. If you weren't already invested in this, now you are. Everybody at home. Yeah. Now everyone's invested. They want to know what's in that care package. They're thinking, oh, wait, there's 2 teams playing? No, secondary. There's a care package on the map. And Dan has the chance to redeem all his Dan Gaskin points.
And they're not easy to come by, I tell you. My entire life I've been fighting for those points. But here we go. We're jumping into map number 1 then, between 2 absolute giants when it comes to arenas. I'm surprised that both these teams are in the lower bracket, but here they are.
Dimmy's going to immediately shoot his gun and do a little bit of damage with it as well. However, he's going to be met with some bullets himself. And actually, interesting to see here, G2, a little bit of a change of the lineup. We have Mr. Snipe Down, who you might know from TSM joining them. So, hello, Eric Rona. How are you? All of a sudden, the lobby got a little bit more handsome.
I was not expecting this. This changes everything. I mean, G2 plus Snipe Down, this is like something that I've wished upon. This is like something I've dreamt of, I feel. This adds a little bit of sauce. This means that there's going to be an extra controller player on the map as well. So this is definitely going to be fighting fire with fire when it comes going against Monas.
It's going to be an extra controller player, Dan. G2 will control the players, you know? It's going to be controller. It's controller crazy is what we're saying at the moment. Monas doing a little bit of damage. However, G2 doing even more damage. Snipdown's trying to move in. A little bit of a poke here from Designful is going to get that final knock. And unfortunately, Dan, you don't get to redeem your Dan Gaskin points because we did not ever find out what was in the care package in round 1. However, we did find out that G2 Esports to look extremely effective there in round number 1. How do you feel about things? Firstly, G2's performance. Secondly, the fact that you didn't get to redeem your points.
I mean, I'm just going to go back. I mean, you say it's another controller player, but this is Snipdown. This is Eric. This is the controller player of Apex Legends. I mean, this is not just one in each hand. It's not just adding another controller player. This is adding someone who uses a remote control for a controller, right? That's what I heard in Twitch chat earlier, and he certainly could make that work. He could make anything work as long as it's in the palms of his hands, like a gaming god is Sir Snipdown. All right, I'll stop praising him now, but G2 plus Snipdown, they take the 1-0 lead here. And certainly Monas weren't able to respond to the early aggression and sheer amount of damage output that we saw from G2 there.
Yeah, Dimmy's not getting the best of his wingman battles at the moment, which is something that has been a secret to success for Monas. When they do manage to get rounds on the board, he's going to have to look to reset a little bit here, even though it's only just 1 round gone. Here's some nice shots with the wingman, though, coming in from Ronnie. He jumps back up. He'll get the 45 with a little flick and almost managed to get the damage he needed to get that first knock down. Dimmy once again going to be taking a little bit of damage himself, but Ronnie doing a really good job playing this off angle and hitting these shots with the wingman.
I was going to say a nice flick of the wrist, but it's not. It's a flick of the thumb, isn't it, when it comes to playing as a controller? Maybe you could flick your wrists as you flick the thumb to try and get that analog stick into the right position, but certainly both teams just having a little bit of an ego battle at the moment, standing out in the open, hitting as many shots as they can with the wingman, and then quickly turtling away to heal up. As now we're going to see Dimmy flying towards the opposition Pathfinder on Pathfinder, who can actually get the connecting shots, though Rani is low as well.
Yeah, really, really close, these 2 players to going down. Result is going to get the first knock. However, Designful will be taken down almost simultaneously by Rani. So it's a 2v2 at the moment, and 45 damage isn't going to be great here. Aiden the Destroyer somehow manages to hit a huge amount of damage onto Snipdown. Now we're down to a 1v1. Resulta doesn't have much HP to work with, and to be honest with you, G2 had the advantage for most of that fight. Mona's come out on top, 1-1.
Let the auto aim flow through you. The controller players just destroying one another at this point.
Yeah. Aim assist.
No, in my line of work, where I'm a mouse and keyboard player, I will always know it as auto aim. Okay, I'm just gonna correct you there. But yeah, honestly, like I used to play controller right back in the day when I was a competitive video game player. I was a controller player. I transitioned to mouse and keyboard. I wish I could do the things that these controller players do now on a controller. I cannot even touch a pad. My thumbs feel broken when I do so. The aim they have is incredible, and you could take away the aim assist, and I tell you what, they would still do the same thing. They would learn, they would adjust, they would adapt, because the skill of these players is absolutely fantastic. And we're really going to see it in this particular matchup, where it's just controller players galore.
Mona's taking a little bit of damage. Ronnie is going to have to pop some meds to get himself back up to full HP. Snipe down, looking to try and find a little bit of an off angle here. 45 damage from Designful, just trying to line up these shots and need those bullets. And maybe create the opening here for Snipe Down to move up. Aiden the Destroyer is trying to move up himself, and Snipe Down going to get the call out from a teammate now just to retreat ever so slightly, as it did become a momentary 2v1 situation. So Snipe Down a little bit of a difficult position here. Aiden the Destroyer taking some damage himself, and here comes Snipe Down, and there's the opening created now as Dimmy tries to slide in. The rest of G2 are going to approach as well. Snipe Down, oh, he gets two, and that is Snipe Down doing Snipe Down things.
Yeah, sometimes you have to keep Snipe Down on a leash. It was something that Imperial Hal has struggled to do across the years, but certainly in this particular environment, you let him loose, you let that boy off the chain, and you send him towards the other team. G2 Esports go 2-1 up here against Monas, and now they're one away from taking map number 1 in this best of 5, which would really give them a nice shift of momentum going into the rest of this series.
Yeah, Designful and Resulta did a really good job, though, of covering for Snipe Down. He was a little bit in an exposed position, managed to position himself well enough that he didn't take damage, but without his teammates just covering those angles over his shoulders, he might have actually been in one of those positions where it gets caught out. But Snipe Down given the opportunity to move up, he gets the initial knock and then does some damage with that wingman to get the second as well. So Snipe Down creating the openings for his team, and not only that, giving G2 the advantage here and putting them onto map point.
That's why you've got roles, right? That's why you have support players, that's why you have entry players, you have those really important roles that allow people to play to their very best. And sometimes the unsung heroes are those who are supporting, but Designful's gone down for Dimmy here, and that puts Resulta and Snipe Down in a very difficult scenario where they have to go clutch into the void. Nope, not today.
Well, Snipe Down, you got 2 last round. You're going to have to get 3 this time, as he tries to line up a couple of wingman shots. He does have a little bit of range, so he might be able to chip away at the damage, but it's really not looking good here for Snipe Down. Does have a jump pad to use, though, and I'm just saying, you get 1 knock, send it at the other 2. Just decimate them. Make them feel the pain of Snipe Down. One player going to be rotating away, and it looks like might actually be able to isolate a 1v1 for just a few seconds here. And Snipe Down, he gets 1. Can he get 2? Snipe Down does get 2. Now the question is, can he stay alive for long enough to get a battery off before the final player here from Monas manages to get into a position to cause him some problems? Playing around that knockdown shield. Snipe Down. He's oh, Snipe Down, Eric Rona. Snipe Down is on fire.
Oh, I said you can let him off your leash, and very much he now is never going to be attached to any sort of post. He's not going to be allowed in the house anymore. He's very much out on his own, because it doesn't matter where you put him. The man hits shots. The man is a beast. I will hype him up all day if he's going to 1v3. There is never ever a situation where you should allow a player to 1v3 you. They faced him 1v1, 1v1, 1v1. Rookie mistakes, and Snipe Down lapped that up and asserted his controller dominance.
A 1v1, I mean a 3v1 when players are weak is nuts. Every single player he took on there was full HP, pretty sure, full shields, full white meds as well, white HP. I've got there eventually. Jeez, it's getting late. Apologies to everyone, but that was nuts from Snipe Down. But even though we have to, you pointed out quite rightly, you cannot let that happen if you are on their opposition. The way that Snipe Down positioned himself to isolate the first 1v1 was brilliant from him. And as soon as he saw the opportunity to get those shots down, he turned a 3v1 into a 1v1 momentarily, and then had the opportunity to turn into another separate 1v1. So he positioned himself so well. I might not have explained that absolutely perfectly, but his positioning allowed him to essentially take 1v1s instead of 3v1s. That was much easier to say if I just did it like that.
Yeah, you can only fight what's in front of you, right? And it was kind of G2 sat there whilst Mona's pushed.
This is nuts.
Very strange. I mean, let's just dissect this a little bit. Right, so he does isolate the 1v1 by utilizing the objects next to him. It's a very quick 1v1 that he then gets himself into. Where is the third player? That's what I'm going to say from Monas. He almost runs towards them as he's on literally a kind of a breath of fresh air. He's just trying to survive, but then manages to get the bat off and then even wins this engagement. I mean, there's some big shots being hit. Snipedown has done some ridiculous things, but there's got to be questions asked about Monas there. Like, sorry, they shouldn't allow that to happen, but you're right. Snipedown can only play what's in front of him, and he did play it pretty much perfectly.
He said himself, doesn't need a gold stabilizer because he's got gold stabilizers here. And that's why he's just shown us once again. He's shown it so many times to us through the years. You know, we're from a Halo background, both of us. We've watched the entirety of Eric Rona's career. We know everything that he's done with those thumbs, which might sound a little bit weirder than it needed to, but we're talking about video games right now, and we're talking about trophies he's managed to pick up, snipes he's managed to hit, and 3v1s that he's managed to put into the that'll be on Twitter. Let's be honest, that'll be straight on Twitter if you're sniped down, especially if they manage to turn this one around and, you know, win the series in a dominating fashion now. But not only was it a 3v1, Dan, and we got carried away with ourselves, it was a 3v1 for the map. The map is now done. G2, take home thermal station. We now move over to Phase Runner. Phase Runner? No, we don't. We move over to Party Crasher, Dan.
That's the one. One of the other good maps, though. It certainly is very different finding yourself winning the map than going 2-2 and then having to go slogging it out and try and get to that fourth round, maybe go to 4-4, and then you get the fifth round, and then suddenly you're tired going into map number 2. As even though it's very late here, it is starting to get later and later in North America as well in this tournament. You know, it does take its toll if you're playing round after round, map after map, and you want to get these done quickly so you can get a nice amount of rest going into tomorrow. So they all do play factors, these little minute things, and certainly that wasn't necessarily a minute thing from Snipedown, what we've just seen. That is one of the best individual plays that we've seen in the tournament so far today. We've seen a few 2v3s come into things, we've seen some big shots, some big damage, but that was a straight up 1v3. Yes, it shouldn't happen, and yes, that was a lot of mistakes in terms of what Monas did, but you just have to give credit where it's due.
Now, Mona's got to bounce back from that, and that's going to be difficult to do because that kind of play can really affect your confidence as a team and as a player as well. I kind of feel sorry for the third player. When you go into that situation, you're almost already on the back foot, right? Knowing that your two teammates have just been absolutely decimated by a solo player who's going to be feeling himself and feeling extremely confident moving forward. But it looks like a little bit of a restart is going to be coming in here as we've had some disconnects, and it will be Revenant. We just got a little sneaky look at, by the way. Coming in from Aiden the Destroyer once again, so we might see a little bit of death protection coming in, maybe just trying to call off Snipedown. All of these things, you know, playing into the mind games. Maybe it was just the DC, maybe I'm just making things up again to stir the pot. Quite possible, all of the above.
You do like to do that. You do like to just kind of be a little bit
cheeky, a little bit cheeky.
I don't know if cheeky is the word. You just like to I don't know, Mark.
Stir
I don't know
the
with
pot.
you anymore. No, I just don't know anymore. Like, I've got to that point where I'm just fed up. I'm joking. But what was I going to say? Revenant, yes. Okay, so we saw Revenant a little bit earlier when that came into the equation. We didn't get to see the death totem actually work out. It was naded off of the map when we last saw Monas play. This is their replacement for Valkyrie, because they used to play Valkyrie on this map. They used to just go for map positioning instantly. Instead, they're going to go for Revenant, which has the ability to silence your opponents, which is going to be really good against a team who plays a Gibby, for example. You could silence that Gibby, you can dive on them, and then you know full well that there's not going to be a bubble coming out. The Death Totem, I don't think it's necessarily going to be as influential as you might think. We didn't even get to see it happen in the previous time, and I think it is quite a lot of money for actually what it's worth. That's why Revenant really isn't played that often in arenas, but clearly Monas feel like it's worth it playing here, particularly on Party Crasher.
It's going to be interesting to see. I think the silences are vital. I think you're quite right, especially if you've got teams playing up on that height. And you do manage to get that damage down, and you do manage to stop that Gibby dome going down, then you have the opportunity to nade, take height yourself. All these things kind of roll in and follow one another to form a pattern of play to get that initial knock and the damage down. So we're going to have to wait and see if that is the case. And I love the fact that we were always watching Monas, you know, kind of think outside the box about legends they want to play. We saw Valkyrie, like I mentioned previously, from them. We've seen Horizon from them. We've seen Rampart from them. They've had very map-specific picks, but this is a map that they feel that Revenant is the right one for them. For G2, though, it's a case of just ride off the momentum now. I think it's, you know, put Snipedown in positions where he can take 1v1s, because, as we've just seen, it's not just he's winning 1v1s, he's winning 1v3s. And when the man is that hot, You let him go.
Yeah, he's going to be oozing confidence right now, isn't he? But there is always the other side to it. Sometimes overconfidence can put you in a position where you unnecessarily push a team and then you get punished for it. You find yourself in a 1v3, but I guess Snipe Down does win 1v3, so maybe he doesn't really care right now. And I think you touched upon it really well, though, in the previous round, where Snipe Down did a lot of damage and he was able to 1v2, but it was about what Resulta and Designful were doing behind the scenes, off the camera, off the observers, right? They were covering for him, they were watching angles, they were ensuring that he wasn't getting pushed on by that third player, doing damage wherever it came, if they managed to see one of the oppositions just kind of poke out as well whilst fighting Snipe Down. So we do often highlight and focus the main slayer, the person who gets the entries, the person who gets the kills, but we have to talk about how the team as a whole allows that to happen, and that's even more impressive when it is a substitute, right? This team has not played together, certainly in a competitive environment. Maybe they've played ranked a few times together and whatnot, but Snipe Down has just fitted into this squad quite comfortably from what we've seen.
Yeah, really has found himself very comfortable, like you say, but as we spin our way around for what feels like the 1,000th time around Oasis, did you know that this was actually filmed with a drone, Dan? This is actually Crypto's drone that's used to film this.
Did they have to add any extra technology to that, or was it?
No,
is that something that's always been there?
No, it has a 4K capabilities.
Right.
And
can I activate that in my games? So that I can have
no. This was freelance work that Crypto was employed for. It wasn't anything to do with Apex Legends. You know, even though Apex Legends is, you know, people go into battle, you make your money, you do what you do, right? Everyone has to hustle, right? On the side, Crypto, he does scenic video using his drone.
I mean, drone videos
that's law, by the way. That's law. You can look that up.
Yeah, and right now they're the in thing on that social media app that rhymes with Big Bok. You see a lot of people doing that dance now with the drone spinning around them 360 and they kind of shaking their booty a little bit, and yeah, that's a trend. I'm down with the kids. I know what the trends are nowadays.
Don't know what your TikTok looks like, to be honest with you. Anyway, let's talk about the game again. Hopefully we can talk about the game soon because we'll get some gameplay. We could talk about that Snipe Down 1v3 all day if we wanted to, but overall it was G2 who were just dominant in the previous map, and going 1-0 up in a best of 5 gives you a little bit of an advantage, obviously, with the map in the back pocket, leaves you a little bit of room to make some mistakes maybe, but G2 didn't really look like they were making too many mistakes, to be honest, on Thermal Station.
No, there was a few things here or there, but ultimately it was them taking risks and then not getting rewarded for some of the risks, but they were able to do so in the end, so they won't really worry about those 1 or 2 rounds that didn't go their way. That's what makes a great team, right? Being able to take those risks and know when they work and when they don't work as well. I mean, my goodness, managed to hit hard with that 30-30 repeater. You know, that's what it can do. That's why the 30-30 repeater has been the weapon of choice, especially for Monas in the last few tournaments.
It made me like squeal, you know what I mean? Like that full body like recoil headshot. However, Aiden the Destroyer going to be the first player to pick up a knock here. Snipe Down's going to be cooled down after that 1v3. Now Resulta's going to move in. However, not really connecting with some shots, and that's not very Resulta-like, to be honest with you. Designful, if you win this one, I'll shave my head. See what I did there, everybody? Unfortunately, he can't do it. Monas will pick up the first round here, and it was all kind of initiated by that big shot with the 30-30 repeater.
See, it would have been better if you had said, if they had done it, you will grow your head, which is...
Grow my head?
Is entirely impossible, Mark. So then you would be like me and wouldn't be able to fulfill the promise.
Grow my head.
See, it doesn't work. You shave your head, but you don't grow your head, do you? You grow your hair.
Yeah.
I shave my hair. See, that's the thing. I will shave my head, but I haven't. That's the thing. I just shaved my forehead.
Just leave it.
No,
Doesn't
I shaved my
matter. All we
forehead.
know,
There we go.
Let's
I'm out of it.
Talking facts. We're talking
it.
facts right now, and that is Monas took the first round here, which is brilliant from them. Really impressive.
I can shave my forehead, and I'm done. I've shaved my head. There we go. We found a way out.
Well, let's see if Monas. Hey, I'll help you out with this one, right? Let's see if Monas can grow their head with a big IQ play, right? Let's see if they can do that right now and go up 2-0 and put themselves onto a couple of match points. And then that's exactly how they will want to respond after a little bit of disappointment in the last round. But Aiden the Destroyer is living up to his name right now as he's breaking shields left, right, and center. Dimmy also in a position. There's the silence, which might slow things down and give Dimmy the opportunity to push up. Gibraltar is going to be Dodging a dive in, but not being able to do too much. No bubble available for at least a few more seconds. That silence is still high.
Oh my, Dimmy with the shot to take down, snipe down, and it does look like as long as the team can group together and capitalize, they should be able to go 2-0 up. But, and it is a big but, one player will go down here. Aiden the Destroyer and Dimmy are going to have to work together and try and finish things off.
Last player manages to get the shield battery off at least, but he's going to be eliminating. Excuse me, there's still one more player who can have a little bit of a say here, but he's not going to be able to. And Mona's answer back in the best way possible here. They have 2 rounds on the board. They now have 2 match points to tie the series up at 1-1.
Oh well, Mona's really showing us what they're made of here. On Party Crasher, the Revenant had been doing his job. The silences have been very impactful indeed. G2 Esports going to have to come from the depths here to really try and rescue this and take us maybe a little bit further into Party Crasher. Otherwise, we'll be thinking about map number 3, and at least we will get a map number 4. The Death Totem is there. It's ready to be used, but can it be effective? The last time it was bought in the previous series where Mona's faced off earlier on today, they weren't able to utilize it. Let's see whether it can actually be done this time.
About positioning it so it doesn't get destroyed by those grenades. I think that's one thing they would have learned, as Rani now going to back up to pop a battery. Grenades will be coming in though. Silence is also coming out from the hands of Aiden the Destroyer. But it is, you would say, a HP advantage early on. Going to G2 Esports has done a really good job of hitting those grenades. Aiden the Destroyer is going to hit the Death Totem, and this is going to be where it could be effective. Rani not going to be able to use it himself. Aiden the Destroyer is taken down to barely any HP. He'll be taken down. Dimmy gets a trade though, so it's 2-2 now on the map. Blindful swings into action, manages to back down. The Mozambique in the hands as well. Does a little bit of damage. He's be able to get this knock, and he's not going to be able to do it as Mona's clutch up, even though they didn't get the first blood. And that will be match point to them, and the series tied up at 1-1.
What a way to respond after losing Thermal with a quick and easy 3-0. A few knocks here or there, but for the most part, they look dominant here on Party Crasher. It very much looks like their home, and this is where the legend diversity comes into the equation. Monas know exactly who and why they want to switch things up. They have a reason for playing Revenant, and it worked out very successfully. The silences were so effective, took that bubble out of the game at times, and well, there was no answer from G2. They're going to have to move to map number 3 and just try and adjust things, and this is where it gets more difficult against a team that have practiced a lot of arenas. We know that Snipe Down is not usually on G2, so already you're at a slight disadvantage using a substitute, but Monas have put a lot of time into arenas, and if they were to go down here in this series, I think that would be a little bit of an upset here. Even though you look at G2, you look at Snipe Down, and you're probably looking at the names of Monas thinking, oh, well, you know, G2 and Snipe Down, they should be running a train through this team. Monas are the real deal. We've seen them in previous arena tournaments. They know how to play this game.
They certainly do, and they've just shown the perfect example of it, to be honest with you. And even though Designful made a really good effort here to try and clutch up in these final moments, he unfortunately just got clapped by that final bullet coming in, which I'm pretty sure might have been a headshot just to knock him down a peg or two and make G2 think about what they are going to do to approach this map number 3 in the series. Now, just a reminder, if you just joined us, it's best of 5. We've moved on from best of 3s, so we will be seeing at least 2 more maps, including this one. And now I have to see if the theory that I came at, the theory crafting, Dan, that I talked about right at the start of this series. G2 won on, you know, the first one, Thermal Station, where we saw some lava. Are G2 going to win here? Because there's lava.
Right, so how far do you go with that theory, though? Because on Party Crasher, there is
a certain amount of time on broadcast for me to explain my thoughts. Yeah. However, just outside of this door, there's like test tubes and supercomputers that have worked, you know, put these theories together. I can't go into the details. It'd take too long.
But I mean, right, I
had to grow my head for it.
Here's a counter theory. Actually, let's address this right here, right now. I said on broadcast I would shave my head, right? Yep. Is this or is this not here part of my head? What is this called? My forehead, which is part of my head. If I shave this, have I there, in theory, not shaved my head? Also, I didn't say I would shave my head bald. This is a 1 on the sides, right? That is shaved. So, right, that's the last I'll say of it. But I think I'm out of it. Cheers, cool. Thanks, everyone. Man of my word.
I'll be honest with you, Dan. You're out of it just because I'm sick of your lies. I'm just, you know, I'm sick of the excuses. And, you know,
shave my head.
It's fine. Don't worry, everybody. When Lan's come back, Lan's got to see me in person, and at some point he will fall asleep. So we'll have to see what he looks like from day 1 to day 2, if we're lucky enough to work there.
You think I've spent enough time with you that I don't sleep with one eye open already? Then
doesn't matter.
I will keep that hotel room locked, my friend.
Oh,
to be fair, you don't want to be on the wrong side of me, because I could tell stories of you not waking up for flights and me waking you up, Mr. On set. All right, I am the responsible.
Still made the flight.
Thanks to me.
It's fine. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault that my alarm didn't go off. It's fine.
There's a lot of storytelling we could go for.
I like how this is meant to be the battle of G2 versus
but now it is. Yeah, that's fine.
Versus Monas, but we've turned it into Dan Gaskin versus Onset, and I'm all for it, to be honest with you. But Monas now into the game. Finally, we've got some gameplay to talk about. Once again, tied up at 1-1 in the series, and look at this aggression coming in from Monas. Dimmy's down to 1 HP, but so is this player just crouching behind the pillar, and you have to say that it looks like they're showing no respect here to G2.
Oh, a little bit of body dips there as well, just with the finisher animations coming through. It's the virtual teabag, as it were, but there will be the response from Snipe Down with the wingman from distance. Rani will fall. It's a 2 versus 2, but it's going to be the Bangalore picking up the Octane here, or maybe not. A decision to actually back off after they heard a little bit of noise.
Well, Dimmy is taken down, and now there's one thing that we all know, right, in esports, and if you don't know it, learn it very, very quickly, and that is even though Aiden the Destroyer has managed to make this a 1v1, you don't teabag too early, and you don't piss off Snipe Down. Aiden the Destroyer manages to get the bat off. The question is, can Snipe Down get into a position now where he can get equal HP? Shots are going to come in, and no, Snipe Down will fall, and maybe Monas, they show no respect because they know that they're better than this G2 lineup.
Just wasn't the bats there. Snipe Down didn't have the option to try and get up to full health because he didn't have the same kind of utility. And well, Monas will take the lead. They're onto the Bangalore now. So this is again the flex pick, the Aiden Destroyer switching over to play something on to Overflow. They feel like Bang is certainly a nice addition, can cut off those cyclones. We've seen it a few times today on other teams as well. Bang seems to be the kind of go-to pick, especially in these early rounds, really advantageous. The Mozambique with the Digi threat and the smoke, it means that you can have such a good power position in the middle of the map and really assert your dominance over the other team. And especially when, you know, maps can be won within the first couple of rounds on set, it makes sense.
It certainly does, and Dimmy once again just snapping onto targets with that Mozambique and dropping shields. Designful having to find a place to heal. Designful's trying to move around to just find an angle to help him out, but he's not able to get there quickly enough. And now look at the cover fire coming in from the players who are left up for Monas. It really has been impressive from them. There's a grenade as well, and I tell you what, Monas, they run Overflow. It really is as simple as that by the looks of things.
I feel like, you know how we were saying, like, you don't want to teabag too early, you don't want to kind of piss off Snipe Down. At the same time, Monas got embarrassed on Thermal. They got 1v3'd, they made a mistake, they choked, in my opinion. And they're probably feeling that, because ever since, they've looked like a different team. They've switched on a little bit more. They seem to have a point to prove against G2. Monas 1 round away now from taking this map and going 2-1 up in the series and really kind of flipping the bird at G2. If I'm completely honest, they'll be teabagging. They'll be body disrespect here.
Oh yeah, certainly will. And I think it's one way to get themselves motivated. And some players get fired up by that competition. Some people crumble, but it looks like Monas, well, they want to get fired up, and it's certainly working for them. So hats off to them for taking the challenge. As Rani, unfortunately, will be eliminated immediately by Designful. So 2 on 3 now for Monas to try and turn around. Some shots are not going to be connecting too much with the wingman, and that will mean that Designful can swap to the R9. And hey, perfect response from G2 and get their first round on the board, but still another match point here for Monas.
Yeah, one step. A little cheeky foot in the door here. Chance to get back into the map. Have to do it again, though, against Monas. Matching aggression with aggression. Sometimes it is the best way. We've seen that quite a lot today. Knowing that both teams are trying to kind of throw themselves towards those loop hills so that they can try and get those resources early means that you are going to find a player or two slightly out of position. And if you can do that damage, if you can rip those shields off them, then there is often, sometimes, a pick to get in the early stages. And we know what happens when you get a 3 versus 2. It usually turns into a victory. Usually.
Well, Dimmy is going to soar through the skies like an elegant gazelle. towards those meds. We're getting there eventually.
Still confused about an elegant gazelle flying through the sky, if I'm completely honest.
So am I. Thinking about it a little bit more. Here's the Dyneful with the Mozambique in hand. Certainly not going to be elegant. Shots through the smoke from Ronnie, using that digi threat again, but Mona's down to 2 for now. As you can see, a little bit of an aggressive push actually coming in from that player from G2. Fully not afraid to move up, and G2, I tell you what, advancing back. Monas were thinking about map number 3, and G2 have just pulled them back by the scruff of the neck and said, hey boys, this one's not over yet.
It's crazy, isn't it? How Monas can be that close to going 2-1 up in the series, and then suddenly G2 just shove it right back, and they make it an even playing field. It really does blow my mind the amount of times we've gone from 2-0 to 2-2 rather than that 2-0 turning into a 3-0. I think it has gone to a 2-2 more than it has turned around to a 3-0. Not just today, but in arena tournaments in general. And now it's going to be a case of whether momentum is going to be on the side of G2. Can they completely flip this script and take a 2-1 lead in the series themselves? They have to get to 4 rounds now rather than just 3, of course. You have to win by 2 once you get to this point. And G2 are going to dive all the way to this left-hand side, 2 together and 1 player just playing the off angle. I imagine that's going to be sniped down a little bit away from the other 2. No, actually, I tell a lie. They've all grouped together now. They've made sure that they're not going to allow 1 player just to be picked off. Smart decision.
A little bit of a split on the map here, and you can see that it will be G2 who have map positioning, you would say. Monas will have to move up to them, which could leave them exposed, and even a little thing like having to make a climb up can be the difference here. But look at these skynades coming in from Dimmy. These are so smart, as we're going to see. The Bangalore ulti go down as well to create the space they need to move up. So G2 now are having to play some corners, having to slow this one down a little bit while the smoke is trying to be cleared. The threat is going to be there from Designful. Going to do a fair amount of damage, but his teammate with Dollars going to have to get some cover here, as now the push will come in from Monas.
Nice shots. Here you go. You've got the digi threat through the smoke. Snipe down will go down, but there is the final bullet to take that remaining player. And I think it's going to be a 1v1 now. Resulta has to try and hit the shot, but there's going to be a aggressive push. And Resulta goes huge. And G2 Esports take a 3-2 lead.
Oh, Resulta. Oh, it was horrible. That was horrible. Oh, my word. That's twice. That's got to be a dagger in the heart of Monas. I mean, G2, they were 2-0 down. And now they're 3-2 up. For 1 more round, this could be 2-1 in the series to them. This is a banger.
This is one heck of a series. Just 2 teams very confident in their aiming ability. And it means we get 1v1s, 1v2s, 1v3s. Unfortunately, Monas seem to be on the receiving end of some of these clutches. And they can't allow this to happen too many times, otherwise they might find themselves out of the tournament, and I'm sure G2 would love to be the ones dumping them out of it, especially after some of the kind of little teabags here or there that we've seen. Aiden the Destroyer with some incredible shots from distance. Snipe down going to have to bat up. And now come the skynades, as I imagine G2 will slow things down here, considering they're on map 3.
G2 once again have map positioning, and they're just watching
Forget that.
the same kind of thing happen. And I just wonder if there's going to be the same kind of utility this time for Monas to work with, having lost that round that they had in the previous, to try and close that gap like they had to. They had the Bangalore ulti last time to force G2 back. Do they have that this time? As Dimmy now tries to make his move up, however, he's going to be chipped away out. He's going to be forced to use a battery. The smoke will go down now. Look at these shots coming in from G2. They are not giving up any room whatsoever without a fight and exchanging damage.
Resulta wants to bat up, but just has to avoid those grenades first. Needs to be listening to all those orders you do, make sure you're not being pushed up on. There's Designful, though, actually saying, you know what, screw your smokes. I'm going to have a digi threat to work with as well. So suddenly your backdoor advantage is not going to be there for you. Care package is dropped, but neither team interested right now.
Designful going to have to use some meds for now. That arc star that goes down is going to buy in the time, so no one's going to push him. So a really good play there. Snipedown's going to have to push a battery as well. And now the push will come in. Designful's going to be caught reloaded, but he's going to do a lot of damage there. Designful takes to the skies. The Pathfinder is going to be in front of him. He manages to get one. However, Resulta and Designful have to work together here as Snipedown is on his back.
Designful should have never won that fight, but again, Pathfinder just allows for so many clutch plays, so many individual moments to really go in your favor. Designful and Resulta, the last 2 remaining players. Snipedown has fallen, but I think this is a 2 versus 2. Both players have been able to bat up.
For now, reload comes in from Designful. Resulta trying to work with his teammate, long-term teammate as well, to get this damage done. However, he goes for the battery. And that is going to be the opportunity for Bonus to answer back. It's 3-3. It's 3-3.
Can't split the two. As soon as you think this is going to go one way, and one team has been able to come out on top, the other just responds in quite an emphatic manner, to be completely honest. It's usually a somewhat dominant team fight, either winning by 3 knocks or at least 2. And that means that now we are at least going to go to one of these teams having to get to 5. We may even go all the way to round 9, where it's going to be 4-4 at this rate, and it comes down to sudden death, where you don't have to win by 2. It's just about who closes out that last remaining match. That last remaining point, excuse me. And now this is where the care packages get interesting as well on set. This is where you can start see the Kravers getting involved.
Well, Designful flies through the skies like a beautiful gazelle once more. As we see the shots being exchanged, the Mozambique doing a little bit of damage here for Designful. We're seeing a little bit of a change in setup now from G2, playing on this higher side of the map, and they are going to be met with some shots. Designful's got to be careful. He has the shields broken, and Mona's trying to move up on that damage.
Take advantage of any sort of damage that you've been able to put down on the opposition team. Mona's again shredding through. The smokes will come out, and that looks like it's going to be the cue to just push up, gain a little bit of map positioning here. But Rani elsewhere has also accumulated quite a lot of damage himself.
Slowdown's trying to hold this angle down. Has to back up to his teammates once again. Designful's going to have to retreat once more. Nobody getting the better of each other right now. Result is still in a little bit of a sticky situation himself. Slowdown not being able to get a line of sight he would have wanted with those smokes going down from Bangalore. So a little bit of a reset overall between the two teams.
That's happened quite a few times in the last few rounds, is that you think an engagement is going to happen, then both will back off, allow one another to shield up. But now Rani's in a position where he really could do a lot of damage here. If he can get the knock, there is a triple take. It's not a creep, I got excited for some reason. However,
46. With that triple take, we'll get the knock. Dimmy will combine with his teammates, and now Monas find themselves in a 3v2 situation. Dimmy going to take down yet another, and all of a sudden, Monas are looking extremely strong. They will answer back in the best way possible. They had 2 match points. They threw them away. Now they've got another one.
Another chance to try and take the lead here in this series. 2-1 on Overflow, but well, every time we've said this is probably going to go one way, it suddenly goes the other. So you imagine that now G2 will probably equalize here. The triple take did actually have a bit of an impact. The no-scopes came out, hit for 46, got the knock. If that was a Kraber, would it have done the same thing anyway? Probably, yeah, because I think the damage had already been done. So G2, I don't think this is a case now of kind of reassessing and strategizing. I think both teams have accepted that this is just a pure out aim war. And knowing full well, you get your position in the early stages, you take your fights, you get the resources, and you say, we jump on them when we do the damage. The My Little Phony approach, as it were.
Yeah, this is just a war between these two teams. There's really no other way to put it. Snipedown will get the first knock onto Dimmy. Rani, he's going to be down to pretty much 0 HP as well. Aiden's going to be trying to produce some sort of cover for his teammate to get the battery off. But you can see that G2, they're just on the hunt right now. The second player will be taken down, and what a way to respond here for G2. A clean wipe of bonus. Nobody goes down, and we're going to a deciding round number 9.
Sudden death. Don't have to win by 2 anymore. Red Evo shields also in play. Red weapons also going to be in those care packages. Maybe, just maybe, we'll see a Kraber. We've already seen one Kraber today, and it did make the difference. But with the speed of which these rounds are being played out, these care packages aren't really being opened for the most part. There's just a lot of disrespect, a lot of, also at the same time, just acceptance from both teams, saying, look, we know what's going to happen here. Let's just have a straight out war in the middle, and whoever takes it, lads.
I wonder if there's a little bit of ego being mixed in as well. Just throwing that out there, by the way. Just throwing that out there. 3 controller players versus 3 controller players. Who's the best controller players? And the meds are going to go to Dimmy here, and he's going to be uncontested, which will mean that G2 have moved to the other side of the map, and you can see exactly that happening. They're going to have the position to hold for now, which is where they have had their success. 24 damage done from Snipedown. All these players now can afford to poke for just a little bit longer than they would previously with that extra HP and extra armor to work with the full red Evos. So You have to wonder if that's going to be something that will separate the two teams, with one player being able to just get a little bit more damage, or will it be to their detriment as they overpeak and allow a teammate to move up?
Well, grenades could play a huge part in this round. Ronnie and Dimmy, Dimmy slightly out of position, does take a considerable amount of damage, but it looks like he was able to get away. One benefit of playing that Pathfinder, and now this is where the ult's also coming into things. Bangalore drops her missiles, just gotta make sure you avoid them.
Oh, it's going to be the first knock going down. Aiden the Destroyer takes down Designful. 3v2, now a 2v2. And it will be a 2v2 for some time as well, as Aiden the Destroyer actually manages to re-engage here. Ronnie's trying to chase down this player. Snipe down, still in the feed, getting interested himself. Aiden the Destroyer hitting some shots with the wingman, but going to have to back up for now. The snipe down will be taken down, so a 1v2 situation now. G2 still in this, but Mona's surely going to be able to close this one out.
Yeah, they will. They will. I mean, you've been able to let both players pop their backs, get back to full red shields. 5-4, but what a map that was. Overflow, very entertaining indeed. Just both teams having an absolute scrap. And that's what Overflow does best, right? It just forces teams into these early engagements, into these close encounters that really does make you have to use every single bit of mechanical skill you have to offer. And all these 6 players, their ability on the controller is almost unmatched, to be completely honest. But has gone in the way of Monas. Maybe wouldn't have expected that after the performance we saw from G2 on Thermal, but Monas will be delighted now to turn things around and take a 2-1 lead in the series.
Yeah, really, really impressive from Monas. And I know their fans will be in the chat right now. They'll be watching. They'll be supporting their boys all the way down to that last kill that happens, but really, really impressive, especially the way that they haven't been flustered by certain things as well, Dan. I always look at teams' mentality, and you've had some big plays, really big plays come out from G2, and a couple of players in those plays have been embarrassed on the side of Monas, but next round it doesn't affect them whatsoever. They bounce back, and then they try to embarrass G2, excuse me, and it seems like they're doing that, and they're not afraid of making mistakes, which is so vital for a team to know that, you know, even if you make a play and it doesn't come off, or something doesn't go your way, you can answer back in the next round and you can make it right.
Yeah, you have to learn from those mistakes. That's what the best teams do. And I think Monas, they saw what happened on Thermal, that 1 versus 3. There was a couple of 1v1s they also lost out on this map in particular, but I think you hit the nail on the head. They haven't let it phase them. They haven't let it kind of be the overarching story that allows them to fail here. Instead, they've just focused on winning their gunfights, winning their duels, trusting in their ability. The Bangalore has been very influential. The kind of Revenant was influential as well. Their off-meta legend picks certainly have been a real game changer, whereas we haven't seen that from many other teams that are comfortable having one flex player change consistently as much as Monas do. And now they are 1 map away from knocking G2 out and progressing a little bit further in this tournament.
Really, really impressive from Monas. I don't think there's much more to say. This play from Resulta, though, was absolutely nuts. That last flick for that shot to get the kill was very, very impressive. But again, didn't let them affect them whatsoever. Monas, as we roll through the replays, G2 put themselves into match point. Then they got pegged back once more, and then it was Monas who managed to win this deciding round 11. This was the opening pick that was so vital, though. I think it was one player, Designful, just caught in that corner. The Bangalore actually gave him the opening to do something there. As now we leave that map behind, Dan, and all of a sudden I'm awake because this is a hell of a series, and I'm having a wonderful time casting it.
It is very different to some of the arena games that we've had before, where like they are very slow, the pace is a little bit off at times. It's kind of a trade for trade in 30-30 repeater shots here or there. Angles are being watched, and then the circle forces the engagements. Whereas these two teams just seem to have an idea of how they want to play arenas, and it is a little bit more fast-paced, but there's also a lot of methodical thought process going behind the pushes, and in general it's just straight up fights that are coming down to just minor decisions, whether those be mistakes, whether they be clutch plays. Either way, it is certainly entertaining, that's for sure. Now, as we move over to Phase Runner, this is a little bit more of a bigger map, especially in comparison to some of the other ones we've seen. There is going to be more room for flanking, more room for playing off angles. It should be a little bit slower just because the map is a lot more open and you're a little bit reluctant to all push into one area. Otherwise, you could be kind of suffocated and surrounded. So I'm expecting it to be a little bit slower, but that certainly doesn't mean it's necessarily not going to be as entertaining.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly there. You will see a little bit more poke damage maybe, or You know what? We might just see continued aggression from both of these teams. We're into our 4th map of the series now. As we will see a little bit of a standoff to start with. It looks like we are going to see Rampart as well. That was one thing I was going to keep my eye on. If we're going to see amped cover going up from Aiden the Destroyer to give him a little bit more of a boost on those LMGs, should he need it. Those walls are going to give him some angles to play with as well to cover his teammates.
Yeah, and we'll probably see Sheila introduced into the game. The minigun coming out probably round 3, maybe round 4, and can just shred through the armor. If you can position it at the right time, if you can catch your opposition off guard, then very much can be detrimental. But at the moment, both teams just kind of poking at one another, waiting for a little bit of damage before they push in. G2 are more central for this circle, but do have this slight lower ground. But you can see the position is trying to gain an advantage here. The Pathfinder comes to see in, but are you going to get the damage? No, Disciple will fall.
Disciple will fall, but he might have done enough damage while this has been going down to create openings here. However, you can see that Dimmy has been in good position to turn this into a 1v1 now. Moves through the smoke. Dimmy, not sure who's going up against, but it looks like Dimmy will have the advantage here. However, misses a couple of shots, but the P20 will get it done. A little side arm. P2020 rat-a-tat-tat-tat to finish things off, and Mona's clutch up in the 1v1.
Oh, it was just the smokes again. It's just so difficult to try and work out where the opposition is if you don't have digi threats of your own, and it looked like it might have been Snipedown he was going up against, and I don't think Snipedown had any digi threat weapons, so was just a little bit lost as to where the final remaining player of Mona's were. And now Mona's take a 1-0 lead, and quite often we see the 1-0 lead turn into a 2-0 lead, and then all of a sudden they would only be 1 round away from winning this entire series and knocking G2 out of the tournament. So a lot of pressure on this round for G2 for me.
That's crazy. I'd almost forgotten about that. It's been such an enthralling series that's, I think, captivated everyone who's going to be watching, but I forgot the fact this is an elimination game. Aiden the Destroyer this time going to have the longbow in hand once more. Amp's cover goes down to try and get an angle onto Sentinels, a bit of a wide angle being taken on him again, which is going to destroy things. Skynet is going to go up, and we'll have to see if the G2 player wants to catch that one. It will actually be Aiden who's forced back behind cover, but look at the kill feed. Dimmy with the Mozambique is the first knock here onto Snipedown.
Well, Rani also falls, designed for being able to get the trade, so it does go back to a 2 versus 2. Resulta, though, is a little bit lower than Aiden the Destroyer and Dimmy. Maybe we might even see a res coming up here if Aiden the Destroyer wants to go for it. It does look like he has time, but he's a little bit hesitant because he's heard some bullets.
Ooh, that could have been a really important shot to hit, and now Dimmy is in a 1v1. The P2020 once again being the difference maker here. One player left in this smoke. Dimmy's got the digi threat though, and it won't be a problem for him. Mona's now move onto map point, onto series point, and the chance to knock out G2.
Smoke plus Mozambique, it's so frustrating to play against, and if you're not a team and a player who's comfortable using the Mozam that often, if you do prioritize kind of the automatic weapons, the Wingman for example, and you haven't upgraded the Mozam to have the digi threat on, you're gonna be at such a disadvantage. Monas are just the kings of the really annoying poke damage with these Mozambiques. G2 coming very close round after round. They're doing a lot of damage but just can't quite get there. And now they are on the brink of elimination. Monas with the chance now to win this entire series for right here, right now.
Well, it's G2 who are using Bangalore as well that is giving those smokes away, and it almost feels like it's working against them sometimes, to be honest with you, because their opponents have been more than able to find better angles basically through the smokes. I think GG may be relying on it a little bit too much and being a little bit too overconfident, and now they're going to have to really put together a run. They need to put together 2 back-to-back rounds to stop Monas from eliminating them from the tournament. But this has been a fantastic series. Rani's going to be watching this flank at 102, but can't quite get the knock. That player must be 1 HP.
That would have been the series right there. If that was a knock, if Designful goes down, you imagine that Monas push up in a 3 versus 2 and they win this, they knock G2 out. But you're completely right. Monas just look far more comfortable with the digi threats, even though it's G2 who are really bringing the digi threats into the equation with the Bangalore being played. The Rampart has had an impact as well, just the defensive ability with this cover going down. Allows you to reposition, allows you to take angles that maybe you wouldn't be confident to do so in other situations.
Hey, G2 I'm going to bide their time a little bit here, Ronnie's going to have to pop a battery. Dimmy's watching the flank once more. Some shots going to be coming across, but you also see the rampage in the hands of Aiden the Destroyer. As his teams are forced a little bit closer together. Snipe down's going to go down, though. Resulta will immediately trade the kill, however. Resulta's got to be careful, so it's Designful. Got to slow things down a little bit. 55 damage. That's going to give the trigger to push here. This is a huge battle for Designful, and he recognizes that situation and slows things down.
Have to hit your shots. This is a must-win round for G2 to stay alive in the tournament. Designful will get one, but he gets traded out. Resulta, what can you do?
1v1 through the smoke. Resulta trying to back up to a teammate. Maybe look for a knockdown shield. Gets 45 damage. Slides back out confidently. And oh my word, he had to win that. And he did win it.
And that was an all-or-nothing play right there. He recognized that he didn't have the shields to run away and try and play the time game. So instead, slid in, got aggressive, trusted in his ability, and makes this at least 2-1. And this series changes completely if they make this 2-2. We go into another elongated map, right, which could go right down to the wire. But Mona's will be desperate to close this series out in this round. They got the first knock, but G2 have been fantastic throughout this entire series at responding to a knock with one of their own. The trades have come through. Sheila will be purchased, though, so maybe Aiden the Destroyer, plus some walls, plus the minigun in play. Could we see something a little bit different from the Rampart?
He's also got a thermite as well in the rampage, so that's going to be revved up. And I tell you what, you do not want to pick that thing. This could be Aiden the Destroyer bringing the Arsenal out. However, he's going to be having to scarper back because it looked like G2 were ready for that one.
They certainly saw the amp cover come up, and then the prediction was there. You needed to focus it. You had to take the Sheila out of the equation. Maybe it was slightly peaking too early by putting it up. I would have liked to see a little bit more thought process behind it, but perhaps they just knew they had to try and catch G2 off guard. Now we just go back to a more normal fight. The amp cover, of course, will still come into the equation, but Sheila probably not going to be used unless you get another amp cover up, if they can. It is still going to be there. The Destroyer is just occasionally walking back over, protecting Sheila, and then going back into its hidey hole.
Well, that rampage is still going to be revved up, but it can still do a huge amount of damage. Resulta's going to have to back up here. Double time back to his teammates. Designful the furthest player up here for G2. Ronnie looking for a cheeky little flank, maybe to see if he can get an angle. Dimmy have a little peek as well. There's a nade up into the skies. Is it going to connect, though? And is it going to force the G2 player out of cover?
Very difficult decisions to be made now. You don't want to make any sort of wrong foot here, as that could find you in front of a minigun, and also could find you eliminated from the tournament if you place yourself just slightly out of position. Arnie might be out of position, does manage to get away. That's one of the benefits of being the Octane, but that will give G2 now the opportunity to take and map a position advantage, you'd imagine.
Snipe down to take a little bit of an off angle, gets 60. Can't hit the second shot, though. The third is going to ring out across the map as well, but no connection whatsoever. So 1 from 3 for Snipe down. Resulta now moving up a little bit. Reloads coming in from both of these players. A little bit of chip damage now from Designful. This is starting to get really intense now. G2 need this round. However, it's Resulta who goes down first. Dimmy getting the opening pick.
There has to be a trade here from G2. Otherwise, this could be them out of the tournament, and Mona's taking the series. We need to see a big response. We need to see clutch moments. We've already seen a few. Has to happen again now.
Oh, nades! Loads of nades at the feet of Ronnie, but nobody's really going to be connecting. Oh, there's a big play. Dimmy now versus Snipe down. It's 1v1. I'm not sure how this has happened, but Dimmy versus Snipe down. He's got a knockdown shield to play with. He's going to play around the cover. He should be able to get this bat off. Snipe down. Misses one shot. Hits a second. Has to hit the reload now. The 1v1 to stay alive here for G2. It all falls down to Snipe down. 44. Can he get this final shot off Snipe down? The longest 1v1 ever. It doesn't get it done. Monas will clutch up. And Snipe down will fall on his back.
After such an amazing 1v3 earlier as well from Snipe down, it's so difficult in a 1v1 like that when you've only got a Mozambique to work with, the reload coming through, and just couldn't quite get those final bullets in. Monas will knock out G2. A valiant effort from G2 with a substitute. I mean, all being said, I mean, it is a substitute that is Snipedown, who is an amazing top-tier player as well. But Monas will be extremely happy, I think, to be able to move forward and take down a mammoth team like that. And that should be enough to help them progress to the very latter stages of this tournament. Maybe, who knows, they can progress right all the way to the grand final from this loser bracket. What a series it's been then. So some fantastic moments, some clutch moments. This is how Arena should be played, right? These should be these exciting times where both of us have our head in our hands after moments like this, 1v1s where it comes down to just a couple of shots here or there, a couple of misses or a couple of connected shots. Snipedown coming so close.
It was the swing from Dimmy that I loved as well. It was one bullet, and one bullet wasn't enough, and he didn't manage to connect. But what a series that was. Thank you for joining us, and shout out to both of the teams for putting that together, Dan, because that was ridiculous. That's how hype arenas can be. That's how great it can be as a game type. And G2 and more importantly, Mona's putting on an absolute performance there. Mona's coming out with a win, but it was a great advert there for arenas, and a great way to close the day as well.
Yeah, it's a shame for either of these teams to kind of be eliminated, but alas, one of them had to go, and just, you know, it came down to just clutch moments in the end, and they happened on both teams. And I think Monas were probably a little bit stressed out that they threw away some opportunities. They kind of got embarrassed at times, but they're the ones who have the last laugh, right? They're the ones who will move forward in this bracket, and they'll have the chance to continue to play for more and more prize money.
Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to run through a little bit of housekeeping towards the end. We're also going to have a little interview for you from one of our players from today. So in the meantime, head over to gloot.com, that's GLOOT.com, and sign up for a free account, because, you know, it's been a good fun today. Let's just give some love back to GLL and everything they provide. You can start competing and tracking all your stats in Apex Legends. Loads of cool stuff over there. So while we catch our breath and we set ourselves up for the final part of this show, head over to gloot.com. That's where you need to be. Dan, big smile from you, because we're heading to a break. Welcome back, everybody, to GLL Arena Summer. It's been a hell of a day of action, and we're going to close it out in the best possible way, because we got a man joining us right now who's probably got a bigger smile on his face than Dan Gaskin does right now, and that is going to be Aiden the Destroyer from Monas. My friend, welcome to the show. What did you just do? Because that was a nuts series. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it definitely was.
My question for you, very, very quickly, just to jump in on the back of that, is what's the beef like between you and G2? Because there's a little bit of body shooting. I know it's not real. I know it, but like, is it a little bit of competition, sort of that competitive one-upmanship going on?
Yeah. So we trained that, man. Designful. We played arena scrims all the time, and I feel like we did. You know, we both won a few, very even, and still he won't accept my Discord friend request. So do
you know what? I'm gonna get on that. I mean, if you're watching right now, you know what you need to do, man. You need to listen to Aiden. You need to get on Discord. You need to accept his friend request, or maybe he's not going to accept it now because you've just dumped him out of the tournament, Aiden. You got to think about this. You got to get ahead of the game a little bit. As I say, very impressive performance from you, though. Dan, any questions for Aiden?
Yeah, Aiden, I mean, you're the flex character, right? You're playing every legend under the sun. You guys seem to have a different legend to choose depending on the map. What kind of toll does that take on you as a player? Do you think that holds you back about excelling, or do you think that, if anything, it allows you to flourish as a player because you get to play on all these different legends?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like my specialty. I actually came from console. I had like 20k kills on Wraith. Like, absolute one trick, nobody else. And ever since I switched to PC, I've just gotten bored. I've just been playing like literally everybody. And the only person I can't play is the most important character, which is Gibby. But I think it definitely especially helps my team because, I mean, Dimmy was the same way. He only played Wraith for the longest time. But yeah, my teammates only play one or two characters, so it's great for me to be able to flex to anybody.
I mean, you said it yourself. You guys came from console, and you're making a bit of noise right now in the arena scene. You know, we know about your background. You know, one of the first teams to hit Predator, and right now, how good is it to be competing in these tournaments and playing against some of the biggest names in the world, and not only competing against them, beating them well? Yeah,
it feels amazing. It's just there's only so much improvement that you can have. During
we can still hear you, by the way. We've lost your camera, but we can still hear you.
Yeah.
You're good.
So, sorry, what was the question?
I was going to say, how good does it feel to beat these teams coming over and competing in these tournaments?
Yeah, so it feels great. Like, there's only so much you can improve in just normal ranked and everyone. Like, Yeah, I've been honestly getting bored of just normal ranks. So it feels great to finally have some great competition. And yeah, and beating them, as you said, feels great. I can't wait for I can't wait for tomorrow, actually. Yeah, we made it. And I can't wait to hopefully take home the prize.
You did, but you fell to the lower bracket, which was a surprise. It happened off stream for us. We didn't get to see your matchup. What happened there? Like, I mean, talk me through it. Why are you in the lower bracket? Was it just a case of you didn't have the strategy down, or you got outshot? I mean, talk me through the series we didn't get to see.
Yeah, so we never really played those guys before. So I feel like the biggest thing, especially on maps like Overflow, etc., our confidence was just really low, especially after they took us down on one of our best maps, being Gardens. Yeah, and then when it came to Overflow, it was just all about confidence. That map is all about confidence, and because we didn't really know their play style, it was definitely at an all-time low, and they definitely got the better of us.
Well, congratulations, obviously, for getting through to tomorrow. We will see you back here again, and hopefully we'll get you back on for another interview after some more success. My question to you is, Apex Legends Global Series is just around the corner. Is Mona's just an arena team, or are we going to see you dominating BR scene as well?
We're definitely going to branch out.
Okay, I like that. I want that
same
answer. That's
team,
what I was looking for.
Same team. You know, Demon Ronnie, they hate Battle Royale. Absolutely hate it. So I had to do a lot of convincing, but we're definitely going to be competing there.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for tomorrow. Congratulations on your performance today, and thank you for putting on a hell of a series for us. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thanks for hosting.
Awesome stuff. Aiden, the Destroyer. His full name should be coming in right now because that man did take down G2. And great to hear, Dan. You know, what a story that those three gentlemen have, right? Played on console, 20k kills on Wraith. He's a one trick, comes over to PC, plays arenas, starts dominating. Now they're going to branch into BRs, and I'm sure there's going to be a few people watching how they are going to get on, even though you can hear from Aiden, it took a little bit of convincing to get them involved in BRs. But another wonderful person, another great talent that we've got in Apex Legends.
But Designful won't accept his bloody Discord friend request, will he? I can't believe that. He's been ghosted. Come on. Like, you're all friends here. We're all part of the Apex community. Let's welcome in these newbies, regardless if they're slapping us around in arenas or not. They all deserve a chance to be in open arms. The Apex community has been one of the most welcoming communities I've ever been a part of. So I'm sure that will change around, and I'm sure it's just a little bit tongue-in-cheek. And maybe, maybe you just missed that request. Sometimes you don't see them. I don't have my Discord notifications on. I wouldn't notice it. Not that anyone adds me anyway. But yeah, you can understand these things. You know what? And they always add. There's that extra little bit of tension in the game. You could see it. The little bit of body disrespect. It made it for a more exciting matchup.
Should have spelled out with the Mozambique on the floor, like, add me on Discord as he won it. But maybe that's something to work on. But it's been really fun to watch Monas go about the business. And they've got a lot of fans at home who have been supporting them. So shout out to you guys who've been watching. But for today, I think we're getting towards the end. We need to take a look at the bracket, though, to see how all of the other games have been kind of filtering themselves out. We do have our winners bracket final there at the top. You see My Little Phony going against Dude's Night Out. That is going to be a hell of a game. And down on that lower bracket, I mean, Dan, we get to the potential of seeing Monas versus Arena Demons and the rights to the original Arena Demons name, who will be decided. That goes down tomorrow, potentially, if they both get through their games against Ghost and Alpine, respectively.
We should have asked Aiden about the Arena Demons copyright.
We'll get back on tomorrow.
Yeah.
They'll win. It'll be fine.
They need to win, so we can ask them. Sentinels being knocked out by Ghost Gaming, so Ghost Gaming also demonstrating that they're not one-trick ponies. They can pull it out in several tournaments as well. They're into the losers bracket round 4, and they will be closer and closer to progressing to that top 4. At the moment, they are within the top 6. Yep. So this is the business end of the tournament now. We found our 6 best teams from this tournament, and it's about seeing who can clutch up. There have been some really, honestly, disgusting plays today. It's been a very exciting tournament indeed, and I can't wait to see how things close out in not just NA, but also EMEA.
Well, this is where it's going to go down. We're going to be here tomorrow. That's the time you need to remember. Write down or just take a screenshot. It's the quickest way to do things if you want to keep up to date on when things are going to be going down. And you can see tomorrow is all best of 5s until we get to those finals where we go the full distance. We go best of 7, and we'll be here. We might be a little bit broken right now, but don't worry. We're going to sleep well tonight. We're going to get our rest in. We're going to eat well. And when it gets to those grand finals tomorrow, Dan, we're going to be ready for it.
Oh, it's going to be brilliant. I mean, we're going to have the best of the best. EMEA had everything this morning, what feels like. I guess it was this afternoon. Now it's this morning in an NA. I don't know how time zones work anymore, but everyone's shown up. It's been a pleasure to commentate. You know, I haven't at one point think, oh, you know, I just want this to end, because that series, previous one, I didn't want it to end. I wished it was a best of 7. I wished it was a best of 9, because it was 2 teams just at each other's throats. I loved every second of it.
Well, it's 2 teams who have put a smile on our faces, and I'm sure to everyone who's been watching as well, has put a smile on yours. But for now, unfortunately, that is the end for us. We're going to give a quick thank you to all of our sponsors, Nocco, Logitech, HyperX, and of course, head over to gloot.com. That is GLOOT.com. Sign up for a free account, show some love to GLL and everything they do. You can start competing, tracking your stats in Apex Legends, all that good stuff. And they've got challenges over there as well for you to try and complete. So make sure you check that out. In the meantime, I think it's only right we say shout out to everyone who's watched, shout out to the team, shout out to the pros. Dan, you've been brilliant as always, and shout out to you at home for supporting these players and supporting the teams. We love you. That's all from tonight, though. It's time for us to go to bed. Shout out to Logitech as well, all these people, everyone. I'm going to go through them again one more time because I love our sponsors, right? Nocco. We're going to go through to Logitech, HyperX, Chile. You know what? I'm tired, everyone. Just let me go to bed. That's all I'm going to say right now. I love you. We'll see you soon. Dan, good night.